Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, that should be good. Let's see if they can actually hear you this time.
I will speak louder, I promise.
So what's up, guys? There's a lot of stuff going on today. Well, I guess not a lot, but some stuff going on today with
Yeah.
Hunter Avalon, as he likes to say. I like to say Hunter Avalon, but he says Hunter Avalon. But he has gotten into. There was a debate, but it's like one of these big panel debates, right?
Yeah.
With this chick Gothix, which I don't know much about. I think I followed her before because she was going to go on a debate with actual Jake, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I can't wait to see this. It's going to be hilarious. But then she ended up not doing it.
Mhm.
I think it made sense for her not to do it too because it really, like what happened this time. So she goes on this panel with Counterpoints Connor, who I think is a bad choice because that dude's terrible. Just a terrible choice for a partner.
Yeah.
Never partner something like that. And it's like Hunter and who else? I forget. Somebody else.
Was it the Dylan
Doesn't really
guy?
matter, right? Oh, because he doesn't even let them talk. I guess, or he doesn't put them in the clip, so it doesn't even matter. But yeah, and he's basically they had a debate, and basically this Gothic chick says that they didn't even listen to her, and they
No.
were kind of arguing a
Interrupting.
strawman argument. I mean, after listening to it, the whole thing starts with a Hunter strawman argument, and I think Gothics and Connor kind of fucked up though because they engaged that argument
Yeah.
for some reason. Like if that's a straw man, just say no, that's a straw man. That's
And
not
move
what I
on
believe.
from-
You know what I'm saying? Like, but instead they kind of engage it and it's rude. Say, hey, random here, get in contact with me, please, or how can I contact you? But you're random. I know who you are. Is that my friend Eddie? Eddie, if that's you, let me know. You're not random. It's me. I know who you are. Yeah. I can see from the picture that it's. I don't know how to tell him to contact me on the live stream. Yeah, if you have Twitter, I have a Twitter.
Did
Put my Twitter in the chat.
you have Twitter? Elf's on Twitter.
Alf underscore contact PAC. But yeah, so he goes into this. They go into this debate, but it's a total straw man, and it's what these debate me bro guys always do. They're terrible at this. They tend to want to steel man you, but they're so bad at it. It doesn't work. Like they end up straw manning you instead of steel manning you, as they say they're there for. Oh, okay, I can put my email. One second, guys. There you go. Yeah, yeah. Just email me, and I can send you my phone number. But yeah, these guys, they just always like straw manning these people. And that's basically what happens. And then she says, afterwards she makes a thing. She sends him a message because he like clips it and posts it as if it's like a big win for him, but really it's a big nothing. And I've realized a lot of his videos are a big nothing. Like it's like he's just desperate for content, and all he does is basically try to goad people into debating him, even randoms. So you make a comment about it, and he tweets to you,
Come and debate me.
"Yeah, come debate me." Like, huh? Like, who?
Who am I?
To him, you're a nobody. You're a
Yeah.
random nobody on Twitter, and he's telling you to go on his Discord and debate me. So I retweet that, and I'm like, "Oh, total debate me, bro!" moment here, and laugh about it. So basically, I'm making fun of and laughing at the concept of somebody saying "debate me," blah blah blah, right? So what does he do? He doubles down, retweets
down.
me saying that,
Yeah.
and says, "Come to my Discord and
Yeah.
debate me if you
can
have a
join
spot."
too if you want.
What? Why would I, who's making fun of you for offering to debate random nobodies on the internet, why would I want to debate you?
Yeah,
Then, right? Like
that
that doesn't
doesn't
make
make
any sense, does it? Or why would I act in the way that
Yeah.
I'm mocking?
It's just showing the desperation and the nothing that he actually has.
And that was my point, because when he said it to you, I was like, yeah, this is called, starving for content.
Yeah.
He's desperate for people to come on, like, and debate him. Anybody, like, please, anybody, random nobodies in public, please,
Like-
come debate me. I need this so bad.
I tweeted him because that Gothic's creator, she made a comment and she really ripped on him. I'll read it later if we want to include it later or whatever. But he came back with, "You're an idiot," is all he could come back with, basically.
Yeah.
And I said, like, like, she dunks on you and you come back saying that. Also, Hunter's been somebody that's retired from debating in the past, so this is what makes it even more funny.
That was funny. His Lawrence Southern debate was supposed to be his last debate, and now he's still going. I was thinking if he asks Chris to debate him, doesn't that technically make her relevant? Right? It's like, yeah, no longer an internet nobody.
Yeah, I made it.
You're relevant.
I did it, guys.
That is a good point. But yeah, we'll see. Let me see this little. We'll look at this little Twitter interaction. But what I find funny is her whole point is kind of, she doesn't say it because maybe she's never thought of this before. But we've talked about this multiple times on my channel about how these guys are totally, they strawman everybody. They never really address the arguments. You know what I'm saying? They spin around the arguments, and in the end, they're terrible at steel manning. I remember I already told Lance, like, you're terrible at this. Stop doing it, because he like steel man something Ben Shapiro said, and it ended up being the opposite of what he was saying. I'm like, you're terrible at steel manning. Just stop. You know, like just stop doing it. Maybe it was Sam Harris actually.
I think so.
So, like, you know, and we've talked about all this time that these people are desperate for content as well because they stream too much. This is what it's quantity over quality, right? Is what's going on with these people.
Yeah.
The same thing you're doing, you say with the quartering, where we make fun of them. Because every day the quartering's like, what do you guys want to hear today? Oh, I got room for one more video. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
You know, and I just finished another video that you guys recommended I make. What do you guys recommend I make for the next video? And it's like, you know, when, you know, and you make fun of him and we kind of rib him for it. But he comes back not understanding the ribbing, and he's like, this is the worst take ever. I'm not supposed to listen to my audience, and blah, blah. It's like, it's not about that. It's about, how about doing a passion project? How about every once in a while put out a video you feel passionate about, that it's about something you care about, as opposed to just pandering to your audience over and over again and making this cookie cutter passionless project that you have going on. You know, it could be, no, and I'm not saying he's doing bad. He's got the numbers. His channel lasts, but let's see some passion in it. You know, saying some care. Like, to
I'm
be
still
like,
gonna pick on you, Jeremy.
Yeah, I love doing this. I'm doing it for me too. You know, not just the audience. You know, like you see Sean make fun of this, and he'll tweet like, "What do you guys want today?" And then when people tell him topics, he laughs and tells them how stupid their topics are that they want to make videos on. But that's not to say Sean never takes topics from his audience. Sometimes if it's a good topic, he'll take it. But the point is, like, 80 to 90% of Sean's videos is stuff he wants to make. You know what I'm saying? And even then, what is it? The other day he made a video about cars. About, like, you know, when
I
to
know
purchase
this
a
isn't
car.
a regular type of content, but here you go, guys.
Yeah, and he's like, I know I'm going to get low numbers on this, but I'm going to put it out anyway. Yeah. It's something he really wanted to make a video about.
Yeah.
He did one on Superman. You know, saying something that's not, like, his content's mostly political, right?
Yeah.
So that he did one on Superman, and he's like, I don't care if people don't watch this. This is what I want to put out. It's a passion project.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. And what these guys on the left, what they do is they stream 8 hours every day, and what happens when you do that? You run out of shit to talk about. There's not shit to talk about 8 hours every single day. You're not that entertaining, especially when your entertainment is looking at what other people say and commenting on that. You know what I'm saying? So now it's just like, you know, drilling content. It's just every single thing you can get. It's like, let's make something of that. Let's make something of that. So they stream 8 hours a day, and then they cut little clips out. Be like, oh, I talked about this. Let me cut that little section that I talked about that and post it on YouTube. But what happens is, when I'm looking through Hunter's videos now, like the most recent ones, is some of those are just completely nothing.
Nothing.
Like, you watch them and you're like, nobody did anything. This is a complete nothing burger. And this is exactly what is going on with this Gothics thing. They get into an argument about cancel culture, and neither of them, throughout the whole thing, ever come down to what they both agree is cancel culture, or what they're discussing. Hunter makes like a straw man, or tries to steel man them. It's wrong. And they still continue arguing that wrong steel man for some reason. And that just basically is nothing. Right. And then Hunter takes that and posts it as if it's a win for him.
Breaking, like,
it's
you shouldn't debate me because I'm going to wreck you guys.
It's useless. But Gothics ends up turning it into a win, because what does she do? She comes out with the video afterwards saying, and idea afterwards, and messages him saying, I don't want to debate this dude again because he can't argue. Like, he's just making up things to say that he's arguing with me against,
And then
and he doesn't
shortens the
listen. That was her whole
title.
point: is they don't listen. They just want to respond and get a gotcha, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't listen, which is the debate me bro culture that we talked about.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
Whatever next. Nice. What's up? What's the question? Is that Tice
What
Tice
be your question, sir?
from the Netherlands? Another friend. I think so. I know that name is Tice because I knew a Tice from. But we'll go over that, and you can see. I'm gonna pull up the tweets because another funny thing I find Hunter doesn't understand things. Like
No,
he has
he
terrible
doesn't.
comprehension.
Yeah.
And he thinks these things are dunks, but what really happens is he misunderstands what the person says
Yeah.
and replies with a something that doesn't make sense.
Irrelevant, yeah.
It just doesn't work because he's misunderstanding what the person said. So let me open this up. Mhm. So we'll start at. Oh yeah. Oh, this is another debate me bro culture thing right here. So he puts this out, right? This is he says watch the debate highlights and an angry message afterward, which we'll watch.
Her message wasn't angry
Mhm.
either. He needs it to be angry. Or
Yeah,
he
he
needs
made it to
read
be angry.
that
It wasn't
way,
angry. Though. It was just a message of critique. But then she says, "But this is what I'm talking about. That these guys, like they have nothing. They just have to drum up stuff
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
understand what they say." There's a
More
perfect example
strongness.
of how he doesn't understand of stuff. Which originally in the thing that he's saying she's triggered, she's saying to him, "I won't
I
debate
won't
you
debate
because
you."
you don't want to have a discussion.
Yeah.
You just want to, dunk and this and that, and you're not listening." So she says, so when he says, watch the debate in her angry message, she says, "It appears that you're lacking the cerebral to, I don't even think that's proper grammar, but to fully grasp," maybe she meant fortitude, cerebral fortitude or something, "to fully grasp why I'm not interested in another debate with you," which was obvious to us when we heard the message that, when he read the message,
Yeah.
we listened to it and it was obvious that she's like, "You're a
This
debate
isn't
me, bro."
happening
Yeah, like,
again.
you-
She's like,
you don't
I
care
did
enough
it
to
once, I'm one and done. Like,
Yeah, exactly. You don't care enough to listen. Why should I bother debating?
Yeah.
Right? Why should we have a discussion if you're not willing to listen? So it says, so if you're still confused after my video today, which she breaks down, and we'll watch that too, feel free to come chat about it during my live stream at 3 p.m. EST, assuming you can manage to put your he, him panties on. So this is the part where I say this is also proof that he's a debate me, bro.
Yeah.
So are you inviting me to debate after
you
all?
after all?
So notice, chat. She said we could chat about it. He's saying, so you're inviting me to debate after. You're saying you don't want to debate me, but now you're saying you are going to debate me if I show up on the live stream after watching your video. But it's like, no, she's saying to chat about it.
Yeah.
Talking. This is a very debate me, bro thing, and we'll see this
Yeah.
all over the internet. Any two people talking is a debate,
debate.
on the internet for some reason. If you both disagree and you have a chat, it's all of a sudden it's a debate. It's like
They'll even try and catch the person up with saying, first they'll challenge them to a debate, and then when that doesn't work, they say, no, just come and talk to me. And then if you agreed to talk to them, they'll say, oh, now this is a debate, basically.
Yeah.
Like-
So, oh yeah. So that's part of what I'm talking about of how Hunter is. One, he's stuck in this. He's totally a debate you, bro, and he's
Yeah.
stuck in this mentality. You can't have a conversation with this dude. In fact, you're never. This is why I agree. Gothic's made the right choice by saying, "I never
I
want to
don't wanna
debate you
do
again."
this again.
This right here proves that you can never debate Hunter Avalon. Or you can never have a conversation with Hunter Avalon.
Yeah.
I should say you can only debate him. You know what I'm saying? So if you talk to Hunter and you say, "Hey, how about a debate? We go on a live stream and we just have a conversation about this and we'll discuss." Yeah, he
Yeah,
might
sure.
say yeah, but to him, that's
This is
a
a
debate.
debate. Yeah.
And he's done that
sticking your
before. He's done that before. I think that was the Lawrence Southern one. I think wasn't even supposed to be a debate, was it? Or there was one we watched before where he kept saying it wasn't a debate, but then he treated the whole thing like a debate, and then I
yeah.
think he
I
clipped
can't
it
remember
as if
which
it was a
one, but
debate
you're
kind of. But either way, even if whether he has done that or not, you can see right here just from this where she's saying you can come chat with her about her concept of why she don't want to debate with you.
Yeah.
So you can have that
Just
conversation with
open
her. Not a
dialogue,
debate.
basically.
She's not
Yeah.
saying come on me and debate me why I'm wrong about not wanting to debate.
Yeah.
She's saying if you still don't understand from the video, come on
Come
and
on.
we'll have a conversation. You can tell me what you don't understand about it and I can explain it better to you. Is basically what she's saying. That's a chat about that. It makes no sense in what she's saying. Like now with you, he retweeted you and he said, "Oh, debate me," and you were like,
Debate me.
"Debate me about
About
what?"
what?
Like there wasn't even anything to debate, and this is what I'm talking about. Like even with this, he's saying, "So you want to debate me on her not wanting to debate you?" Like
Yeah.
that's the context of what she's talking about here. It's like if you don't understand my video of why I won't debate you again, you can come on and chat about it with me. You know. But he's saying, "Oh, so you want to debate me after all?"
Inviting me
You
to
know,
a debate now.
yeah, it makes no sense. He literally doesn't understand the concept of having a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a debate. But you know why? Because that's all he is. He's a debate me, bro. He goes
Yeah.
online and is desperate to find people to debate against because most likely that's probably what his best views are, is when he's discussing shit with other people. His own videos maybe aren't getting views, or he's too lazy to make videos anymore. He used to make videos.
Yeah,
I don't know if he still does, but we're about to watch one of his videos and
it's
they're
just
lazily
lazy.
cut. They're
Yeah.
super lazy. Like,
Oh my god, even the
the one part where he was like, oh, we watched one with where he went over Lauren Chen, and she does
Yeah.
her ad reading, and he doesn't cut that out of the
no,
video.
he just
like
talks over top
he
of it.
bitches about it from his live stream,
Yeah.
where he's bitching about it, and it's all like, and he blurs it out even at
Yeah.
one point. And it's like, if you're gonna go to the
Why?
trouble to blur it out and not say anything or add anything at the moment,
Just cut
what-
it.
Yeah, just cut it. Stop being lazy. The
I
thing
know
is,
he
it
knows
isn't
how to
lazy.
do that because he's cut off people when they're trying to make points. Like we watched him do that to Gothics. He cut her off at a certain point.
Mm.
So
No, but that's still in a live stream where he's stopping and
Oh,
pausing
okay.
the video.
Yeah.
On this one, he
Mhm.
actually plays a part that he could have just cut out
Cut
for
it,
the
yeah.
YouTube part. I understand it happens live. You know, maybe you didn't skip that or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or you're trying to skip it, but in the end, like, you could just cut that out of your video and make it a better video.
Yeah.
And it's sloppily done and lazily
just to
put
get
together. He just
the
wants to.
minutes,
There's the beginning of the clip. There's the end of the clip. That's all I'm putting in. You know,
Yeah.
does it render? Put it out. You know. And it's like, yeah, you could have cut out that little piece. That's like wasting your viewers' time watching this ad that's being blurred out that you're just like bitching about there being an ad.
yeah.
So yeah, here's more of what he doesn't understand. Now she put this out. She's pointing out that he follows her. I don't think this is a problem. Like she says, also I don't follow people that I take issues with. That's just looking for drama, like children do.
Yeah.
So I don't take issue with that. People following you because they don't like you. I don't really care if you do that or not. But I can understand what she's saying is the
Yeah.
only reason you're following me is to look for drama.
Yeah.
with me. That's
To
the only
debate
reason.
again.
Yeah, you're not looking to have a conversation with me and try to understand who I am. You're following me for the sole reason of catching things. Gotcha moment and blah blah.
Yeah.
This is who this person is. And start drama with. They said this is stage 5 clinger behavior and is exactly what emotional immaturity is.
I like that term.
And I'm not doubting that. That's not terrible, but he said, I never thought following someone on Twitter was childish and triggering behavior. My bad. But he keeps calling her triggered, but what about this is triggered? Like, where do you see that she's angry here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't see any anger.
He needs
And
to
then calls
read
her
into
snowflake. My
Yeah.
bad, snowflake. But what's the snowflake,
snowflake part?
She's not
Where did-
complaining. She's just pointing out a behavior. She's saying, you know why you're following me. It's to start drama and it's childish.
She said, I don't want to do this, and he's insisting that she's going to want to do this,
Mhm.
basically. Like,
And then this is another person. I don't know who Know Nothing TV is, but here's another one who doesn't understand what she says. LOL, why is she bragging about only following people that she already agrees with on
She didn't
everything?
say that.
That's not what she said. She said, I don't follow people that I take issues with.
yeah.
She's not even saying disagree with. She takes issue with behaviorally.
Yeah.
It's really what that means. She
Yeah.
takes issue with people like Hunter Avalon who don't want to add to the conversation, don't want to be part of the
she's
conversation.
making like conflict here where there is no conflict really, and he's just like
Yeah.
pressing on about it. So she's like, no, I don't want to bother myself with that.
And then Hunter agrees with that interpretation and responds to it because he doesn't understand that that's not the proper thing she said.
Yeah.
I thought echo chambers were a bad thing. And then he says she's politically homeless, yet only spews right-wing talking points and doesn't follow anyone she doesn't agree with, which isn't... I bet if we click on her and see who she follows, I bet she follows people she doesn't agree
Yeah,
with.
yeah.
That's not what she said, but
It's-
she's politically homeless. But that's not what she said. That's a total, again, a straw man of what she said. That's a misinterpretation. She never said anything about not following people she doesn't agree with.
Yeah.
She says that she takes issue with. That's a different thing. So yeah, that's just more example of how he doesn't understand English or something. It's a
basically.
terrible
Yeah.
comprehension, or how he constantly strawmans people, right? Like he's just constantly making up intent for people. Actually, Jake said he'd moderate it. Said that'd be dope.
Um,
But why would she want that? You guys.
Oh
And I said,
my
"Oh,
God.
good. You boys can watch the premiere together and hold hands." And he said, "What?" Like, how, see, this is what I mean about people not paying attention. Her whole point is watch my video, and if you have any question, if you don't understand it, you can come
Ask a
chat with me on
question.
live stream.
Yeah.
He's saying he'll moderate it. He'll moderate what? Coming on to chat with him, I guess.
Yeah.
So Hunter says that'd be dope. I said, "Oh, good. You boys can watch that premiere together and then hold hands,
Hold
right?
hands,
And then you
yeah.
can come on and we can chat about it." And he says, "What?" Like he doesn't even understand what she means by that. It's weird. How come it's always that you wonder why she's relevant when you are the one making her relevant? That's kind of a good point.
Yeah.
Still begging for her to notice you, I see. Yeah, that's kind of the point. It's like that's kind of what he's doing. He should have dropped this a while ago if he wanted to look right, but instead he keeps twisting it to make it seem right. Here's another one. Ready? Watch this. This is another way he still, again,
like the,
doesn't understand what's happened. He's so confused here. Watch this. So she says, "Sure, Snowflake triggered." In response to him, he's calling her Snowflake triggered.
Yeah.
Now, remember, she's not calling him that.
Yeah.
They said, "You need the drama for YouTube views. Here's some more." So basically what she's saying is, you're calling me Snowflake and triggered for the drama on YouTube to get
Yeah.
clicks on YouTube. So he says, "How does it feel to know that I got half your following in a fraction of the time without needing to stir the pot and look for drama? You're wrong, Hunter. We're nothing alike." Because in this
Yeah.
clip he says they're alike, right?
She's like the fuck, what was I saying?
Okay.
Oh, that's
She's like the big YouTuber equivalent to me.
Well, he says she's like the big YouTube equivalent of. So now that clip goes with this line right here. We're nothing alike. The rest of this stuff goes into saying we're nothing alike.
right.
He doesn't understand. He thinks she's calling him triggered, and this is a clip of him being triggered. That's what he thinks. She's
Yeah.
saying completely not at all what she said, right? Not even close. I don't understand where he gets that idea. She's replying to him saying she's triggered.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Sure, Snowflake triggered. Like, I'm a snowflake that's triggered. Sure, I get it. You need drama, you know?" That's what she's saying. And then goes on to say, "We're nothing alike," plays that clip to show him saying she's the equivalent of me. She's the YouTube equivalent of me, which
Yeah.
is what he said. She's like, "No, we're nothing alike." And then he says, "Why did you post a clip of me not being triggered and simply saying our sub counts were more comparable? You are one of the most triggered people I've ever spoken." So he didn't understand and doubles down on the thing she's calling him out for. This is what I'm talking about, him being so stupid, because he keeps doubling down on it. Like when I called him a debate me bro, and then he invites me to debate. And it's like, come on, dude. Seriously, you don't understand social interaction or
No.
something. Like, what's going on here? You're one of the most triggered people I've ever spoken to, and I don't care about your following
This is
size.
the
I
biggest
care
triggered
more about the
response.
truth, something you've never heard of. But that's her point. Her point is you don't listen to the truth when you
Yeah.
want to hear what her point is. Like, say she says her point, and he says a response that says, "See, you're not listening to the truth." There's a response, but she's saying, "You're responding to something I didn't say."
Yeah.
So who's not listening to the truth? It's him. He's giving her a truth that she doesn't respond to what she's saying. You know?
Yeah.
It's like I'm talking about like a supernova, a star going supernova, and you keep bringing up, well, bees or something. And it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, but bees,
But
blah blah blah
bees.
blah." And it's like, but I'm not talking about bees. I'm talking about stars. What do you mean? You know? And then you're gonna say, "Oh, well, you just don't want to listen to the truth." You know? It's like, huh? But yeah, she's not calling him triggered. This video is not meant to show that he is triggered.
Yeah.
This video is meant to show that he said they're alike, and she's saying we're nothing alike. You know, the snowflake triggered stuff is what he's saying, and then he doubles down and calls her triggered again, thinking that she's triggered by calling him triggered. Like, what? Hunter.
You know,
You're
people
not.
that aren't triggered usually don't challenge people that they don't even know or are irrelevant on like YouTube to debates, Hunter. Like, that's triggered behavior.
I mean, she literally retweeted him saying triggering behavior and then putting little snowflake things. And then she brings up snowflake triggered, and he thinks she's talking about him.
Yeah.
She's replying to you, bro. Look, it's right here. It's a retweet. Like, how do you
How
not
are you
get
that
that?
far off?
Yeah, how do
Like,
you not understand what retweets are? Okay, look at this. Also, at wanting to
Oh my
debate
God.
another random
Maybe on this
person.
5
How
minutes,
desperate are you
and
for
you
the
probably,
content?
oh my God.
It's so desperate. I don't think he realized it comes off as desperate. But
Yeah.
it sure does. Okay, so I think that's all of it on the Twitter stuff in this. Yeah, it's that. This one to me is hilarious. How he
Yeah.
completely misunderstood this
Totally
tweet. He didn't understand
messes it
what
up.
she was saying. Let's see on her end. I think that's it. But she puts out this video. But he says this, yeah, in case anyone didn't know, Gothix is a math idiot. She got blasted on a panel with me and now won't debate me again. But she put out a video about why she won't debate him. And it's a good reason. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I don't like debate in general on
Yeah.
the internet. I think debate doesn't work on the internet. Like, I think, well, most of these people are not debating is what's happening. And they're just, they just want to scream at each other and get gotchas and stuff like that. It's bullshit. It never really works. I actually always say video works better, and I'd rather have a long form video going back and forth and be patient for it and wait for a good response as opposed to people trying to,
On the fly,
yeah,
because
trying
if
to
they're
give a
not
response on the fly
used to
and be
that,
like, and then they fuck up and then maybe they could have had a good answer, but they fuck up at the moment, and now everybody's like, "Aha!" You suck at, you were wrong, and it's like, no, maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe I just suck at debates. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be good at debates for your ideas to be true. You know what I'm saying? That's not how it works.
Also, a lot of these people, I don't even think, like someone like Hunter, I don't think he fully understands the concept of a debate, because to them, just insulting people and talking over them is debates.
Yeah, they don't.
So-
That's what she means by they don't really want to have the discussion. They just want to have gotchas and this and that.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear what the other person's argument is. And we see this all the time. I mean, when we do streams, we usually cover people like Vosh and Lance, and you've seen how they constantly strawman the videos. How they watch one clip and they'll pause it and go, see, conservatives, blah, 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 they always do this, and blah, 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 and they always do that. The right wing's always doing this. And it's like, you've already strawmanned it before you listen to the argument.
Yeah.
Like, don't think of what conservatives say. Just, address the argument, And there is a part in this where you see Hunter has the same strategy as these people. The problem is these people are almost gonna. I mean, Vosh kind of admitted it, but he doesn't do it all the time. But Vosh can try not to be obvious, like he doesn't come out and make it so obvious that he's doing that,
Yeah.
But I don't think Hunter can help but be obvious. Like,
Yeah.
he can't help but look desperate for content. He can't help but look like he's strawmanning people and not understanding an interaction. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't even understand. But that is the strategy. To lump them all up in a circle. Don't address the argument. Like, he doesn't even understand what the strategy is, but he implements it. Like, in this one, he literally states, "Oh, I looked her up because I wanted to know about her because, we're going to have a debate, so I want to know what she's about, her history." And I'm like, why not if you're going to go and
ask
debate
her.
with somebody, you don't need to know that. Why not just address the arguments?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, the only reason you would really want to do a deep dive on someone and really get to know someone before you debate them is really so you can ad hom them, right?
Yeah,
Like, so you can insult them or lump them into a
I know what this
category.
person's about.
Yeah.
I've got them all figured out because I know this much about them.
Exactly. And you know what? And they do it on purpose because we see it the second you say anything like, about black crime. Oh, they're 1350.
1350.
And now they've just lumped you into something. You can't have that argument now. That's their whole purpose, And that's why they want to know things about you. That's why
Questioning
they
the
do that, yeah.
pronouns thing, you're against trans, you
Yeah.
don't like trans, you're homophobic, whatever
Yeah.
other things.
Instead
you
of
say about
arguing
it.
the discussion, that's it. They've lumped you into another discussion, and now that's a no-go discussion, and you're not allowed. You're this person now. You're not allowed to have that discussion. Debate me, ho. What's up, Berlin? Because it's true. Yeah, fact is Hunter sucks at debating. Yeah, he said he was going to quit debating. And then I found it hilarious. He went on a Destiny stream, and
Yeah.
even Destiny was kind of like laughing throughout it. But it's like, he went there to ask Destiny how
For
to
tips.
argue and
Yeah.
how to do debates, and he was like taking tips down
Everyone
and this and that.
asked
They're having
Destiny for the
discussions
debate tips.
on how to debate, and Destiny had to give him tips on it. And I was like, you can even see it in Destiny's face that
And
he
he's
was like, "Oh my
"I'm
god,
for
this
real."
is kind of cringe." Like that you're coming to ask on live stream to ask me how to
How did I
debate.
do? Can you
After-
grade my debate, Destiny?
And this was like 4 days after that debate he did with Lawrence Southern, where he said he was going to quit debating.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
And then he
was on
comes
Destiny,
back.
yeah.
a week of retirement. Did you know that could happen, guys?
But he's the same as all these guys. They all do the same thing. They all straw man. They all, they all lump you into another group or do whatever they can. I call this thing, it's like almost an ad hom, but not really. They like memify your talking points, like I was saying with 1350. But that's basically an ad hom. Because when they say that, what they mean is, this guy's a racist, conversation's over. Anything he says is null and void. Yeah.
Because, he's
which is what an ad hom
offensive.
is. Like if you call someone a Nazi, and then you're saying, oh, well, your argument doesn't matter because you're a Nazi. You're not addressing the argument. You're just trying to brush it away with it.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing. Or when when Lance calls Sean a race realist. You know what I'm saying? That's his way of ad homing.
Yeah.
He's basically calling him a racist. Any argument you have doesn't matter. You're racist. Sean gives up an argument, and his response is, that's a race realist talking point. And it's like, but, yeah, you can say that, but you still haven't addressed the argument. You know? Like, if you think that it being a race realist argument makes it a bad argument, then maybe you can. Why don't you show how it does that? Then?
Yeah.
Why don't you defeat the argument then, in order to prove that? But you can't. That's why they do that, because they can't defeat that argument. They can't defeat the argument, so they just they just brush it off and try to move on to the next thing, or use it as a gotcha. And be like, what's up, TJ?
Hey, TJ.
All right, let's watch this. Let's see what Hunter has to say.
So the main championship is going to be Destiny versus Infrared. Very cool, very cool. But before that, there's going to be a shorter panel. So if it's starting at 9, it's only going to be an hour and a half. Not too bad. It's going to be me and Joe Lewis versus Counterpoints and Gothics. Not a big fan of Gothics from what I've seen. But hey, maybe we'll go in and have a real nice conversation.
See, to me, this sounds like him not being able to hide his disdain, right? Like, oh wait, you can't hear. Hold on. 1 second. Just so you can hear this. I just realized. Okay. I don't even. Oh shit. Okay. So. Watch his face and how he reacts to talking about going on this and debating with God.
So if it's starting at 9, it's only going to be an hour and a half. Not too bad. It's going to be me and Joe Lewis versus Counterpoints and Gothics. Not a big fan of Gothics from what I've seen. But hey, maybe we'll go in and have a real nice conversation. She's like
how sarcastic. Have a real nice conversation with his teeth all like stuck together.
Yeah.
It seems like you're going into this with some disdain.
Yeah.
A big YouTuber equivalent to me.
So
there's
equivalent.
Joe Lewis and Counterpoints, both like relatively smaller creators.
She's bigger, but she's still only half of his audience. But I bet you any money, like Sean, her ratio of views to subs is probably way better than his.
Yeah.
His ratio of views to subs is small. Look, in fact, this video only has 2,767 views.
Yeah.
I know it's just come out today, but I mean, for a channel with more than 500,000 subs, you'd think they'd get a lot more right away.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Gothic's video probably has, I bet, around the same amount, which would put her ratio better, right? I mean, like, I have it right here, but it is around the same amount, and I haven't refreshed these in a while. So from when I looked at these, hers came out hours later too from his, and this one already has the same amount of views. So that puts her ratio double his. So she's doubled her ratio on that than he does. But but she still has half the subs.
And then it's Gothics with 226k subs, and then me. So
I said, Billy said, "Oh my God, Joe Lewis is a mad herd. He thinks he's fighting Nazis when the real Joe Lewis actually fought a Nazi." I don't know who that Joe Lewis guy is.
I've seen him before.
I think I've probably seen him too, and I don't remember him. Like, that's how it stuck out to me. There's an easy way to prove these people are full of shit. Wait 1 more year so he can revert back to being a
I looked at some of her content to get a feel of like, all right, I better make sure I watch a little bit of her content. I
Why?
don't want to come in here
Let's see why.
throwing accusations or saying anything that's going to make.
Throwing accusations. Why would you throw accusations then?
Yeah.
Like, that's funny
I don't
that he has to.
understand
See, it isn't the point of I don't want to throw accusations. It's I have to watch her content so I don't throw accusations I can't back up.
Yeah.
So already he's not in the concept of I'm going to go into this debate for us to understand each other and have this conversation and try to reach a middle ground. His point is I need to dunk on her. So let me watch her videos so when I do dunk on her or insult her in some way or bring up that she's a hypocrite from something I've seen elsewhere, I can use that as a gotcha, and make her look bad. It's an accusation. I don't want to throw accusations, but you don't want to throw accusations without being able to back that up. Is what I'm saying. So you do want to throw accusations.
Make me end up looking fucking stupid.
Yes, either make me end up looking
Don't
stupid.
judge
Is what he
people,
said.
until you've actually looked into it.
Don't judge people. He actually looked into it. That's not.
What does that mean?
That's not like there's like a moral philosophy. Don't judge. It's not don't judge until you know. No, that's not what it is. It's don't judge lest you be judged to yourself, right? Then he takes it and he's like, "Let me give you a word of advice, youngins. Don't judge unless you've looked into them and you know for sure you're judging correctly." That's oh my god. Thanks for that morality tip there. Is this where he is going to say he has way more subs as if that is important? Nah, he didn't actually say that. He was just saying they were equivalent as in being big YouTubers. Because he was talking about the other two were about equivalent with their subs about, so he's saying him and her that they're equivalent now.
And then I looked into it and now it's
Okay.
Which now makes me realize that was her misunderstanding too. She must have said we're nothing alike. He actually explains that what he meant was they're equivalent as in sub count. Like he's kind of, they're both kind of bigger YouTubers, bigger than the other two. But he still misunderstood her reply.
Identity. This seems to be what all the kids are talking about these days. Identity. I identify as they, them, she, her, he, them, potato, patata.
Yeah, I want to talk about from when I was younger, and I think this is funny too, because when I was younger, the big thing is I don't want to be labeled. So you wanted a lack of identity actually, and you didn't want people to label you as certain things or label yourself even. Like people would ask you, like, "Oh,
what are you?
A Democrat or I don't label myself." And I remember that a lot in the '90s. Like when I was a teenager, it was all about like, "Don't label me, bro." People would get mad about it, right? Like, "Don't label me, man. I'm myself." But now it's like all, I want to be seen as this. Label me this, not that. It's weird. It is funny.
You identify with all these things. I get it. You identify.
funny joke. Props for the
Is that
stand.
a
I don't
joke?
understand this
Have
part.
Hold on,
conservatives
let
never
me try that again.
Her, he, them, potato, patata, kuna matata. You identify with all these things. I get it. You identify.
funny
I mean,
joke.
I don't even think that was a joke meant to
Yeah.
be jokey. I think it was just meant to be silly. I
Yeah.
don't think it was meant to make you like, oh. Yeah, she's just saying
Well,
words
that's
that
my
rhyme.
knee.
Potato, potato, Hakuna Matata. She's just saying words that rhyme. She's just being silly. It's not
For
really.
the stand-up right there.
It's not stand-up.
Have
You wouldn't do
conservatives
that
never
for-
thought of using a joke?
You think you would go do stand up and say potato,
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 Hakuna Matata?
Hakuna
Think people
Matata.
are gonna laugh? Like, come on. That's like Sesame Street. humor,
Yeah.
Like that's not what's gonna happen. I think she's just doing it because she's talking silly. She's
Joke
just
where they
riffing.
jokingly identify as something else? I've never heard of that one before. Wow.
No, it's like
super original, very good.
that's like the LGBTQ elemental P type of thing that she did with pronouns, though. That's nothing.
Yeah, it's not
that's
really
nothing.
funny. It's just kind of silly. Too.
Yeah.
It's not like it's something that's gonna rip roaringly funny or anything. There are levels to making jokes.
Yeah,
They're not all gonna
more
be
than
huge
that.
ha 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 jokes. Sometimes you make little silly just to be silly jokes.
I wonder if anyone has ever said, "I don't care what you identify as." I wonder if it occurs to these people that make
does he
such
mean
a
what?
stink
And what does he mean by what?
Yeah,
Like,
what
what
does
does he
he- what
understand
threw
about
him
that?
off there?
It's total English.
about who or what they identify as, if they actually took a moment to consider that the people I'm preaching this to don't actually care about me.
Wait, but it depends fully in the context of that situation, right? Like, What do you mean they don't care about your identity? So, for example, we respect people's identity with religious groups all the
Do
time.
we? I mean, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, he's just making assumptions here. What do you mean we?
Yeah.
Like, I don't
don't
respect
care.
people because of their religion at all. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what religion you practice. That means absolute shit to me. Like,
Yeah.
if you want my respect, you would, it's more behaviorally
Yeah,
than it is.
just exist like that. I don't need
Through
to
religion.
validate that type of life for you or belief system for you.
Yeah, I find this to be a terrible argument, which maybe he does that, but we don't.
No.
Like, I don't give a shit what religion people are, and I don't respect people's religion.
More
at all.
or
I don't
less
give a shit.
because of their
Bitter
religious
that
beliefs.
the people I'm preaching this to don't actually care about me.
Wait, but it depends fully in the context of that situation, right? Like,
Well, I mean, she is giving you the context to the situation. She's talking about people who want to identify as, like, say, those demon people, right? That we just see
Yeah,
on TikTok. Demon,
pronoun,
blah blah
yeah.
blah, right? Those people. What she's saying. So what happens when those people go up to someone and says, "Hey, I identify as them demon," and the person says, "Yeah, I don't give a shit."
Yeah.
Which is honestly, for sure, I don't give a shit what people identify as. I mean, maybe I'm not so rude to just tell people in their face, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I don't." But honestly, in my mind, I know that I don't even care what people think I identify as. I don't
Yeah.
give a shit. People want to think I'm gay. People want to think that I'm, people call me white all the time, and I
Yeah.
just laugh about it. Like, I don't care. I don't give a shit what people think I identify as. Why would I care about that? The only people I care about are my close friends, the people who know me, know who I am. That's all I should care about, right? Strangers, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Why bother yourself with what the vast majority possibly has to think or say about you?
Oh, and like Billy said, he loses respect for people who are religious. That's something else too.
Yeah.
There's people out there who also have no respect for people who are religious. Who
Yeah.
have negative respect for that. Like, just think that those people are dumb.
what do you mean they don't care about your
So-
identity? So, for
it's a
example, we
weird thing.
respect people's identity with religious groups all the time. So we have
Now, some people,
Some people
do, but that
do.
doesn't mean everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people do.
Some
Sure.
people draw things over religious murals and stuff like that of Jesus or Mary. That's probably
Mhm.
not showing respect the way that Hunter's trying to say that we all respect, people for their religious beliefs.
Mhm.
People make a mockery out of it. So
And it completely destroys the concepts of atheists. Does he not know atheists exist?
Yeah.
The people who have respect for religion are the people who are religious, right?
Yeah.
Like, you'd think those are the people, but most atheists don't give a shit what religion you are, If you're going to be a douchebag, it's the same to me. If you're going to be a douchebag to me, I don't care what religion you are.
Yeah.
You're the same level of douchebag regardless.
regardless of your religious belief. Yeah.
I don't care. That's why I don't care what you identify as. Like, if you identify as he, him, Caesar, it doesn't matter. If you're a douchebag to me, you're a douchebag to me the same.
Yeah.
Just the same. As
Yeah.
as a person who identifies as something else. It doesn't matter.
people that identify as Christians. That is a core element of their identity, how they perceive themselves.
Yeah, fuck those
So
people.
what?
Yeah, fuck. I don't give a shit that people perceive how he touches his body, perceives themselves. Like, I don't care that people perceive themselves as Christians. They're wrong.
Yeah.
They're dumb. But I don't care how they perceive themselves. That doesn't change my judgment of them in any way. I still
No.
think I'm still going to judge them by their personality. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's in fact, though, if Christianity is too much part of their personality, I'm not going to like that.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm
Yeah.
walking down the street and with somebody who's ultra Christian and they're see two guys holding hands or something, and they're like, "Oh, God's going to punish them for that." That's going to get annoying to me eventually. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to want to hang around that guy who's constantly telling me that people are going to hell, or that, oh, look at these gay guys are going to
Yeah.
hell. I don't want to be around that.
No.
So
Why
in the
would-
end, religious people probably will lose respect for me. And the more religious they identify, the less respect I'm going to have for them and their
Yeah.
identity.
It gives them a sense of
And this
comfort.
goes into the other identity politics too. The deeper you are into identity politics, the more annoying you're going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
The less people want to respect your identity. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. This is why people are talking about it, because there's people out there who are so angry about this. Like, there's people who want their identity respected to the point where you have to go against your sexual preference, like you have to have sex with them and see them as a woman
Yeah.
because they're a trans woman.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if you're not, then then you're transphobic
bigot
because you
and
wouldn't
everything.
date a trans woman even
Yeah.
though you're straight. And it's like, huh? Like, what are you
What
talking about? No, that doesn't work that way. You're so into that identity that now you're pushing people away and saying
Yeah.
crazy shit. There's less respect for you because of it.
For peace and hope, and we have no way of physically verifying the validity of someone's religious beliefs. However,
Nope.
we quote unquote
No, we don't.
1 in every 9 men will be diagnosed with
Wrong.
prostate
Mistaken.
cancer. Well, what can you do?
Wrong.
respect them all the
Ah.
time in that aspect.
No, we don't. How?
So
That's
what
what I'm
do you
saying.
mean?
Where?
I
When
wonder
did we
how
respect
Gothics
them in
would
that
feel.
aspect?
There's
He's-
no one out there that's offensive or like picks on people with a religious belief.
Is this just a guy who's wrapped in a life of religion, like because he doesn't understand what life is like outside religion?
Yeah.
Most of my friends, most people I know are atheists. They don't respect the Christian identity. They don't give a shit about it. Like, there's no care about Christian identity. I don't know many people in my life who, like he says, validates a Christian identity
Yeah.
unless they're Christian as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in fact, if they are Christian, then they don't validate other religions. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Literally, they don't validate the identity of other religions. I mean, there's, fundamental Muslims, they don't
They don't
validate other
respect
religions.
other
They'll see that as sacrilege.
Yeah.
Feel if this were flipped. If someone was like, yeah, I just have found a really strong identity in religion. That's why I'm really proud to call myself a Christian now. I've been going to, I don't really give a
Yeah.
shit about your.
Yeah, that is what happens. I remember it. People look at it funny when you do that. All right, in the 80s, you just watched a movie with me from the 80s, not too long ago, called The Last Dragon, right? With the Bruce Leroy, right? And there was that woman in it.
Yeah.
That she played a singer in it, but she was a singer in real life called Vanity. She got into a terrible life, in the Hollywood. She blew up too fast and got into a terrible life, drugs, sex, and all this terrible stuff, and it kind of ruined her life. So she left and she became a born again Christian.
Oh.
And when that happened, now we're talking about like mid 90s now. Like she disappeared throughout the 80s, and we're talking about maybe early mid 90s. She becomes this ultra born again Christian, super like fundamental. Maybe it worked for her and it saved her from the life she had, but it's a total overcorrection.
Yeah, oh,
But
yeah.
the media didn't look at it with respect. They looked at it like, whoa,
What
like
the hell
like a
happened
total
here? Yeah.
overcorrection is what people criticized it as, and it became a big deal, like in media and on the news when they were talking about it. Like, oh my gosh, she went completely the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, people don't have respect for that. Like,
Yeah.
you're wrong.
It's like,
People,
what's happening here?
this does happen. This instance he's saying he's mocking it as if it never happens, but it does happen.
does
It's been
happen.
happening for a long time. This isn't something new. This is just young naivete. Thinking that, no, this never happens. Well, I guess you've never seen it experienced in your time, but I mean, in my time, I've seen it experienced multiple times, where people have gone overcorrected and gone too far into religion, and the media responds on that.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
respond on that and say like, well, you're taking it too far. I get, you won't get off drugs. You have to turn it to the super fundamental, I hate gay people Christian.
That's why I'm really proud to call myself a Christian now. I've been going to, I don't really give a shit about your little Sky Daddy, okay?
Yeah, I
Think Gothics
don't.
would
Okay.
approve of that? Because I'm saying I don't care.
I would. And I think she would. I don't know. I don't even know if she's Christian. She talks a lot of right wing stuff, so maybe she is. But we both know right wingers who aren't Christian. We both know conservative folks that But most Christians would only are not like that crazy about it. Like you get some people who would protest shit like that. But I think most Christians, if you ask them, hey, can I say this and not not have respect for the Christian identity, and they're like, well, it's America, you have freedom of choice, do what like. That's what I'm saying. Like most Christians would probably say, yeah, do whatever you say you want,
Yeah.
like it's not hurting me. I don't give a shit.
do I care?
Respect my identity. You're like, I don't care.
Care? Like what? Okay.
Like I don't think that's a good argument right there. I think that's a very naive argument that
Yeah.
he thinks people would care about that. But
Right.
I think some people would for sure, but I think a lot of people wouldn't.
Just wouldn't
too.
bother with it.
And I think most people who are making that argument wouldn't, that are making the argument that I don't care about your identity, they probably don't care about you respecting their identity. They're people who are comfortable with their identity and don't care what other people think about it, right? They, like
Yeah.
my close friends know, say I identified as a hardcore Christian, that if you didn't want to accept that, and you're a stranger to me, and you don't want to accept that I'm a hardcore Christian, then I'd be like, all right. But
That's
my
cool,
friends
yeah.
and family know who I am. They know it. You know, that would be the important part, right? If you didn't, then maybe you're not as close as I thought you were. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand that
Those are the only
concept.
people that would care. Those are the only people that would care. Just
Yeah.
your friends and your family. That's
Yeah.
it.
Why would you care about strangers and what they
Yeah.
identify as? I don't know you. Like, why? Huh? And I've thought that from the beginning. I remember when this whole pronouns thing. Oh, you have to refer to me as I identify as this, and I was like, am I supposed to care what people
Yeah.
identify as? Like, since when? When was I supposed to care about that? Because I never have, and I never cared. There's a thing I talk about too about representation on screen. I never cared about that as a kid. I never even thought about it. Never even heard of the concept of somebody having to look like you to represent you in media.
Yeah.
Until like I was in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, that concept never popped into my mind. I was able to, what's the word? I just said it. Yeah, I was able to identify or relate to any character, anywhere, woman, white, Hispanic, black,
Yeah.
alien, dogs, cats. Like, it didn't matter if the character was anthropomorphized. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And it was going through a storyline and a plot. I can identify with that character. Like, why couldn't I? Now, about one of my favorite series as a kid was Alien, and Aliens with Sigourney Weaver was like my hero. Like, and
Yeah.
I would watch her and identify with her and be like, yeah, like I didn't need her to be a Latino boy for me to identify with. I liked superheroes. Most superheroes were not Latino. They were like white, guys, and I identified with all of them.
Yeah.
Even the older ones, the younger ones, I liked Captain America as much as I liked Spider-Man, which was meant to relate to the younger boys, you know what I'm saying? But I liked Captain America as well, and Iron Man. I'm not rich. I'm not a rich millionaire playboy with a fucking suit of armor,
Yeah.
Like, but I could still identify
Relate
with
to,
the story and his hardships and stuff like that. You don't need to look like the character to identify with it. And this is, I think, a bad precedent to give people, to tell them people have to look like you and show you that they can succeed in looking like you
Yeah.
for you to succeed. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
not how
Like,
it
you don't
is.
need that.
Yeah.
Or you can only live vicariously through people who look like you, which is stupid too. You don't need to do that. Especially coming from people who give you the idea that, oh, we're all humans. There's only one race. You know what I'm saying? All right, well, if that's the case, then we're all humans,
What's
and
the
you can,
problem?
and a black boy should be able to identify with a white woman on the street because we're all just humans, right?
Yeah.
Like, so either way, you should be identified. But I even identify with non-humans because I can watch All Dogs Go to Heaven,
Yeah.
or Land Before Time, and I can identify with a dinosaur. Relate to a dog that's trying to go to heaven and save a little girl's life. I can relate to that. That totally makes sense. That's how do you not? That's kind of the point of Disney when they make like animals that look like humans. The point is for you to identify and relate with those characters. It doesn't matter what they look like. It's not the point. It's the idea of the plot, the story, the personalities.
Yeah.
That's what matters. But these people don't get that. They literally it's. To me, that's a form of vanity. Like, they literally
Yeah.
need things to look like them, Like, it's a form of vanity. Let's go back to the chat. I definitely disrespect for people who are Bruce Leroy. They would call that racist today. Yeah, catches bullets with his teeth. We totally respect David Koresh. yeah, exactly. Like, that's dead on point right there. Or
Yeah.
like the Moonies or any of these other cults. Like, are you saying we should totally, somebody identifies as Scientologist? I'm a
I was just
Scientologist.
gonna
Like,
say
we should
that,
all
yeah.
just totally respect
Yeah.
that. And it's a ridiculous notion that we have to respect identity. Like, I don't think we do.
No.
Or about
But there's a
what I
difference between
identify as.
respect and like an abuse or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the thing, is they don't see a middle point.
No.
They just see you either accept it 100% or get the fuck out. But it's
Yeah.
like, well, what about if I just
What's
don't
in the
care?
middle? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not to say
There's a lot of
that,
things in politics
this
out there.
person
That's
isn't,
fine. Yeah.
isn't to be looked at as a part of society. No, that's not it at all. But I do think that a lot
save.
of people, and I see this particularly with those in marginalized groups. I hate that word, but those within the LGBT or those within, the Black community, POCs, etc. I see this a lot where
Piece of chips?
people want to make sure that you are aware that
That's
they
how my mom would
are
say shit.
a
I said cheat.
trans, non-binary something, or you need to know that I am a descendant of slavery and something.
Yeah.
Has
And you need to know that I'm white and proud to live in this country. I'm a Trump
But
voter.
she's not white. So how does that
Why
work?
would he
Like,
say
huh?
that?
Huh?
This is
Or I'm a
weird.
Christian. Like, yeah, everybody on the internet.
But nobody's telling you you have to respect them
Respect
for
those
being a
people
Trump
like that,
supporter.
yeah. Where
They're
is
saying not to
that?
attack them. But they're not against you not respecting them
respecting
being Trump voters. Like they're okay with that. What they're saying is don't fire me over it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like don't completely cancel me over and get me fired from my job and shit like that.
Yeah.
Or don't attack me over it and punch me in the face because I'm a Trump supporter. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have any respect for me because I'm a Trump supporter, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But I'm not a Trump
conversation
supporter.
over.
But I say this the opposite as well. For the last elections, I was a Biden supporter. Right? Well, really Andrew Yang, but you know he dropped out. So it's like between Biden and Trump, I'd rather go with Biden. So I said I'm a Biden supporter. Now I don't identify. I'm not a fan of Biden or
Biden
anything, so I don't
stand,
identify
whatever you
as
call
that. That's a totally different thing. I would never be walking around with a Biden shirt. You know, like I'm not a Biden fan. You know what I'm saying? Which is weird to me that there are Trump fans and people who wear Trump
Yeah.
shirts. That shit's weird to me. I've never worn shirts or held signs or anything of any president.
Yeah.
I don't do those
Seems
things.
like stuff
It's
meant
weird.
for sports, not for things
Yeah.
like your president and politics or whatever.
I don't do that. But let's say I did, and somebody came up to me, "Oh, you voted for Biden, blah blah." Okay, like I'm not against that person's right to be upset about it. Just don't attack me, you know, like
Yeah.
physically, and don't get me fired from my job. Like, you want to not respect it, fine. You have the right to either say shit to me in public or walk away and be pissed off about it. Doesn't bother
That's
me.
it,
at all.
yeah.
That doesn't bother me in the slightest. So, like, what she's saying is not wrong. Like, and I don't think she's offended by that.
Is talking about, like, aspects of their identity. And I'm not going to deny that there are not some times where people are definitely cringy with labels and cringy with identifying as all this shit or whatever. But when we're just talking about, like, trans people or, like, non...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody really has a problem with identifying trans people as trans people.
Yeah, what's wrong with
So if you want to say, like, I don't think that anybody says, like, I'm trans, and someone says, no, you're not. Like, I don't think that works like that. Like, I think you're making two different arguments here. She's talking about identify in general, and now he brings up a niche part of it to separate and make an argument that's not going to make any sense because he's literally saying trans people, but now we're talking about pronouns too.
Yeah.
Pronouns isn't the same as identifying. It's not, you know, there's two different things. Like, you know, it's like if I identify as a lion, that has nothing to do with pronouns. I could be a lion, lioness. You know,
Yeah.
you don't know based on that which one I'm saying. You know,
non-binary people or they them pronouns, like conservatives do this a lot where they will weaponize
Jamie.
their own
Sir.
ignorance. Just if it's hard for them to understand the usage of pronouns and trans people and everything else, doesn't mean that trans people are wrong and that you don't need to quote unquote respect them.
Please.
Guys, she
no, she didn't say anything about not respecting them as people. What she's saying is that she shouldn't have to be respectful of an identity.
Yeah.
That's not something that should be forced upon people. That's what she's saying. Like, why are we forcing it that? And like, why should I care? In fact, she's not even talking about respect. She's just saying about why should I
Why
care?
should I care?
Like,
Yeah.
why should I care about your identity? It doesn't. Really, it doesn't affect anyone but yourself. Like, so why should anyone outside of you care about your identity?
Yeah.
I don't care about anyone's identity. I don't. Imagine, like, I'm friends and I ask a friend, like, oh, what do you identify as? What?
You give the wrong answer and like, oh, I'm sorry, we can't continue this friendship
Yeah. I
anymore.
don't give a shit. Like, who cares? Why is that important? That's the question. Is why is that important? You know. And why is it important for each person to give into that when nobody else is going to do that for me? I mean, like, what if I want to identify as something? You're going to be okay with that too? Something that you don't agree with?
She said earlier in one of her
I mean, they do this with the Rachel Dolezal and stuff, and people like that, where they say they're black even though they're white, and they're transitioning basically race, but they don't respect that. But with sex, it's okay. But it's like, why? I thought we were supposed to respect taking out trans people and just talking in general about people identifying as stuff. Why? Like, why
Yeah,
can't
why
we
is that not allowed?
do that, right? If somebody can identify as demon and say my pronouns are demon, right? Like, then why can't Rachel Dolezal be
Be
a black woman
identifying the way
and
that
say
she
her
sees
pronouns
herself.
as queen or something? You know, like, you know, Nubian and queen. That's my pronouns. Like, why can't she do that? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Claims that she is not a conservative, okay? She is politically homeless.
Simply does not care.
This is
And
something in a
think
tweet that I would
that's
agree
weird for me.
with Hunter, where she says she's politically homeless, but she mostly says conservative views, and he's right. It is mostly conservative views.
Yeah.
She's probably closer to center, but still conservative. She probably has some liberal views, but I would probably say she's more conservative than liberal. So we
Yeah.
can put her like right past the center on the right, kind of like Sean.
And the reason that I ask that is once you ask that, you have to consider, well, what is the reason for me explaining this to people? What is the reason for me being so militant about using the correct pronouns?
I mean, you want to know an identity I don't respect is centrist. I don't even believe it exists. You know, I'm always like, centrist is a ridiculous statement. You're either left or right. There's
Yeah.
nobody exactly in the middle. You're either a little more left. You could be very close to the center, but you're always going to be a little more left or a little more right. There is no actual center. You know? So I kind of don't respect people who tell me they're centrist. Like, not that I don't respect them as people, I just don't respect that identity. It's like, in my mind, I go, you're probably more right or left.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably not
Pick
right
one.
in the center.
Right? If I don't care what you identify as or what pronouns you use, then why would I need to know this information? Well, then you can say, well, it's to educate you. Well, I don't want to be educated. Oh,
This is not what. Well, obviously, if someone's like, well, this is some education you need, that would be stupid. The best argument here for the pronoun usage is simply that if someone comes up to you and they're trans and maybe they're biologically male, but they identify as a woman, odds are, if they suffer from gender dysphoria, which is the likely scenario there, odds are, they're going to be trying to transition, trying to socially.
So he doesn't cut other things, but he cuts that out. You notice that? That's so weird.
Identify. So really it comes down again
Yeah.
to utility. Yeah, she's right over there. You wouldn't be like, he's right over there. No, him, see, that person there, yes, that's actually a biological man who is now identifying as a woman. And as a conservative, that really, as someone.
That's a weird situation because there's never really a moment where you have to interact with people. If it's for work, I understand. Like, that would totally be like if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I identify as this, for the sake of the job. I always think in any job you're in, get along with your
Your
coworkers, even
yeah.
if you hate them, even if you totally disagree with them,
Yeah.
don't argue with them. You're there for a job.
Yeah.
You're not there to argue with people. Do your fucking job. Shut your fucking mouth and do your job. That's how I think about work. And so if it's in a work scenario, fine. But in the street, a
Who
trans
cares?
person comes up to me and says, "Oh, hey, I identify as this, that." I'd be like, "Okay, and."
And
Like, what does that have to do with me? When am I ever going to call that person out or say anything about them? Like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
Like, you're just a random stranger.
Who is politically homeless.
And in the end, if you want people to do that, you have to gain their respect first.
Yeah.
People really, this is the problem, is when you first meet somebody, you should be at neutral respect, as in no respect, but not no respect. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
neutral. It's in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
you don't disrespect the person. You don't respect the person.
Simple.
It should be a neutral encounter. What Hunter's saying is coming through the assumption that everybody who meets should be at the utmost respect. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, you're starting at ultimate respect and then you work your way down from there if you do, or stay up. I say you start at neutral and the person either gives you a reason to not respect them or gives you a reason to respect them. You know what I'm saying? And if you respect somebody and they tell you, look, my identity is this and that, and they gave you a reason to respect them and they're good people, then, all right. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. I'll do that.
Yeah.
But if you're just coming up to people and telling them to address you a certain way and they have no respect, this is like imagine somebody comes up to you don't know and tells you what to call them as a nickname. Like, the
Yeah.
dude's name is Bob, but he comes over and he's like,
I want
hey man,
T-bone.
can you call me Dragon?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I remember growing up with people doing this shit and us always being like, dude, you're not supposed to give, like, it's super cringy to give yourself your own nickname. Not only that, but it seems like vain, like it says something about you, and it's totally off-putting, and you lose respect for doing that, right? Imagine I had a friend who wanted to be called Cage, and we were all like, "What? Like, nobody calls you Cage," and we called him KJ.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, could you guys call me Cage?" And I was like, "What? Like, no, you're KJ, bro. Like, you're not Cage. Get out of here. Like, it's cringy. That's what I'm saying. Nicknames are given. They're not made. You don't make them yourself. They're given.
Yeah.
Everybody I know who, when I was a kid, who was called like Chino or something, which Hispanics do a lot for people with Asian eyes, they'll call them Chino. Nobody went around and said, "Hey, can you please call me Chino?" Like, that was a nickname that came from their family because they were the most Asian looking one in their family. And then it sticks as a name. So then they go around telling people it's Chino because that's their name
Yeah.
from other people. But they don't just invent it and then you go to their house and their family's calling them something else and everybody calls something else. Like, please call me this. Like, it just doesn't work that way. It says a lot about you to create your own nickname. And this is just almost an extension of that.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up with the sound? Well, we have one mic, and Chris doesn't have a very booming voice, so I'm loud.
I'm trying
And
to
she's
cheer.
not. It's just the way it is. So I kind of have it in between where I'm going to be hitting the red zone on sound, and she's going to be hitting the yellow.
I'm sorry.
But is the video that I'm playing lower than us, or too loud or too low? Let me know, and I can fix that.
Really triggers me.
To me,
So,
it's, like,
I think that I would
pretty
like
loud
to just
when I
refer
listen
to him with their wrong pronouns because that's my feelings. Like, it's really ultimately I hate the word utilitarian or whatever, but it is. It's a utilitarian argument. It serves us a form of utility, and that's why we use pronouns. That's why I'm not a big fan of neo
No,
pronouns.
but we already have pronouns. So to create new pronouns, you could say it fits a utility, but it also waters down the utility of the original reason why we had pronouns.
Yeah.
And now you're adding so many pronouns that the quick utility of it is lost. Now things are like, now you have to process more when you see a person as opposed to just processing two things, he, him, or he or her. Now we have to process he, her, seer, this, that, and all these different things, and you have to process that. And that waters down the communicative utility of that, of pronouns. You know what I'm saying?
So again, like, there might be some, like, extreme where, like, people are like, I'm Z-Zem pronouns or what. It's like,
He sa's that's extreme. That's the norm
That's
for
the
them.
norm.
Not that they push Z-Zim, he's saying, but that's like Z-Zier and Z-Zim. That's what they say is for a large chunk of them. Is
Yeah.
that way. Those aren't even the extreme
that's like
ones.
some kooky people on fucking TikTok who need to go outside. Get over it. The vast
So no Z-Zip, so it's got to be he, her, he, him, or she, her. Is the only trans pronouns he accepts. That
Yeah.
doesn't
Or they,
think
them.
are extreme.
in the
Is they,
medical
them allowed?
consensus
Okay.
is that for trans people with gender dysphoria, they should socially transition. And that means that they're going to be taking steps and measures in order to look like the thing that they identify as.
Okay, well then it is it is a
tunnel-like?
form of respect.
know
Well,
why.
would you respect someone that compels you to change your speech in order for another person to feel validated? I certainly wouldn't.
But you would, absolutely. And I know you would.
So it is coming out. Why is that? Maybe
Just
the
start.
game.
It's just start.
See, man, I really don't know what I can do about that because I put up the game, and now it's because of that probably. Because now it's too high, and then I have a noise filter, so it doesn't pick up the. So. But I don't think there's much I can do about that. I can lower the gains, but now we're not going to be as loud. It's probably still gonna be. Yeah, we just need an individual. That's something to figure out. If I don't noise cancel, that's probably what it is when we're talking, they're hearing the fan of the computer at the same time.
maybe
Right?
that's
Is that what it is? Is that what it sounds like?
It sounds better when you put the noise cancel.
Because if I take off the noise suppression, then it's going to get Oh, they're gonna hear his fan.
It's a little bit.
Man, the fan's going hard right now because I'm OBSing, so that's probably what you're hearing is the fan. There's not really much I can do about that right now.
Because you do this every time you, for example, decide not to say the F word when you're at church with grandma. We curtail our language
I've never
validate people.
never in my life been to church with grandma. That's never happened in my entire life. Have I been in church with my grandma? Never happened.
Quote unquote, all the fucking time.
But what does cursing in church have to do with identity? I
Yeah.
don't understand.
For example,
But this is what I mean about he makes arguments that
yeah,
don't
that's
make any
exactly
sense.
it.
Like it doesn't even address what she's saying.
I'm not religious. I clown on religion. I talk about Sky Daddy and God.
So you don't respect religion then because you're
Yeah,
mocking.
you wouldn't do
so
those
then what's
things
the
if you
problem
didn't
here? He's
respect
literally
it.
saying he mocks religion. Like,
Simps and whatnot. But if I was actually going to church with my family and I know that this means something to them and that this is a
yeah, that's your family
yeah.
though. That's not a random stranger saying, "Hey, come with me to this church," and then completely respect everything about it. This, you know, like
Yeah.
they're making you go to this church. A random stranger who you don't know, like, why should I care
Why?
about that?
Yeah.
I would be like, no, I'm not going with you to that church. Like, fuck you, get out of my face. I'm gonna go back to my business. You know?
part of their identity.
This is the
Then
part
I-
where I'm saying he doesn't understand the argument, and he even gave that argument earlier. He was saying, "Oh, it's like a random stranger's going to come up to you and they say, I identify as this and that." It's like, guess what? If a random stranger came up to me and said, "Come with me to this church," I would say, "No, fuck off." You know, when random strangers show up at my door and say, "Hey, have you found Jesus?" I say, "No, fuck off." You know.
I would, yes, curtail my speech to quote unquote.
Yeah, but you can curtail. There's a difference between curtailing your speech in ideal or talking to people politely with some respect. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, all right, maybe if somebody asked me to go to their church, I wouldn't say fuck off, but I'd say no. You know, say for sure, no thanks. It's not happening. You know, like I ain't going with you. You know? You can go. You can go to the church all you want. You can you can identify as whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna do my own thing. Like I don't care what you do. I'm not against what you do. I don't really care about it at all. Just go do what you do. Why do I have to be involved in it?
Yeah.
I don't involve everyone else in what I do, you know, what I'm into.
Validate them. But you do, for the sake of respect, curtail your language. All the time, in virtually every social setting. That's how society works.
So it can't be a form of
So
respect
stupid.
because I think that most people with a common sense can say that
Yes.
respect
Common sense, as we can see, it gets us very far.
say that respect is really just please and thank yous. Hello, sir. Goodbye.
No, that's politeness. That's not respect. You can be polite to people you don't respect. Even. Like, you know, just because you're polite doesn't mean you respect the person, or respect anything about them. That's not true.
Ma'am, nice to see you. I'll see you later. Being polite, if you will.
Wait,
Yeah, those are different things. Being polite and having
is
respect.
Gothic still in, like, kindergarten? This is, like, the most pathetically shallow sentence I think I've ever heard in my life. All that manners really mean is just, like, please and thank you.
No,
I like
she
how-
said the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Oh, she also said thank you, ma'am. Like, okay, so you're bringing up the pronouns thing? Okay, so you acknowledge that in that aspect you would use pronouns to be respectful?
But when did she say she never used pronouns?
Yes.
And it's not to use respectful. She's actually saying, it's funny because
She
he
said
doesn't
all-
understand.
yeah.
She's actually mocking people who have the concept that that's what respect is. She's saying people think this is what respect is. It's really just being polite, but that's not what respect is. She's saying.
And-
So he's like, oh, she's saying manners, blah blah blah. That's not what she's saying. Like,
Yeah.
He's totally off.
All she's asked is, why should I care about that? Not that
Yeah.
she wouldn't do it, just why?
Yeah, why should I care?
should she care?
And what happens when you don't care about it? That's what
Yeah.
she said. What is the reaction to me saying I don't care what your identity is? I don't care what your
Well, is it
I
only
don't
when
care
it's
that you
trans
don't
people?
care.
It
what
sounds
my
like
plan
there's
is, so
more
why
to
should
it
I
than
care?
this.
You know
Yeah.
about yours.
This idea of subscribing to how you perceive yourself is something else. And And if you need that in order to feel validated, that's the problem. Because no one on this planet should be responsible of validating another human being. That is your own responsibility. And
Wait,
if-
there's a hint of truth there, but in the context, it doesn't really apply. So the hint
Why,
of
why not?
truth is that ultimately you should not be relying on other people for
Right,
validation.
which is
Of
what she,
course.
exactly what she said, and he's saying, of
You
course.
don't
you're-
drive yourself crazy trying to validate yourself to every single person that you encounter.
Yeah. Well, wait for the but. He just completely agreed with her, 100%. Not even said, of course, like it's obvious that that's true. Now let's hear the but.
That's like confidence 101. You need to take confidence in your own abilities, your own identity, your own whatever you choose to take confidence in. It shouldn't be something that someone else has like significant control over. So I can agree with that, but that does not extend to, well, it's not my business to be respectful to you. You
Well,
just
it's not about respect.
It's not about
She's saying
respect.
it's acknowledgement. Like, why does she
Validation.
even acknowledge? Like, he just contradicted exactly what he was just saying.
Yeah.
said respect would be thank you and please me.
No, she didn't.
you-
Incorrect. She was making fun of you for thinking respect meant that, or other people, the people she's talking about. She said, think that's what
That's what
respect is,
respect
but that's
is.
not what
Yeah.
respect is. Bro, he doesn't pay attention. And
No.
this is why she made a video saying interrupting is not listening.
Yeah.
He doesn't listen. He just responds
Talks
without
over
listening
talk.
to exactly
Yeah.
what she's saying. She said the exact opposite of what he's responding to.
You already acknowledge that pronouns in some instances are absolutely used for respect. So are you saying you just wouldn't respect trans people because you don't have to? So in that
Where did
case,
she say that, though? She
She didn't
didn't
say
say
that.
that.
Yeah,
All
look.
it is why should I care about your pronouns? That doesn't say anything about not being respectful to somebody.
it's more like selective behavior, which
Yeah, he's also mixing it too. She's talking about respect in a different way, but also talking about why should she care. Not saying she's gonna disrespect them,
Yeah.
but
It's like it's irrelevant to how she's gonna like conduct herself with that person is basically what it is.
and he keeps blending the two, regardless of her making a separation between not caring and respect, and making
Yeah.
two different separations between this. This whole time, she's making a separation between this thing, and he's been lumping them together. So none of his arguments make sense to what she's saying. And in fact, now he's arguing against the opposite of what she's saying and using the opposite of what she said as a gotcha against her.
Yeah.
people, which, I mean, sure, you can go around like acting like an idiot. I would kind of want to know why, and I think that really it's getting at something significantly deeper, which is, seems like she doesn't really like trans people.
and and
That's
if
not the
you
takeaway I
need
got.
that
No.
in order
Okay.
to feel
It's
val-
actually her just saying she doesn't care. Yeah, she doesn't care that trans people want to identify as certain things. She doesn't care. But she's not just talking about trans people. He's the one who brought it to her. She's talking about identity politics in general. So she doesn't care if people identify as, like he said, Christian. She doesn't care. You know,
Yeah.
that's what she's saying. Or why should I care? I care if it has to do with me. You know, so if she's Christian, maybe she cares about other people identifying as Christian. But why should she care about people identifying as atheists? Why should she care about people identifying as Muslim? You know, like,
Yeah.
or Buddhist? Like, why should she care?
validated, that's the problem. Because no one on this planet should be responsible of validating another human being. That is your own
And then that part is like,
So, yeah.
I'm trying to be charitable. Maybe she doesn't mean it as broad.
You literally agreed with everything she said.
Yeah.
So then you're
So
going to say, I'm
what's
trying to
the-
be charitable. You were charitable by agreeing, and then you took
Now
away
you're
that
gonna-
charitability and try to find ways you can sneakily and weasel your way into a disagreement. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
You
So-
don't
so
have
you're
to
not trying
disagree with
be
her all the
uncharitable.
time
You're literally,
if you agree with her.
he's literally trying to be uncharitable. That's what's happening. Because he agreed with her. That was the charitable part. Now he's trying to find disagreement. And he
literally
finds
is-
the worst one. It's the most ridiculous thing because she's obviously talking about adults with
Yeah,
with agency.
we're not talking-
sounds
about
like
children.
my first question would be, is it a parent's responsibility to validate their child? If your 3-year-old daughter comes out and says, Mom, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be an astronaut. You're probably going to validate that, right? And be like,
Yeah,
yes.
but this is a stupid point because it's the parent's job to validate and not validate as well. If
Yeah.
your child comes up and says, Dad, I want to be fucking Chucky from Child's Play and stab people,
Are we just
you
gonna-
probably shouldn't
Here's
validate
the
that.
knife,
Right?
son.
You know, if your 3-year-old daughter keeps fucking saying she wants to be a stripper or a prostitute. You know,
Gonna
you
get her the
probably should
heels and the pole
validate
as
those
well.
things, right?
Yeah.
Like there's things that your 3-year-old would want that you don't validate. You know, remember that movie Big Daddy with Adam
Yeah.
Sandler? Really think about it, because remember how he kept letting the kid do whatever he
do
wanted,
whatever he
and he wanted
wanted,
to
yeah.
be called Frankenstein. All he ate was sugary
Sugar.
stuff all day, and it's like this. That's what happens when you validate the kid, and then he became this little spoiled brat.
Yeah.
You know, and he was living terribly. That's what happens when all you do is validate your kid. So you're not. You know, hopefully, I don't think Hunter's. That's all he does, and I think he could, if he's just doing this as a gotcha. But if he thought about this deep enough, he'd be like, "Oh wait. That's not the parent's job to
Yeah.
just validate or invalidate things." You know, and I think he knows that.
Yeah, you are, honey. Absolutely, you are. You can be whatever you want when you grow up.
No, but when they tell you they want to be something that's extraordinarily negative and would hurt them, you would
Don't
invalidate
encourage
that, right?
that. Yeah.
Like that, I want to be a drug addict when I grow up. You know, I've watched all these movies like Requiem for a Dream, and the drugs
That's
look
the
really
life I want.
exciting and wonderful, and I want to live a life filled with heroin and speed and shit. Like you're gonna say, "Oh, well, you could be whatever you want, honey. If you want heroin and speed, you know, go for
Go
it."
for it.
Probably going to validate that. You're not going to be like, well, with the current economy and the market heading in the way that it is in the next 18 years, you'll need a very substantial salary. And I'm just not sure that combined with college.
But I mean,
And you know what? That does happen because growing up, I wanted to be an artist and go to art school, and I was talked out of that by my parents. So if he's going to say that that's like certain things are discouraged, even with a positive, like the positive of that, he's lying about that.
no, and he talks about like it's a bad thing that parents want their kids to have a stable financial future. Like, why not? Like, you know, it sucks, you know, that your parents maybe, well, you know, you want to be a
Talk you out of
comedian or
it.
something.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know,
I don't
we've
know
heard
about
many
that.
tales of comedians who are famous and that their parents never thought they were going to make it. They wanted to get into carpentry with them or something. You know, we hear that a lot, but it's not bad for a parent to want the best for their child.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
They may be wrong on what might be the best, but they're trying their best and they
Mm-hmm.
see a better outcome in one way. They could be wrong, like I said.
Yeah.
Because, and on top of that, we do have a culture of, or at least we did for a long time, of people trying to be growing up just wanting to be famous,
Yeah.
not for a specific
Just
reason, you know?
existing to exist.
And that's a rarity. Like, maybe we shouldn't have a large amounts of our population growing up thinking, I want to be famous, because
Yeah.
only a very, very small percentage of them are going
Actually
to
get
actually
it, yeah.
achieve that, and the rest are screwed if they don't have a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, and this happens over and over again. That's why the concept of starving artists exists,
Yeah.
because they're people who,
Yes.
to the detriment of everything else in their life, focused on art, and then they didn't succeed, and now they have no backup plan.
Yeah.
That's why you have teachers that teach, you know what they say, like the people who
Can't
can't
do
create
teach.
teach. and shit.
College tuition and getting the loans. I just don't think that'll work, honey. I really think, like, no. You would just be validating them. So that would be my first question is
These arguments.
it
are
ever
so
a parent's job to
dumb.
validate their child? Again, not a
Just not an argument
Not an
at all.
argument.
It just
blanket
doesn't work.
thing.
Not a blanket
don't
thing.
validate-
Then what's the point?
Your kid if they're throwing a tantrum.
You don't validate your kid if they're throwing a tantrum, right? You don't validate your kid if they want to identify as something bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, Dad, I'm the Human Torch, and they're trying to light themselves
things
on
on
fire.
fire.
You're not going to validate that and say, yeah, one day you will be on fire. Like, you know, we're going to help you. You're going to be
There
on fire.
are sometimes where you don't validate your kid, but like
Then
no
that's
one.
it.
Wow.
You just destroyed your
Then what
argument.
was
There are
wrong with
times
her
when you don't
response?
validate your kid. Well, then you just destroyed your own argument.
Is responsible to validate someone else.
And the responsibility of validating someone else. One, she's talking about adults at the agency. Parents, of course, are going to validate or invalidate the kids for things because they're raising you. That's the
Yeah.
point, right? But once you're an adult, it's basically your own job to validate yourself.
Okay. I hope you're not gonna have kids anytime soon.
Wow.
And on top of
Because
that,
you're an
we're talking.
expert?
Oh, sorry.
Or no, just what you said there. It's like, is he the expert now?
But in the end, it's not. We're not talking about people who have respect for each other, know each other. We're talking about strangers. We're talking about. She started off saying like, "Why should I care about other? It's not my job to validate you. If it's her kid, it is her job to validate you." You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the point. He's taking it to.
Responsibility. And if you're looking
specific
for
or
that
general.
through being aggressive with someone who refuses to subscribe to how you perceive yourself, then that's it. for the acceptance of your identity to go down the tube. Because I'll tell you right now, forcing...
I wonder if she would get really mad if someone refused to validate her identity as politically homeless rather than conservative.
No, not really. I bet she doesn't. I bet that happens all the time. You think? Does he think he's the first person who's called her a conservative? So
Yeah,
being
I wonder if
politically
that's actually
homeless.
what
I
she
doubt it. And I doubt it makes her mad. You know what it is these people think everybody gets mad. Any reaction is triggered.
Yeah. Because
You
that's
see
how
it all the
Hunter
time.
reacts. That's how Hunter reacts. So
Yeah.
just
You've seen
this
it
is
all
his
the time.
projection.
Any reaction, it's like, oh, you're triggered snowflake, because he has nothing. He just uses the terms used against him. He uses back at people
Yeah.
because he's not creative. He's,
No.
he has no substance.
Address me in the way that I want. The name is ma'am. You know what I'm talking about? That type of idea. But that's all I have
Right.
to say about the
Remember the one viral video that happened 3 years ago that you're referencing now, current year? Because you couldn't think of anything recent because hardly ever does shit like that actually happen. For the vast majority of trans people, they're just trying to live their lives in despite of people like you.
you worked at a call
In
center.
despite of people like you. What?
What?
You mean in spite? In despite of people like you, he said.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You don't drive.
But why despite people like her, she's not interacting with them?
No.
That's kind of the point she's making, is that should she care? She's not interacting with them.
Yeah.
You know, if she interacted with them, then maybe you could say, oh, look, she interacted when she did this, that, but she doesn't interact with trans people, probably. Or if she does, they have enough mutual respect for each other, they interact fine. But the point in the end is, why should she care about the other people that she doesn't know? Like, why should she care? And he doesn't respond to
that
that.
would
And then
federally-
he's saying it's despite her, so is he saying that her not caring is hurting
It's
them?
hurting.
Like, wouldn't the problem be then to fix them not caring about what she thinks too, so that they can live mutually not caring about each other?
regulate
Instead of making it's a weird thing to want to force everyone to care about what you want them to care about. Like, that's activism. That's basically what activism is. It's you trying to force people to care about what you care about.
Yeah.
But if I don't care, I don't care. I'm sorry. Like, what are you gonna do about it?
It
Get
just
over it.
seems exhausting.
And now you're just going around shaming people for not caring. Imagine me going around shaming people for not being into Marvel comics as much as I am, being into superheroes and shit, or horror movies. You don't like horror movies, and now I'm gonna go around like shaming people. This person doesn't like horror movies. They're anti-horrorite. Blah blah blah. I'm not trying to force or shame people into liking what I like. That's ridiculous. I like what I like. Like I said before, I even have enough self-awareness that if I'm gonna go talking about it and I realize people aren't into it, and they're just like, I'm gonna stop talking about it. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
You're not into it. I have self-awareness and I understand to read the room to
Yeah.
be like, okay, people aren't interested in this. Let me move on to a different topic.
to address people in a certain way, otherwise you would be fined or put in jail. Let's say, for the sake of the argument, you would have to address your customers as Mr., Mrs., or Miss. So you would have to know their marital status, and you would have to address them appropriately using these correct terms. And if you didn't, you would get fined. Would you like that? Would you be okay knowing that you would have to pay money out of your pocket because you refuse to use the correct words in order to address a complete stranger? I have a hard time believing
Wait, that's the...
most people would be okay using these
That's a
correct
better
terms. And if you didn't, you
example.
would get fined. Would you like that? Would you
Oh, there's
be
the part where he was talking about where he goes off into, why are you
he
bringing up
didn't
this
get
scenario?
this, but this is a better example than him using the religious identification, I think, than for the pronouns.
okay knowing that you would have
Yeah,
to pay money out
he
of
doesn't
your
have an argument for
pocket
this. He
because
just
you
says, this
refuse to
literally doesn't
use the
happen. This has
correct
never
words in
happened.
It
order
does
to
happen.
address a complete stranger. I have a hard time believing
Wait, that's the...
most people would be okay with that. But again, this is your challenge. So let me know in the comments what you think, and I will see you.
I mean, people that aren't trans literally can get, like, misgendered in calls. Sometimes if their voice sounds a little high or their voice sounds a little deep. But it's not usually, like, a blind thing where it's just, like, you have to close your eyes and be like, is this
But
person
she
a
didn't
man
say
or a
that.
woman? Guess now or else you'll have a bullet in your brain. Like, no,
didn't say
usually
that.
it's like...
What an
Again,
exaggeration.
people are taking steps to physically, socially identify as their gender identity. And with that, comes along the utility, more or less, with just using their preferred pronouns.
Right, but she's not against people using it. She's against her caring about it.
Yeah.
She's not
Just
saying
doesn't care.
She's not saying she cares that other people. She's not saying, "Hey, everybody, don't respect these people. Don't use pronouns." You know, she's not saying that. All she's saying is, "Why should I
Why
care?"
care?
You know,
Yeah.
like, that's all she's saying.
For
You're
what?
twisting it. Yeah, Hunter's twisting it into a way of him saying like, "Oh, she's telling people not to care." And this and
Yeah.
no, she's just saying she herself doesn't care. There's people out there who don't care about people's identities. Like, why should this?
He's gone on to label her transphobic because he's taken her completely out of context, and all she's saying is, "Why do I care?"
Yeah.
Not, "I don't like these people." She never said that. She
Yeah,
just
that's why you
doesn't
keep saying
care.
to bring that up. Like, oh, she just doesn't like trans people. It's
Yeah.
like, that's not what she's saying. She's just saying she doesn't care, like, about their what they identify as. And it's
I
not
mean,
even
is there
trans
any
people, it's
law
just about
at all in
people
any
identifying
place
as
where it's like, if you're walking down the street and you accidentally misgender someone, you'll get fined? Is that a thing? And please don't say
She didn't say it was a thing, though.
in New York.
She's doing
where
a
the
thought experiment. Would you be okay with that being a thing? That's the question. Is if she's not saying that's what's happening. She's saying, would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
By taking it and putting it into other pronouns like Mr., Mrs., Ma'am. You know.
actually only extended to like private businesses and landlords that that were now restricted and could be fined if they repeatedly misgendered someone maliciously. So can you point me to an example where any of that has actually
that's hard to
happened, or is
prove.
this just,
Malicious.
are we just
That's
going the little
a real
Timmy route
difficult
where
thing to prove.
since there's no proof on your side, you
just
just
a waste of
make
court
up a
time if
wet
that actually
dream to
was.
scare yourself
Right.
with it? Is that it? You need something to fuel the fear?
But that's not
I
what
gotta think
she's
of
saying.
something. There's trans people aren't really that scary.
But this all goes into what she says, that he doesn't listen. You know,
Yeah.
that he argues.
Well, what if you were
something
going to get
that's not
fined if every single time you got it wrong? Would you be scared then, libtard?
Wonderful.
She didn't say any of
Over to Gothic.
Okay, so this is what
No,
they did.
this setup is just the
So,
silliest
cancel
setup
culture,
in
has
the
it
world.
gone too far?
That's
I don't
true.
think it should have started to begin with.
Why is
I
this?
do think that cancel culture is, first of all, it's very comparable to the struggle sessions that they have during Mao's Cultural Revolution in China. On a base level of what the consequences of cancel culture is, it doesn't leave room for context or nuance. It avoids due process. As far as what is the proper punishment, how long should a punishment be for, was a crime even committed in the first place, things like that. I believe it encourages emotional immaturity. It encourages public shaming, humiliation, and it also encourages entitlement to authority. This idea that random strangers online are deserving of an apology for something that they really have no authority to police in the first place, it basically leads to bullying. It enables this bullying mentality. I also believe that this then discourages critical thinking because people are kind of reacting on this emotional basis. Now we get down to just seeing things for just black and white, quite literally. Black.
But you realize she already started. She's giving her opening statement, and they haven't really defined what they're talking about when they say cancel culture. She's just kind of going off on what's bad about it. But this is where it goes wrong, because now she's leaving it open for Hunter to define it, and it's gonna go opposed to what he's saying. And this is what he does. He pulls a Martin Bailey on this. Like he explains it as being this extreme thing, but then pulls it back, and then now it's this broad thing. And now we're talking about Mr. Potato Head,
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss, like the most ridiculous concepts. So you
Black
can put it to
victim,
cancel culture.
white
It's
suspect equals something, a crime motivated by race. That lacks critical thinking to me. I also believe that this doesn't teach conflict resolution. It discourages civil discourse. And there's also no standard operating procedure.
And all of it's coming too quickly. You should never debate in this way, where you give out too many points in one shot.
yeah.
That's useless. But I don't know. I might not agree with all of it, but some of the things she's saying make sense.
For cancel culture. So to put this into context, it could be the result of cancel culture could be as simple as someone getting some mean tweets sent at them, or it could be as
The results of cancel culture could be some mean tweets. Who cares about
Yeah.
that? I would care.
severe, someone losing their livelihood or them committing suicide because of the nonstop onslaught of emotional trauma. And also, I will say that canceling words are also an issue because that ties into
Canceling words
political.
is stupid, but I think a big point of what she's talking about here, and you can get through the context, is that cancel culture is for people, right? That's what she's saying. A person. She's about a person committing suicide, person, lose their livelihood. She's not talking about a business or an item or
Yeah.
and Jemima. Fucking, she ain't talking about that. That's not cancel culture. It's about a person.
Yeah.
A person getting canceled because of something they did, or and also quickly too, because she's saying like it happens, and even if you find out they didn't do the thing, the word
already too
already
late.
went out.
Yeah.
It's already had an
Political
effect.
correctness, thus changing definitions and
I mean, we've
control-
seen TYT do this all the time, where they report some falsehood and they never go back and correct it. Even if they did, how do we know people are seeing the correction and not seeing the original video if they're going to see the correction?
controlling speech. Cancel culture,
It's too late by
to
that
summarize,
point.
is a Marxist tactic.
Okay. Also, Gothics, could you? There's a lot of reverb in your mic. Would it be any way for you to correct that?
Oh, someone else told me that too. Hold on a second.
Thank you very much. While you do that, though, we have other people who are going to do intros. Hunter Avalon, I want to throw it over to you.
Yeah, honestly, cancel culture.
What do you say? Changing definitions? Gothics.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he's saying she changed the definition of what cancel culture is? You guys
Sure.
haven't even come up
It
with
is pretty cringy at the end of the day, let's be honest. I think that
So he's
ultimate-
agreeing cancel culture is cringy. He just said cancel culture is cringy. Let's be.
Lee,
So why are you
it-
arguing for
Yeah.
it?
can lead to a lot of harm on the general discourse, but I also think that we need to be willing to have a conversation
Yeah.
about some of these issues without going the cancel them route. So for example,
So,
I think
what's-
that there are a lot of people that want to feel special, they want to feel important, they want to feel like they're doing something. And so for them, being maybe still in school, maybe just not having anything else to do in their life, whatever, they find some kind of activism in canceling the guy who tweeted the N-word when he was 14 or something so delusional, because I've seen stuff like that happen
Yeah,
before.
it's big.
But I think we have this issue where conservatives are so hyper fixated on how bad cancel culture is, they tend to take the
I don't think that's some of them are, but I think for a lot of them, it's not how bad it is now. It's talking about the slippery slope of what this will lead to.
Lead to, yeah.
Like I see a lot of these guys, and I do call a lot of some of these conservative people, I call them fearmongers, like people like Ian Miles Chong, even Lauren Southern. Sometimes I call her a fearmonger because these are people who greatly exaggerate shit that's going on in culture.
Yeah.
They take it to the extremes, but that's not to say that it's irrelevant when people bring up that what this could lead to, and would be. That's the whole point of the book 1984, is the idea that, if we continue down a certain path, what will it look like?
Yeah.
When it gets to a level of exaggeratedness where the government's now controlling your entire speech and what you can and can't say. Fahrenheit 451, where they're burning books so people don't learn from books or get new ideas from books, because
Yeah.
the government wants you to follow this strict, idea.
opposite extreme. So for example, I mean, let's think about it. We had the Dr. Seuss thing that conservatives claimed was
That's not cancel culture, though. That's
the
one,
same
they
as-
did it to themselves. That's
Yeah.
not cancel culture. But what that is pandering. I know he brings up in a bit that nobody complained about it; they just did it on their own. But it's still pandering that they did it now. It's kind of obvious why they did it now in this current era. They could have done it 20 years ago. They could have done it 10 years ago. They could have done it 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But they did it when they did it for a certain reason.
Yeah.
So it's like a preemptive. Hey, look how good we are. We cloned our library and found this
Something
problem
that's-
that we
yeah.
think might be kind of racist, and we're gonna brush it aside and never sell it again. But that's not cancel culture, because I think cancel culture is people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not an item. Like Dr. Seuss is not being canceled. They're still
It's
selling
like
Dr.
how
Seuss.
Jenna Marbles canceled herself before anybody canceled her. She's like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm done.
But even still, they still sell Dr. Seuss books, so he's not canceled. It's not like that one image came out and they were like, "Oh, that's it, Doctor. No, we're not selling
No
Dr.
more."
Seuss anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody's selling Dr. Seuss." That's not a thing. So there's no reason to call that cancel culture. And I don't think most conservatives did call that. I think he's picking on the fringe, crazy alt-right kind of guys that exaggerate those things to do that. I don't think that Gothics ever said, "Oh, they canceled Dr. Seuss."
Yeah.
cancel culture. That was not
Not that I
cancel
know. Like I was saying, I don't know much about Gothics. Maybe she did say that, but from what I've seen of her, she doesn't seem to be that
culture
exaggerated.
at all. That was literally just a private business making a decision. That it wasn't even from public pressure. We had the Mr. Potato Head thing where they changed it to.
It wasn't
This wasn't-
directly from public pressure, but it's indirectly from public pressure. Because, like I said, it's very popular to do things like that now, so they're following it. Just like Ben and Jerry's, does shit like that too, and they come up with like super socialist like ice creams and shit for Cory Bush or something because they're going with what's popular right now. Like,
Yeah.
culture.
Just being Potato Head for like the overall brand change, and then they were conservatives were
this
like
is the
Because
same-
they brought in like they expanded their characters in the Potato Head brand. They still have Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head went nowhere. Okay, they're
But that-
still called that. They now have the baby yam and just different accessories. I think was also they just changed it to just Potato Head.
And like I said, cancel culture is people, so Mr. Potato doesn't even
Yeah,
count in
it's a
that.
toy.
Like, so I don't understand what he means. And literally, from what she was saying like damage to your livelihood, suicide. Nobody's
Who's
afraid
getting
Mr.
hung up
Potato
on
Head's
this?
gonna commit suicide.
Yeah.
malding on Twitter about like they're getting rid of it. Oh, they're canceled, Mr. Potato. It's like I think that
You know what?
That's not much of what happened. The thing is, also, you have to understand that Hunter strawmans people, so he remembers things incorrectly because he'll read something and be like, "Oh, look what they did to Mr. Potato Head." Blah blah. They're changing it. Blah blah. This is just the beginning, or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they're saying this is just the beginning. Next, they're gonna come after other stuff. And then he's taking that as blah blah. Cancel culture, and it's like, meanwhile, they didn't mention anything about
Yeah.
cancel culture. But he remembers it that way because he strawmans people as that already. Oh, this guy's actually mad because he's sick because he thinks they're canceling Dr. Seuss or something. So he's mad because he thinks they're canceling Dr. Seuss. When they're saying like, oh, look, there's one book that... Honestly, for me, I say, why change those things? We're all adults. I mean, maybe Dr. Seuss is for children, but I mean, maybe change that book to be for adults,
Adults.
But because children aren't even going to understand those concepts,
No.
that could be racist or anything.
Yeah.
Children
You have
won't
to
even understand.
explain why this is offensive or should be taken offensively to a child.
Yeah, they're not going to understand
They're
that.
not-
Anybody who is going to understand that is adult enough to know that there were different views of things back in the day than there is now.
Yeah.
I brought up the H.P. Lovecraft reference. He said a lot of racist things in some of his books. Maybe not a lot. He said some racist things in some of his books. He had very xenophobic views, and in reality, in real life, he was a xenophobic person who had those kind of views of culture should stay to certain things. But I'm adult enough to read his books and put that aside and understand the other concepts and understand his writings, without feeling offended or thinking like, oh, this is gonna make people racist. Like, no, it's not. It's a fiction work. It's not. You actually have to dig into his life and his views to understand the fiction work even does that.
Yeah.
And that's nothing a kid would understand. But adults will. And we're all adults. We can handle bad language or racist ideas. We can handle that stuff. We're adults. Why hide those things
that we need
from
to
our
sort of
past? In
find
fact, the
that
whole point of history is to not repeat the past. So we have to learn about the past. If you blind everyone to these views from the past, they're going to repeat again because
Yeah.
nobody's going to know that they were had before and didn't work and were bad views.
balance. So like
It's like if we stopped teaching what happened with like Mussolini and stuff like that, and then thinking that when
Just a
someone
good
starts
guy or
doing it
something,
again,
yeah.
we're not supposed to talk about like, look, this has been done before. This is what happened.
then like you're a racist piece of shit because you said the N-word when you were 14. More like, hey, you're 14, you're a kid, you might not have realized that that's impactful or what that word really kind of like the weight that word has behind it. But there's also like a conversation to be had about
He
how we
actually
don't-
just said that. How you're a kid, you don't really understand. Like, yeah, exactly. So for them to understand that's even offensive to anybody, it would have to be explained to them.
want to like enable racism if possible, and we want to act appropriately if people are using slurs and whatnot. Like I think that there's a way that we can address this that's much more productive than just canceling people on Twitter or trying to get them
He basically just agreed
That's
with her.
the- yeah.
Everything he's saying is agreeing with her. He's saying
fired or
let's
whatever.
not do cancel
Usually,
culture. What's
let's
the
be
problem?
honest,
What's the
based on
argument?
like just a little bit of information.
And then he used the
It's not
most
usually
craziest
like this.
concepts of cancel culture, which aren't even cancel culture, like Mr. Potato and Dr. Seuss, to make a point, to make it seem ridiculous or something. But then he's still agreeing with her, so it makes no sense. It's a terrible
full
argument.
out thing. But at the flip side, one more thing. I know my time's running out, but the last thing too is that there are also elements of cancel culture that I think we all agree with. Like, society has to cancel some people. Some people are worth canceling. Like, America, quote unquote, canceled Hitler. Like,
This is
there
a
are
dumb
times.
That's
for
not
him to
America
say.
didn't cancel Hitler. That didn't happen. Like you could still buy Mein Kampf from I remember like somebody made this point and Chris tweeted that America didn't cancel Hitler. Like what are you talking about? You can still buy his books and stuff that he made. You can still buy that stuff. And then someone said, "Oh well, it's not." It's not banned, but Amazon and Barnes and Nobles stopped selling
selling
it, blah blah. And I said,
love-
and so I looked it up, and both Amazon and Barnes and Noble sells
Sell
Mein
those
Kampf.
things.
They both sell it. You could buy it right now. You could actually buy the digital version off of one for 99 cents off of Barnes and Nobles, and the digital version from Amazon for like $1.99 or free with the app. Like if you download the
Yeah.
Kindle app, it's free. So it's like, yeah,
What are you
he's
talking
not
about,
canceled.
Hunter?
That's not what it's called. We were in war with that
Yeah,
country,
that's
and
not
we
canceling
won
someone,
that
Hunter.
war along with other countries, but that's not cancel.
Yeah.
It's weird how he's equating these things to cancel culture. Like, are we upset that Hitler got canceled because he lost his job? I guess, or
Yeah.
or because he committed suicide. He did actually do both of those things. He did lose his job.
Yeah.
And he did commit suicide. But I don't think that's what she meant by that. I don't know.
Times
That's
that
what
we
I'm
want
saying. Like he doesn't understand arguments. Like he
to
just
fucking cancel someone, but it's more about like, is this justified and is it not? And right now, cancel culture.
But
does
who
not-
would we cancel? Who would you want to
would-
cancel
yeah.
on their ideas?
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand.
Because if that's the way that he wants to go, like then there's going to be something out there that makes Hunter at risk of being canceled. Wouldn't that like
I-
go both ways? That should.
I think as long as people aren't this, which is what I think the law is for free speech and stuff like that, is as long as you aren't encouraging violence towards people or encouraging criminality to commit certain crimes and telling people straight up to commit certain crimes and violence, I don't think there's a problem or reason to cancel anyone. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, I don't see it. Like, what is the reason? Even if they have bad ideas, I think the best thing to do with people that have bad ideas is to mock them.
Yeah.
And make your counter video. This is why I always tell people to make videos, that it's better than debate. You see a video of somebody saying something stupid, make a video replying to it and tell and go down deep into why they,
Yeah.
are.
But somebody
wrong.
responded that to me on Twitter. I was like, bro, go at it. Like,
Yeah,
make,
go at it.
make a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh, I
go
tell
nuts.
people that all the
Like,
time, like the people who want to argue with Sean in his server, and I'm like, why don't you make a video? Oh, he was wrong in this video and that video, so he's got to come in and debate me and shit. And I'm like, why don't you just make a video explaining how he's wrong in those things? And
Yeah.
it's like, no, I got to tell him
to tell
directly.
him
Like,
to
why?
his face.
Why do you have to tell him directly? I don't understand that. Isn't it better that you take your time?
Get
Make
your
a
points
video,
all
and
lined
if he
up.
wants to respond to it, he can take his time.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to catch him off guard?
Yeah.
This is why I say these debate me, bro, guys, they don't care about the conversation.
No.
Because they want you off guard. They
Yeah.
want you. This happens a lot of times with Lance wants to debate Sean instead of making videos. Or he even used that as an excuse. He did a response. Sean did a detailed video that he worked on, went over Lance's stuff and thought about it. It wasn't on the spot. He made a detailed, slow video detailing how Lance is wrong about
Yeah.
something. Lance goes over it on his live stream on the spot, doesn't pre-watch it, so he doesn't know what's coming up, and then he's getting busted on shit on a video that's
And he
not
can't
live.
even respond
And at
to
the
it.
end, what does he say? Well, he actually gets to put videos and does this, that, and it's
And I'm
like,
doing this live, so
Yeah,
I
and I'm
don't
doing
have
this
the
live.
same, it's like you could have done it that way.
yeah,
you
and I'm
chose
like,
not
whose
to.
fault is that? How is that Sean's fault that that you're too lazy to put in the same amount of work that Sean did to bust
Yeah.
you? Like, literally, if you think you could bust Sean, that means you can put aside that time, not be lazy, and make a detailed video
Yeah.
on busting on Sean. But you don't want to put in that time, and then
No.
you want to use that as an excuse. But that's an excuse on
poor
you. That's
excuse.
you being lazy.
Yeah.
You not wanting, you live streaming instead of making a video is on you.
Yeah.
Whose fault is that? I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. And so Hunter does the same shit. But all these guys do that. That's what I'm saying. That's why they always want to debate you. They're never like, oh, I'm going to make this video. No, it's come on this stream and debate me.
Challenge you.
Yeah, let me challenge you. Blah, blah. It's because they want you off guard. They want to throw you off on the spot.
Yeah.
And it's like, who can react better on the spot? That doesn't mean you're right.
No.
You being better at debating or you being better doing things live and on the spot doesn't mean you're Right.
smarter,
Yeah,
better,
it doesn't mean you're
right?
correct.
Like, yeah.
Wouldn't you want to get down to who's correct? Like
Yeah.
instead, or then no, then their goal is to just beat
Just
you
beat
out of
you,
debate,
yeah.
not to actually be right or get down to the bottom of the discussion.
Provide room for that.
I just want everybody to know.
Which is her point. Her point is they don't listen. They just want gotchas and this and that. And,
I
and
think
he
Hitler
keeps
should be
proving it
canceled.
right. This
One
whole
of the
video
things that
proves it
both
right.
of y'all said, both Gothics and Hunter, I think that was interesting, was you were saying that
Oh, yeah, I've seen
it seemed like it was driven by people who don't have institutional power, who are desperate to wield some kind of social influence, and as a result, they jump on dog piles. I think that's like a really interesting descriptor for like the social phenomena, and might lead to like a solution for how do we get people engaged in more positive ways rather
Right.
than engaging in cancel culture. And
I like this answer. We had canceled. I like this. It's supposed to be like a gotcha, but I bet these people would be against this. Connor and Gothic should probably be against this. We had cancel culture in the U.S., but only if you were gay, swore too much, had an affair, trans, promiscuous. Yeah, I don't think they're for us continuing to cancel people because they're gay,
Yeah.
swore too much, or like, I'm pretty sure they'd be against those things too. And those are liberal viewpoints that have now been like kind of bled into the conservative side, and conservatives kind of hold these viewpoints too now. And we all know conservatives. I mean, I grew up in the '80s when the conservatives were the ones who did cancel culture. They tried to cancel heavy metal music, and
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons, comic
Dance
books,
music.
yeah, horror movies. Right? We get that. That's not a bust on
And
people
then
asking
I
for
do
that
want to
now.
concede to Joe, for instance, like
Especially a person like Gothics who doesn't even label herself as being conservative, and then they're trying to be like, "Oh yeah, well, conservatives used to cancel people back in the day." Okay, and how is that an argument to continue to cancel people today?
conservative misidentification of cancel culture. Mr. Potato Head going non-binary
See-
probably wasn't cancel
And
culture.
concede.
Oh,
That's all
okay,
the
That might have been
speculative.
Hunter. But then the
Or he said that's probably not cancel culture.
Yeah.
So neither Gothics nor
Irrelevant to
Connor
Ex-
agree that
explain
that's even
that.
cancel
yeah.
culture.
was me.
The other thing about
Yeah,
that
Hunter
too
was the only one who said it.
is how do we keep fucked up stories from spreading so quickly, and then how do we correct the record in such a way that people, basically stop being violently shitty? Unfortunately, I spent some time on Twitter today, and people were insisting that it was their moral right to be violently shitty because the person deserved it, and I don't understand how that attitude carries towards anything positive in the future, especially when it's encouraged by some of our people.
Sure. I mean, I think that ultimately, yeah, it would be kind of stem
Yeah, honestly,
from giving.
This goes both ways because like being shitty. What does he mean by that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Connor's
care
a
if
shitty
people.
person,
If I
too.
have like if I say something, I got like 20,000 people tweeting me saying some bullshit. I don't give a shit.
No.
Like, tweet me all you want. I don't give a shit. I just won't check Twitter for a while.
Yeah.
Big deal. But if you're gonna talk about that, people are gonna start calling my job, getting me fired. Like trying to do these things, giving out, doxing me, and giving out my address. That's a different thing. You know what I'm saying? Now that's a different kind of shit.
You know
So when we
what?
talk about cancel culture, I don't think that conservatives are talking about people tweet bombing you and shit like that, or talking shit about you on social media.
Yeah.
I think they're concerned about people asking for people to get fired from their jobs, contacting their business and shit like that, like getting into their outside of their online life.
Yeah. Like when someone's a shitty person online, you know what I don't do? Challenge them to debates, which is what both of these two have done.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
right
exactly.
there.
Just
Exactly.
like a
Debate
healthier
bros.
outlet for that like rage that they might feel, or that like desire to like be activists, kind of. Just like there's got to be a way to basically take that desire and that rage, because that alone could be a very valuable tool actually in fueling like good political change. But the problem is right now a lot of it is, it's just people kind of on the internet, and they can, on top of that being on the internet, they can hide behind their screen. It gets really
You just got an ad from Cozy America for you guys. Sponsored now.
There would be a way to. We would have to kind of look at ways to provide.
But I just thought of this. It's almost like businesses, right? It's almost like a business. Ideas are almost like their own individual businesses. And what would you want to do best in your business is to eliminate your competition, right? And that's kind of what they're doing. Like, our idea is not doing so well, right? We only make this much money, and their idea is making so much money. It's up here, and everybody's listening to those ideas, and our ideas are down here. So the best we could do is try to eliminate the competition. So our ideas come up here, and their ideas go down there, right?
Yeah.
So we cancel them. We say this, that. We start calling them names and trying to get people to hate that the concept of those ideas because of these names we're calling it and stuff. It's not because we can defeat those arguments or they're wrong.
Yeah.
They don't care if they're wrong. In fact, some of them know that it's right, like Vosh, who says it's okay to be misleading.
Yeah.
Because even when it's true, basically the truth ruins his side.
His side,
That's
yeah.
literally what he said. He said the truth. Where I remember Destiny gives them a kind of thought experiment where it was like, well, you could do this and give them the truth and let them decide for themselves, and or do this or mislead and blah blah, and then they think they don't trust you or something. And he was like, the truth leads away from our side, basically. I don't remember exact words he says, but you can watch the stream. He's basically saying the truth would ruin his side, would damn his side. So therefore they know that it's not the truth. They want to eliminate it by calling it names and stuff and making you think only evil people think like this. Because if you know the truth, then you're not going to listen to our ideas.
Stuff. Yeah.
Because our ideas aren't what the truth is at. You know?
Your outlet. But I don't know. I think that it's just. I guess, Connor, you said that you agree with the idea that like conservatives are a little bit over the top with what they're calling cancel culture.
I mean, it's weird to say that. It is true, but it is some, right? Like, I guess it's a not all kind of stupid thing. But I think it kind of gets dumb at this point, because why even ask that question when we know everything is not all, right?
Yeah.
But, it's just weird. I don't know.
I think it can be
I mean, on both sides, you have people who exaggerate, and on both sides, you have people who don't.
That's not
identified
more-
sometimes, right? Like, so for instance, like cancel culture to me definitionally would involve some kind of like mob or people coming after your job or your employment, some kind of social pressure might be misapplied, and people basically trying to ruin your life and dogpiling you.
That's what I think cancel culture is. Not a business. We're not talking about. Well, it could be a business to get to. We're not talking about a product. That had to change its name or, whatever. And Jemima had to change to something. else.
Something wrong, some
Or
kind of
chose
social
to.
faux pas, some kind of etiquette slip,
We're
or
not
some
talking
kind
about
of
that. That's not cancel
transgression against, like, from a conservative standpoint.
But it is another kind of culture where people feel they have to change something about themselves before the controversy comes to them, right? They're like, oh, right now companies are having to change this because people are yelling at them. How about we preempt that and do it? Now, companies do this all the time. There's been a huge push for minimum wage to go up, and there's companies who have gone ahead of that and been like, well, we're changing our minimum wage, which doesn't make any sense because they're not the ones who set the minimum wage, but they're changing the lowest cap of what they charge, what they pay people, to like a level that people are asking for minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I'm saying that is led by the
Complaint
call for
or,
it. So if you're calling for something to be canceled, even if you're not that thing specifically, some people might preempt that and say, let's get rid of this before they look at us. And on top of that, it's positive publicity to say, we found this ourselves and got rid of it before you did.
Yeah.
For
It's like
instance,
turning
a
yourself
news
into the
story where
police
it's like,
being
hey,
better
this
than waiting till your
person,
cause.
fucked
Yeah.
up and somebody misapplied it in a way to, probably intentionally make it go viral. And then same thing with, basically getting dogpiled on Twitter or whatever. It's like not everybody is caught up on the social norms du jour. And I think that's kind of like the frustration.
Yeah,
from a
things take
conservative
time too.
standpoint
So if
is
you
you
want
can
to
insert something that was
change
like
what things
perfectly
mean,
normal like
when
5,
people
10
act,
years
it's
ago,
gonna
and
take
it's
a while.
like, hey, fuck you, you piece of shit. I hope you lose your job. And then that can obviously spiral into some super negative shit. So yeah,
It's just-
but I do
it's-
think conservatives can be extra sensitive to it. Yeah, of course.
But so
Yeah,
far, this
and I think that it
so
really
far
is.
this debate is a big nothing, right? Like nothing's going on here. They're not even disagreeing really. Like they're just making these blanket arguments for no reason. Nobody's really arguing against any of things that anybody's saying, or it's really weird.
And Gothics is just listening. She hasn't said anything
Yeah.
in how long? Everybody else is.
And the things he said, even in response to what she said wasn't even had to do with what she said, right? You bring it up
100%.
Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss when she's talking about people losing their livelihood.
Bond, and I want to make sure other people got some time to speak.
Yeah, sure. I just think that ultimately, if we want to talk about like misapplying the term, I kind of feel like, not to get too spicy too quick here, but Gothics, when you mentioned they're changing definitions or whatnot, like, I'm not
She
sure
said what? When did I mention that? I don't remember her mentioning changing the.
if you know, but like definitions have been changing throughout history. Like definitions are socially constructed, so usually if definitions are changing, that's just kind of like a normal thing to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's like a form of cancel culture. So I wanted to push back on that a little
Yeah, I
bit.
don't think she said it was a
I
form.
only remember Hunter
Okay,
mentioning
cool. Sorry about my technical problems. By the way, is the reverb too bad? Is it good? I don't know what.
It's good enough. It's good.
I
don't
can
know.
fix with this, yeah.
Okay, cool. So changing definitions, that I reject that as, because by that context, that would mean I could change the definition of murder, right? I can just say, oh no, this is
They
cuddling.
do that all
This
the
is
time.
cuddling now.
It's
Well,
funny.
there's
It's funny
They're
she
doing
said
that.
that because they do that all the time.
Yeah.
People constantly call things murder that isn't murder.
like
you know?
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, all the time.
people.
People. Well, I mean, he's actually charged with murder, but that's what they're deciding whether it's murder or not. You know, well, people are calling him a murderer without it being decided without
Yeah.
that process. But yeah, but they do that all the time. Like manslaughter, they'll call murder, or accidental and stuff like that. They call things murder all the time.
Definition are you
They
referring
call things violence that aren't violence all the time.
to that's been changed specifically?
We get that it changes, but it doesn't always mean it's a good thing to
No.
change things. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
like
Okay, I'll
because
give
of
you my
political
favorite
correctness.
one. The definition of racism and this idea that power and privilege need to both be available in order for someone to have the ability to be racist. Thus, me as a black person, I'm apparently by this definition incapable of being racist.
Well, I agree that that's kind of silly, but at the same time,
Yeah, probably because he thinks he's racist.
that's not like a definition that's been changed for the sake of political correctness. So what you're referring to is
doesn't-
much more of like
But
a
what is it?
I
In
don't
the
think she
sake of
means that
them.
it's actually like physically been changed, but she's just said like the word is just, it means nothing.
Yeah.
To call somebody racist, like it almost means nothing.
I agree
Only
with that.
certain people can be racist, and she's not one of those people that they would say lines being racist because of her skin color.
Yeah, that's,
academic definition that
but
people
what would they have changed it for then?
Yeah.
try to use for racism that is usually rejected or just not even
And what's funny to me is why not just make a new word? Like if
Yeah.
you're gonna get rid of what racist used to mean, that just means we'll make another word to fill that in. You know what I'm saying? So now but instead of just making another word that means prejudice plus power, they
Yeah.
subjugate a word and try to change that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's kind of what goes on. And that is how words change. It's happened a lot. We've taken words that meant bad things and changed them to mean good things.
even known about by the general population. Like if you look up the definition of racism, it has not been like altered and changed because of political correctness. And again, I want to just like point out that repeatedly throughout history, words have had their definitions changed. The definition for awful changed. The definition for cute, fantastic. I'm literally reading a little list here from like
Yeah, but
Doesn't that just mean they expanded on the word?
But those are also not words that just changed within a few years. Those took a long time, probably. You know, like there's words that come into slang that just leave before they even enter the dictionary. Like usually for them to enter, it would take a long period of time for them to become common use. The problem is now with the internet age, words travel faster. Before the internet, it would take a long time for a word to become public use nationally. You know what I'm saying? Hella's a word that never got big over here. People use that on the West Coast like crazy. People still use it. I still hear it in some videos I watch on YouTube, and people say, "Oh, that's hella dangerous." I'm like, "Damn, people still say that." Like nobody on the East Coast says that shit. Like we don't say that shit. I'd never hear it here. You know, I only hear it when I look on the internet. and
I've
I hear
heard that
it,
in
you know.
Canada.
But when Hella first came out, the internet came out, but it wasn't as huge as it is now, and so it didn't spread like that. But when other words have, and now we're starting to change things too quickly, and it's like, whoa, hold on, you know, like that word just got changed. Like last year, people started using it. Now we're already adding it to the dictionary. Like, whoa, hold on.
this
How
thing
big
about
are we
all
gonna
these
make the
words that
dictionary
have just
now?
changed definitions over time.
That's where I talk about. He says it's a utilitarian argument, but that's why I say you're watering down the use of the word.
Yeah.
You're giving it so many definitions that you're changing how we can communicate now.
Mm-hmm.
Now when we communicate that, you have to, oh, well, I mean this as that, oh, racist, oh, that guy's racist, like how? Oh, I mean like prejudice plus power, like you have to explain what you mean every time you say someone's racist. Now you've watered down the word.
So it's not like a single person is just like, today the definition of murder is that I'm going to be really nice to everybody. So I murdered someone today, guys. When I'm
But you're saying that, but in the 80s, we used to say shit was bad when it was good.
Sick meant cool or something like
Yeah.
that. So
So he's saying that that's not going to happen, but it can't. And actually, we do use it like that. When you make food that's really good, you could say, damn, you murdered that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you do something quite skillfully, you could say that they murdered that. And that is a phrase that people use.
badass, that meant like
Yeah.
really awesome or something.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, the words do change like that. He is saying that, oh, words aren't going to go from murder, meaning this, that. It kind of can. It does.
talking about definitions change, and what it sounds like you're talking about is like broadly, societally speaking, definitions change.
No,
but that
that's
happens
not what she's
with any
talking about.
society.
So,
That's
so
not what she's
then I
talking
would push back and ask, why? What is the
But see,
purpose?
but this is a problem with Gothic. This is why she's having a conversation. He's trying to debate, but really, she should not be letting these things slide. She should just be like, "I didn't say that."
Yeah.
Straight up call it out. Be
Yeah.
like, "That's a straw man. I didn't say that."
Changing these definitions. What is that intended to do? Why are the definitions we currently have not good enough?
It would purely depend on a
He's got
case by case
nuances.
basis there.
But why would
Yeah.
we need to change them if there's no, like, what is the purpose? What does it do?
Well, it depends again what you mean by like changing definitions. So it's not like we're all going to sit in a room and be like, I vote to change this definition. But it's like throughout time, the definitions of words change, and
No,
the
but
mean-
with the internet age, you can literally push a word to change, and people, if you have a big enough audience, you can push that word, and
Yeah.
enough people will start using that word.
Like the
and you
word
can push for these things.
disgusting. Like I think about a year or two ago, the word disgusting that meant that's hot. That's really hot. Which whatever you're wearing, that looks amazing right now. And that they'd say disgusting.
Nasty. We used to say that when I was younger in the 90s. We used to say, damn, that beat is nasty. We used to say, that meant good. Oh, dang.
Meaning
that
the way
girl's
that we
ass, that shit
interpret them
nasty.
also
She got
changed.
she got a nasty
it's much more
body.
of a broad thing. It's not like
I mean, if I said
Today-
that 100 years ago, people would think I'm saying her body's gross. In fact, it was, like 20 years ago, it mean that it was hot.
hey, this word means this kind of thing. It's more of like how society evolves, how it changes.
But
the
if you look up the definition in the dictionary of nasty, I bet you
It's-
won't find
yeah.
the one I was saying.
Yeah,
Like, these
unless
things.
you're using like a slang urban dictionary or something, Hunter, you're not going to find that in every like, standard
But
dictionary.
that's why I say there's a difference between slang and changing definitions. Sometimes slang does stick around long enough, like cool. Cool now has stuck around so long that when you look it up in the dictionary, it'll say something cool, something awesome, something
Yeah.
bad, But if you look up nasty, you're probably not going to find something that looks good, or something that's really great looking. You're not going to find that. But that's the difference. Is some stick around, some don't. People don't say things are nasty that much anymore to express themselves. It was only an East Coast thing. It wasn't a nationwide thing. Like that's what I'm saying. Like there's different things for, different ways to change words.
Definitions
Well,
of
if we
words.
use-
just
Some
don't
words
change.
just change
So I wanna
naturally over
circle
time.
back really
But it
quick.
takes time
I don't
usually.
remember who said it. It could have been Hunter or Joe.
But nowadays, you see all the time that the Oxford Dictionary is adding in new definitions or changing words, and almost yearly. And I know they did it before yearly, but they would accept things that have been going for a while
Yeah,
each year. But now they're accepting things that just is very recent. Within a year.
obviously because you're both on the other team.
And there should be a
Someone
standard
said
to it that a
something-
word should be in full use in that definition for more than a decade or something. For like past one generation to the next
Yeah.
or something.
about like the situation with Mr. Potato Head and the cancellations of I forgot who's the one that said
Dr.
that.
Seuss, yeah.
Are you seriously still
Oh.
wiping your butt?
my
Folks,
goodness.
let's say this is your
Hey,
speaker.
oh, hey,
wow.
This is your
what the hell?
Right.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss cancellation and then private businesses stopping that manufacturing of that particular book. I should have added this to my introduction, but all of these topics that we're debating tonight, for my whole argument, are all interconnected and they need one in order for the other to operate. So in terms of private businesses, I first of all, I would not call that cancel culture. I would call that more
Yeah.
of political correctness.
Yeah, that's where she says it, and then he goes back to an argument of cancel culture. after this.
But I would say that in that scenario where Dr.
She
Seuss,
wouldn't
they
call it
pulled the book
cancel
off the
culture.
shelves, they said we're not going to offer that anymore. Yes, it is a private business, but the question is, how did that business come to that conclusion? It was
Well, we
by
don't-
mob rule. It
That's
was by
not true.
social
So
pressure.
I don't even believe there was any controversy actually at
No,
all.
but it's not by controversy. That's not what she's saying. What she's saying is that it's popular right now. So before it comes to them, they do it. Why choose now? Like I said, they could have done this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But they chose now for a reason. There's a reason why the concept came up now. Like, hey, we should probably stop making this book. There's some like stuff that people might call out on this.
Yeah.
There's also around that time was when a lot of publicity was going around the anti-Asian hate at that time, right? And it's supposed to be an Asian thing that they were doing, right?
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
in that book.
Right.
So, like, it makes sense. You know, like, I get the concept. It's not cancel culture. She said herself it's not cancel
No.
culture.
Dr. Seuss thing. There was only controversy after it was actually the foundation, the Dr. Seuss Foundation, his family, the person who had legal trust of his works, decided that with the COVID-19 things and with the uptick in hate.
Okay, so isn't he explaining?
He's explaining exactly what she said now. That the reason he did it was because the
He doesn't
uptick in
listen.
anti-Asian hate because of the COVID-19 thing that was raising, people talking about Asians in negative ways.
Mm-hmm.
And all this publicity around anti-Asian hate was coming around. That's why they did it.
Hate crimes against Asian Americans. They didn't really like the fact that one of the lesser known Dr. Seuss books had some pretty outdated depictions of Asian individuals. This was a decision made by the company that this was not mob
Right,
rule.
due to the current culture. Like a zeitgeist move kind of thing.
And the same thing with the Mr.
Which I think
Potato
is what
Head
she's
thing.
saying.
They didn't even make him. That wasn't political correctness. They didn't change him to anything. All that they did was change the brand name to Potato Head because it's an umbrella name.
Yeah, but that's
for
why
Mr.
she said
Potato
those
Head and
things
Mrs.
aren't
Potato Head.
cancel
That's all
culture.
that happened. But
Yeah,
again,
now he's going back to the potato head thing, which she has said is not cancel culture. The other thing is not cancel culture, she said.
and it's a perfect example of how, when it comes to the cancel culture thing, or with the conservative side, I guess the outrage about cancel culture, it all seems to be based on very little knowledge of the actual situation.
Well,
But she just said those things weren't cancel culture. So
can I respond? Am I allowed to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, see,
Okay,
that's
cool.
what I'm saying.
In terms of the business and the foundation coming forward, I checked. I forgot what site it was, but you can check how many books are purchased. And those particular books that they had taken off the shelves hadn't been purchased in years.
So why does it matter?
This is. Well,
Good point.
Like I said, it's all
Second.
interconnected.
This is
so
how
in terms of we need to call
Hunter
this.
doesn't understand things. He just said, so why does it matter? And doesn't realize that goes both ways. Like, why would they care to cancel it, to cancel the publication of that book and then make a statement about it and say, like she said, that book hasn't been purchased for years, so no company had been buying that book, printing it and publishing it
Right.
for a long time.
Yeah.
They just picked that out of there and said, we're getting rid of this. Sounds like they're doing it for publicity to go along with the cancel culture kind of mentality and be like, we're doing it for ourselves,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. If not, they could have just been like, oh, well, nobody's bought it. Let's just
take it off and
take
not
it off
say
the
anything about
catalog
it.
and that's it, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
But they made a big fuss about it for a reason because they're doing it for
Book
a
out, we
reason.
need to stop selling this book. Well, no one was talking about the book. So my question is, what is the
What does that
purpose
matter?
of
Yeah.
calling it out? But I saw the internet outrage, so I know that was connected to that decision to take it down.
Right.
As far as the Mr. Potato
And he
Head,
doesn't get that. That's why he's like, well, why would anybody care? Exactly. Exactly. Why would they care if nobody's even buying that and
Yeah.
publishing it anyway?
well, first of all, the previous,
reason.
that is a form of political correctness, and the other, where Mr. Potato Head, that is a form of indoctrination. Again, another Marxist
How?
tactic.
That's insanity. I
don't
don't
know
see
about
how it's
that.
indoctrination
Yeah.
in any way. That's a crazy shit she said.
How is that
Well,
indoctrination?
let's let her finish. She said it. Let's let her expand.
Sure. So
Kind of interested, too.
I think someone mentioned in here critical race theory. They also have this idea of queer theory in academia. They have other things like anti-racism. And if you actually read the text, all it is political correctness. It is enforcing identity politics, which is basically having you.
It doesn't enforce any of that. Like, I don't know what she said. Huh?
Mr. Potato
Yeah,
Head
Mr.
does this?
Potato Head doesn't enforce that at all.
Obsessed with immutable characteristics.
Mr.
Nothing
Potato Head didn't
They
change
didn't
to.
bring in even like queer. I don't even know how you would. They didn't bring in a gender neutral potato. The new character is a baby yam.
No, yeah, there's still a Mr. Potato and there's still a Mrs.
Yeah,
Potato.
and they're still
The only thing
called
they
Mr. and
changed was the
Mrs..
overall brand name was
Yeah.
Mr. Potato. Regardless if you bought Miss
There
or
was
Mr.
no-
Potato, it would still say Mr. Potato Head on top because that's the name of the brand. But they changed the name of the brand to just be Potato Head, which is fine. I mean,
Yeah, and there's no gender queer like accessories that go along. Like, what would those accessories even look like? Like gender queer, something like rainbow, because kids' toys do have rainbow colors, or just colors in general. So
It's like if you had a toy line of Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus, but it was still called Santa Claus if you bought Mrs. Claus, right? Like
Yeah.
on top, the brand would still be Santa Claus toys, but they changed it to be like the Clauses.
The Clauses.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it's kind of like. They're the Potato Heads. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of just calling the entire franchise Mr. Potato Head because the initial one was just a Mr. Potato Head. They
Yeah.
added the Miss Potato Head later. Right?
I don't even think we really have that much of a gender being identified or expressed in
Yeah.
toys.
I don't even care about that.
Like, if you take off Barbie's
Potato
clothes,
Head is
she's
just
got a smooth thing, and even Ken does too. So I don't understand.
That is a bad argument. Just sitting out there. That was terrible.
based on
That is
your
totally
merit, your
valid.
values, your beliefs, your qualifications, nothing like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. The Mr. Potato Head is just adding
Yeah.
to the.
But they don't. She doesn't even know. I guess she doesn't know about the Potato Head things. It's not. There's still a Mr. Potato
Yeah,
Head. It's not
and
like they
you can-
took Mr. Potato Head and now he's just Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head doesn't have lipstick in a purse all of a sudden. Like, you could put that Mrs. Potato Head stuff on. Like, they're potatoes. Like,
And you've always been able to mix and match them anyway.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
all the women, the Mrs. Potato accessories fit on the Mr.
Yeah.
Potato Head one. In fact, the Mr. and the Mrs. one look exactly the same. It's
yeah.
just the accessories
it's
they
just
change,
the
right?
accessories.
that you add onto it.
I need to push
So it
back
makes
on that.
sense to call the overall brand Potato Head now and then have the separate Mr. Potato Head, Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even be upset if there was a middle one that had all of them and you could
Yeah.
just, make it a Mr. or Mrs. all you want, whatever. Doesn't make a difference.
Like,
no,
their,
no,
ba-
no,
their
sorry, I
potatoes
gotta-
and their baby is a yam. What happened there? Like,
Yeah,
Push back against that hardcore.
that is a
because
weird
that's
thing.
just
She should have.
factually incorrect.
But that's where I say she fucked up. She should have stuck with. That's not cancel culture. That's not. I'm not saying that. She's letting Hunter strawman lead the argument, and she's giving into it and arguing against his strawman when she doesn't need to. She's just be like, I never said that. She multiple times she said that she hasn't considered that cancel culture, yet she's still arguing and
As
trying to
the-
say it's
yeah.
these other things when she never needed to do that. It just ruined her own argument.
Every conceivable way. So, no, this is not some indoctrination of queer theory. I'm literally reading here right now from AP News just because I wanted to double check because I did a video on it a while ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
All they did, it was announced today that the Potato Head brand name and logo are dropping the Mister.
Yeah,
They're
like,
proud
they
to
showed
confirm
up here. They still have the Mister, the Mrs., and the little baby one. You know, like,
that Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head aren't going anywhere and will still remain Mr. and Mrs. Potato
Yeah.
Head. It was the umbrella name that changed to Potato
Yeah, the
Head, and then there
franchise
was still going to
changed
be a
its name
Mr.
from
Potato
Mr.
Head
Potato.
and a Mrs. Potato Head. There was not a non-binary Mr. Potato Head introduced here. Like, this is not indoctrination, and if that would be like such a reach to claim it was.
well, this is the one good part Hunter did, but this is an easy dunk.
Yeah.
This is why I talk about him going after low-hanging fruit. It's just
Hunter,
nuts.
he could have responded to me when I quote tweet him this exactly and said, "Yeah, I know," and
Yeah,
started challenging me
did
to a
it.
debate.
I think that there's something to
All right, well,
that,
thank you
though.
for agreeing.
But she originally said that wasn't cancel culture in the first place. She said, well, she's saying it was indoctrination, which is stupid, but that's not even part of the argument. The argument is about cancel culture, not about indoctrination or non-binary or whatever. It's not about any of that. It's about cancel culture.
I did
So
it.
they've already strayed super far from the conversation because of Hunter's strawman, initial strawman. They've strayed. Look, how long ago did he mention Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss, and they're still talking about it
Yeah.
when that has nothing to do with the debate crowd.
Said okay.
Yeah, no, it's a,
When
Yeah,
every
I
single person here agrees that Dr. Seuss, what happened with Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head isn't cancel
Yeah,
culture, which is what the debate is. But
Really
yet they're
quickly
still
wanted to just
debating.
for my own stream correct some
ridiculous.
misinformation that Gothix was saying before. So first of all, when we go to the Dr. Seuss thing, I just had to double check this again. Actually, there was not any big backlash that led to this. They literally said the decision.
She didn't say there was a
She didn't
backlash.
say there
He
was.
said
She said,
that they
what's the
shouldn't have
reason?
cared because that book wasn't being published anyway. So she's saying, guess why they did it? For something that nobody's talked about, isn't being sold, and, but yet they made a big deal about them canceling that book. Guess why
Yeah.
they did that, is what she said.
Decision was made after consulting experts.
But
and-
this is why Gothix is upset and saying that he doesn't listen. This is why I won't debate him again, because he doesn't listen and just strawmans it. He literally says, I'm correcting something she said, and then said, there was no controversy about it. She didn't say there
Never
was.
said there was.
teachers. Lastly, I looked it up, and after they actually canceled those books, they
Look at his face as if he's got this huge gotcha, like this is a
Yeah.
big win for
multiple
me.
Dr. Seuss books that were quote unquote politically correct actually spiked, and the company made.
Welcome to Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah,
If
that
you're
was the
But
point.
they're arguing
That's
with
the point of
He
pandering
keeps doing this.
to it. That's why they pandered to
Raid
that.
Shadow Legends
made a fuck ton more money solely off of just like the controversy, and some people liked it, some
Right.
people didn't.
He's
but even
proving her point.
She
How
said
weird is
this. She said, I know why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what she said.
This is how little he understands
Ah.
of strawman's people. How little he listens to the actual argument.
way this was
We got what she said.
Yeah.
He didn't get what she
No,
said, and he's
he doesn't
trying to
listen.
say that she said there was some sort of controversy
Mm-hmm.
or backlash to these books, where she literally said, when she looked it up, those books hadn't even been sold in a long time.
Yeah.
Like nobody's bought the rights or license to those books to print them and publish them for a long time.
So why
they
would they
could have
talk
just
about it?
taken
Yeah.
them off the catalog and completely forgotten about those books, but they made a big deal about we're canceling these books and we're never going to sell these again. There's a reason why they did that.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying. They're all connected, and there's an
Proven to be-
overall thing about this that even when it's not literally cancel culture, it's still kind of led by it, because what they're doing is cancel culture is popular, looking for racists and all these things in the past is, to cancel people is popular, so they're preempting that and trying to seem like heroes by saying, we caught this, and we're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
be a beneficial business move at the end of the day also. So
Yeah, it is a
just wanted to
beneficial business
correct that
That's what
misinformation.
her
We can go on
point
to the next
was.
topic.
Yeah.
Is that pandering to SJW culture is a business move for some of these companies. Exactly what you said.
But I do want to make you called out Gothic, so I want to make sure that if she wants the time to respond, she can.
Oh, hold on. So first of all, we're debating the semantics. We're debating the definition,
Yes.
pretty much.
Yeah, you're debating semantics, and I've still, to this point, have not debated cancel culture yet. They're debating the straw man of cancel culture that he said that no one here agrees with. No one here agrees that that's what cancel culture is. But he made that straw man, and they've been arguing it this whole time.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Debating what occurred.
And
versus
imagine this. Hunter is posting this as a win. Like, I beat Gotcha. I beat Gothics. Haha. And it's like, well, you didn't beat anybody. You built a straw man that no one agrees with here. And you argued against
looking
that.
at the consequence. All I'm asking is, what is the purpose of canceling these things? If it's old stuff, it was made in the 1950s, and nobody
Yeah, who
reads
cares?
this book. Like,
I agree with that.
What
Who
is the
cares?
purpose?
Well,
of
they gave the
canceling? And there's a
purpose.
point to this.
Yeah, they gave the purpose.
They already gave the purpose though. They said that the
They- oh,
purpose
and
was
you- and
because
you
for,
believe them.
for virtue. That's what that's for. Like, he just said it himself. The whole point was for them to make money off of virtue signaling. Hey, look what we're doing. We got rid of these old books that we think are racist. And right now, at this time where it's super popular to do stuff like that, And guess what? It worked, and now their books are making money because they canceled themselves. Like.
But well, yes, because I don't live in delusion. But yeah, so they said that they thought that the books were hurtful and that they portrayed people that were wrong, and that in the midst of
Right.
the controversy with the COVID-19 thing completely made sense.
Man,
Wow.
yeah, exactly
Wow,
what she's
Hunter.
saying. How is he not
Again,
getting this?
it-
They're shilling and pandering. That's exactly what she's
It's
saying.
benefited the company, so we know the reason, and we all.
Yeah, it benefited. Yeah, that's why it's called virtue signal, because literally they could have just gotten rid of those books without saying anything, and nobody would have been the wiser, and nobody would care. They wouldn't even get in trouble for some past racist shit because those books are gone. And if somebody brought it up, they could be like, "Oh yeah, we canceled those books a long time ago. We thought they were racist, got rid of them." You know, like. But the whole point of them making this huge fuss about it is to jump on the bandwagon, to pander to the SJW-ness of it, to pander to the "we're not racist, we're these people," you know, like buy our products. And he's saying it worked.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Also, no, it wasn't because of anything to do with a mob, but it was a decision that was made after.
She didn't say it.
Nobody said that. Who said
The mob is the people who pass around this culture all the time and talk
Yeah.
about it and seek out to do these things all the time. It isn't because they directly went to them, but there's direct effects and there's indirect effects. Them doing that is an indirect offense, an indirect effect of the modern cancel culture mentality, SJW mentality, that kind of stuff. That's why they made a huge public fuss about it. Virtue signal.
Consulting experts and teachers. I'd be happy to send you this BBC article if you want. I don't know. Do you not trust the BBC? I don't know.
No, thank you. You can keep your article. You can continue, Dylan.
Okay.
I really would like to talk to Gothics just one-on-one. After the debate, I reached out to Gothics in the Discord group DM.
Yeah, well, I mean, after you completely strawmanned and ruined that debate with a strawman that nobody agreed with, and you wasted the entire time with
More
that.
than once he did that to her. Like,
And then now he's saying, "I really like to talk to her one-on-one." Why should she after you did that?
so you can re-explain her response that she just gave to you, because that's all that he's done.
And that's
more
the
than
whole
one
point.
time. Yeah.
Well, now he's gonna say she's triggered and angry, but I don't.
Yeah.
This just comes off as
And
a
ask her if
critique
she
You
of
have
how
to
he
read it a certain
debates
way
and
to
say,
hear the trigger in it.
To me, this just says I don't understand the point of having a debate with you. You don't listen,
Yeah.
and you're not willing to have this
Also,
discussion.
what do you do
and
for your
understand my
content?
side?
Yeah.
You're not willing to understand what I'm saying, so why bother?
Yeah.
Debate anything at all.
But let's hear how
Unfortunately,
Hunter
she
reads it
saw
to
that
us.
one of the clips of our debate.
But these debate me bros don't understand that concept. To them, anybody who doesn't accept that debate is running and they're scared and they're like, "Oh, you're triggered,"
Yeah.
blah blah blah. That's how they do it. They don't understand the concept that there could be a legitimate reason why nobody wants to debate you. You know, it could be they don't give a shit about you. They don't think that you would have a reasonable discussion. You know, like for me, I don't see the point of arguing. Perfect example. Sean tweeted out one day if he should debate Hunter, right? I instantly he was kind of surprised at this, but I just said, "No, that's low hanging fruit. You're better than that. Like,
Yeah.
why would you debate Hunter? Like, that's complete low hanging fruit." To me personally, if I was Sean and in Sean's position with his, the number of his audience and the kind of content he makes, I would never accept a debating Hunter, and that's for the reason that, like I said, I think that lowers my brand. I think that lowers respect for me, because if I'm willing to drop my standards. It's like Gordon Ramsay. When you watch Gordon Ramsay on Hell's Kitchen,
There's a
you
certain
send
standard
something
that
that's
you have.
maybe a little raw, like maybe not fully raw, but it's a little too pink. He's sending it back. He has standards. He doesn't want to lower his standards, because of your laziness. You didn't cook this right. You want me to lower your standards for that? Like, no. So I don't think Sean should lower his standards to debate like low-hanging fruit like this for not much benefit. I don't think there's much about. Maybe he said, "Well, what about the money? There's a money benefit." Yeah, I guess that's true. There is, but I think there's more benefit to actually debating better debaters. People who are good at debate and people who you can have. See, there's a two-sided coin to this, because there's people who do want to see this, I gotcha and this and that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And there's people who actually want to see the conversation. Now, remember, Sean had a debate with Jangles, and they had a respectful conversation.
Yeah.
And what happened after that is a bunch of people bashed on Jangles for having a respectful conversation with Sean. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm telling you, is these people don't want a respectful conversation. They don't want to hear your side. That's not what they're there for. So I say somebody like Sean, who actually does want to debate these things, actually wants to hear the other side and have the argument back and forth, he shouldn't sink himself to the standard of these people who are there for gotchas and don't care about the conversation. That's a whole lower standard, and that's my point. So Hunter doesn't understand where he is on the standards
Yeah.
ranking. He's all the way at the bottom. He's desperate for debates. He'll debate anyone. Anybody
People
who
that don't even do-
retweets him, says anything about him on the internet, "Well, here's my Discord, come debate me." So, he's desperate. His standards are at the bottom right now. He had that Beardson guy on, remember?
Yeah.
Then he had
That's
him
who
on
he
multiple
chose
times.
ahead of Sean.
both of these guys are absolute morons. We watched that and we're like, this guy actually makes Hunter look good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a reason why Hunter would do that. But really what Hunter's doing is he's making himself look good by lowering his standards, you know?
Yeah.
And he's having such low-hanging fruit on that it makes him look good no matter how bad he looks, you know? Which is not a good thing. You want standards, you want quality, right? But he doesn't have
Was
quality.
picking up-
That's why he doesn't understand the concept of why Gothic says, I don't want to debate you anymore. He sees it as she's running away.
Yeah,
But the
she's
truth
triggered.
is, she doesn't want to debate someone who's not willing to listen to her side of the debate. You know, if you just want to debate to hear yourself talk, why should I come debate?
Up some traction on TikTok, and she got really triggered. She sent me this message.
She got. How do you know she got triggered? Where do you see that she's
and
triggered?
sucking clickbait out of me doesn't make up for your complete.
That's not how
But
we have
listen
to
to the.
read it.
Yeah,
Right?
when you
Like-
read it like that, it sounds like she's triggered. But how do you know she meant it that way? Let me read it
Yeah.
in a regular tone and see how it sounds. Right? At Hunter Avalon, sucking clickbait out of my ass doesn't make up for your complete ignorance on Marxism and its implementation in the present time. This is why I don't do debates. Not only do shitslingers like you lack the emotional maturity to engage in civil discourse, but you clearly lack the self-awareness to realize when your content consists of attacking others' arguments instead of working towards a solution. But that's not even what he's doing. He's attacking you personally as opposed to
The
your arguments
ignorant-
and strawmanning your arguments, and not even posting your right argument. What the hell do you do on YouTube all day besides criticize other creators? How absolutely infantile. Do me a favor. Well, she kind of does that too, but she does her own speaks too. She doesn't just react to it. But that's fine to criticize other creators. My problem is that he does it
In a
by
shitty
straw
way,
manning them.
yeah.
I don't know if it's legitimate or not, but it seems like sometimes he doesn't even understand the argument and
Yeah.
it takes it, like his comprehension takes it to a different place than what they're saying. Do me a favor, print this out, staple it to your forehead, and take a selfie for all your followers to read. I see right through your bullshit, and in time, so will others. So this is funny because this also adds to the lack of self-awareness that he has. First off, she's telling him why
She won't.
she
do
won't
debates.
debate him.
Yeah,
He
with
still
it.
takes it as her
Right.
being afraid to debate him or that she lost or something. And then on top of that, she's literally saying, here's this, show this to your audience. And then he lacks the self-awareness to be like, I'm not going to let you win on that. And literally post it.
Post
You know,
it.
this is like I'm saying when
Yeah.
I call him a debate me bro, and then he literally challenges me to a debate. Like, dude,
Yeah.
do you have any self-awareness
Yeah.
at all?
It's on Marxism and its implementation in the present time. This is why I don't do debates. Because you're wrong? Not only do shit
No,
slingers
but
like
she
No,
didn't say
because
because she
of
was
people
wrong.
like
See-
you, Hunter.
You see how he read that and thought that she said because you're wrong when she literally explained why she doesn't want to
she
debate him
doesn't want
because
to.
he's like a debate me bro
Yeah.
type. This is why I don't do debates because you don't care. She's saying because you don't have the emotional maturity to engage in civil discourse. That's why. But instead he's like because you lost, you know.
you lack the emotional maturity to engage
Oh,
in
now we're doing
civil
that part,
discourse, but you clearly lack the self-awareness to realize when your content consists of attacking other arguments instead of working towards a solution. What the hell do you do on YouTube all day besides criticize other creators? How absolutely infantile.
I mean, that's what I do. I disagree with that's infantile. I think it's a good thing to do. I think the problem with Hunter is, like she said, the original part, she doesn't have the maturity to engage in civil discourse
Yeah.
because he doesn't even listen to what the argument
No,
or he
he
doesn't
just wants to hear
give-
himself talk. Like that's it.
or he doesn't give enough time for the comprehension of it. Like if you don't understand what the argument is, listen then.
Listen,
Like stop, listen, pay attention.
Do me a favor, print this out, staple it on your forehead, and take a selfie.
But I personally think Hunter doesn't care about this. He doesn't care to have the argument. He doesn't care to have the discussion. He's doing this for his channel. That's all he cares
yeah,
about.
yeah.
He's making wins, whether they're wins or not. He's making it into a win. It doesn't matter.
For all your followers to read. I see through your bullshit, and in time, so will others.
I mean, it's not in time
Wow,
so
I-
others. Everyone sees through
think
his
a lot of
bullshit. That's
people
why his
already
views
see
to sub ratio is so low.
Wish that some of this spicy heat would have shown up in the debate, but damn,
No,
instead
You
we
see-
see it? That's telling as well on what he's
How-
expecting to happen.
Wow,
You just
how
want
exposing
people
is that?
Insulting each other back and forth or something.
He
When
just exposed himself. That's what he wants.
Yeah.
He wants this fieriness. He doesn't want to have a discussion, as she's saying.
you're
That's
see-through,
exactly.
Hunter. She
completely-
can see through you.
Yeah, and he completely ignored her criticism that he doesn't want to have civil discourse while saying, "I wish you displayed this so that so we could have a flame war back and forth instead." Instead of actually having civil discourse, which is what she's saying. Why she won't debate you? Like, you're literally proving her point of why she shouldn't debate you.
Keyboard warrioring here. So I simply responded and said, well, I didn't mean to trigger you by calling out your lack of knowledge when it comes to even the most basic topics like Dr.
Which was a straw man that you concocted. She literally said those aren't what she considers cancel culture, which was what the debate was about. And he's saying that she's triggered by calling out her lack of knowledge and things that have nothing to do with cancel culture by her definition. So why should she care about that information on this? Probably a good idea not to debate. But have fun in the echo chamber. That's not what she's saying.
When are you going to go back in retirement, Hunter? How long?
How is having civil discourse an echo chamber? She's asking for civil discourse. She's saying literally it states, the reason I won't have a debate with you is because you're not mature enough to have civil discourse.
Yeah.
And he's saying that that's an echo chamber. Like, huh?
Deuce and Mr. Potato Head, probably a good idea not to debate me, but have fun in the echo chamber. Yeah,
wow.
It's pretty obvious why
he just exposed himself.
Gothics doesn't debate.
No, I mean, it is obvious why she doesn't debate. It's because people on the internet don't have the emotional maturity to have a civil debate. They do what Hunter does and, straw man everyone. But, so, is this the one? No, this is a different. Where's the one she did? That I have. Where did I have that? I had it saved, but now it's gone. She put out a video now responding to that and talking about why she's talking about like not
I
having
think they're debating
debates.
now.
So she's saying, "Dear haters, interrupting me isn't the same as listening to me." I would have put that better as like straw manning me isn't the same as arguing against me.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what happened. He created a straw man, and that's all they debated the whole time was the straw man that was concocted. Literally, her and Connor, who was on her side, both said that they wouldn't consider that cancel culture. So why were they even debating Mr. Potato Head, Dr. Seuss? And then his clapback to her saying we can't have civil discourse, so I don't want to debate you, is to say, you're just triggered because I owned you on the knowledge of these two brands that have nothing to do with cancel culture and that you said has nothing to do with cancel culture. Like, huh? Like, how is that a gotcha? Like, he doesn't understand. That's what I'm saying, that he's just not bright enough.
Yeah.
I think she's right about him lacking emotional maturity.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand these concepts. And I don't know what it is. It just, to me, it seems like he's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, he really doesn't understand these concepts.
It's like he just wants to hear himself talk, and he didn't even listen to her say the thing. Like,
Maybe he has
repeated.
ADHD and doesn't know. Like, he can't focus.
Maybe.
Like, I don't know. Maybe he should look into that, because if you can't focus on a conversation, how are you going to debate people online if you can't focus on a debate? Like, it was literally mentioned that those things weren't cancel culture, but yet he kept bringing it back as if he didn't hear those things. Now, I don't know if that's something where he just can't focus on those things and the idea just stuck in his mind and he had to keep repeating.
Yeah. It's a good. Yeah.
It could be that,
would
but
be
I also think that it's just that he just wants wins. Like, in his mind, first and foremost, the priority is wins.
Yeah.
Not let's get to the bottom of this discussion. Like, that's not part of the priority list. That's probably all the way at the bottom.
With saying that hate speech, I am immune to it, okay? As a YouTube commentator, I have received so much hate speech. Gothics is a grifter. She's stupid. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She got internalized racism. She's transphobic, whatever. I get that all day, every day. And it doesn't faze me. I'm still making content. I got a smile on my face.
That's
I'm
what,
going about
that's
my
what I
day.
say. That's why when in his video, when he's like,
He'll
"Oh, things would make her
respond to
mad,"
it.
I
Yeah.
bet if I say this, then she's gonna get upset. It's like, no, she
That's
said I
Hunter.
get called things all day,
Yeah.
and I don't care. I let it slide right off.
And I think the way that I respond to hate speech should be a really great example for how I believe strong-minded people should respond to hate speech. Now, the point of this video isn't to debate what is and isn't hate speech. I'm just making the point that I am personally not affected by any of this. And the reason that I want to say this is because a lot of my detractors, a lot of my YouTube opposition that like making the point that I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm uneducated, I'm an idiot, I'm a grifter, I'm a conservative talking head, whatever. A lot of these people all have something in common, and that is that these people consistently misrepresent my argument, my opinion.
This is
That's
like,
so true.
I was laughing watching this because this is like watching someone discover what debate me bro culture is. You know, like we've been bitching about this for like a couple of years and shit now. This is exactly like she's finally figured it out, you know, like she's like, oh, I've
Stumbled into this
I've
world
come
of,
onto
like,
the internet and I've come
where-
into political commentary and debates and stuff like that, and I've recognized now this group of people who are all debate me bro, and they will not listen to you, they just debate a straw man. Oh my god.
opinions and my positions simply because they refuse to listen.
And this is what I call bad faith. They don't understand it. How many times did I say Lance is a bad faith actor, and they don't understand that? Oh,
They
how
don't
is
get
Lance
it.
in bad
Oh,
faith?
What do you mean?
It's and then he admits it himself. He comes into debate saying, "Oh, I just wanted to show the world that this guy is a racist and make my little speech at the end." You came in bad faith. The idea of a debate is that we're both going to come in, give our viewpoints, and listen to each other,
Yeah.
and try to find a middle ground or try to convince each other. Either way, but we're going to be open to a discussion. That's the point. You're coming in not open to discussion. You're there specifically
Gotcha.
for a gotcha. Yeah, you're there for a gotcha. You're there for a win. You're coming in like blood sports as opposed to a debate. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? These are different things. And so that means you have the expectation of bad faith. When you act that way, you're acting in bad faith. You didn't come into this debate in a good way. You came into, I'm bad and you're going to defeat me. That's
Yeah.
where you came in.
Yeah.
You know? You didn't come in good faith and I'm going to listen to what he says.
Just
And
the-
if he's right, I'm going to admit he's right. You know, you're not coming in. And that's what a debate is. You're coming in to be like, look, if that person gives me a good argument that defeats my argument and they're right, I'm going to admit they're right. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to come in and do my best to give my best arguments for my side. And hopefully they'll admit I'm right if I am, you know, like if I defeats their argument. But that's not what happens. Nobody, when you see these internet debates, that never happens. It's always blood sports. It's always like, oh, I'm going to defeat you, this person. I'm going on there to show this person's a racist. When Sean debated Lance, what happens? Lance wanted to talk to him first and have this little quick interaction on the live stream where all Lance did was try to narrow him down into calling him a racist.
Yeah.
And then when the debate happened, he kept bringing those things up. Oh, condom theory. That's not even what Sean
What
said.
Sean
And
was
not only
talking
that,
about.
Lance led him into that.
Yeah.
Lance made him respond to that because all Sean said was that black people committed more violent crime in this certain area, and then it was even in a certain area. It wasn't even nationwide. And then but why? But why? And Sean's like, I don't know why. That's not my job to know why. I'm not a sociologist. Like, I don't know. And he's like, oh, but why? But why? So Sean's like, well, there could be many reasons why. It could be this. It could be that. One thing was condoms he mentioned, and then that's what he narrowed in on,
Sean,
right?
yeah.
That shows bad faith. He took that one thing, and then when the debate started, he kept bringing that up for bad faith. You know what I'm saying? To be like, oh, you said this. And then Sean's like, but look at the statistics. I'm true. It's right. You know. And then remember, he kept showing statistics, but his were older and questioned men who could
having
also have gay
gay
sex.
sex.
Yeah, and didn't question the women who are the ones who could get pregnant. You know, and whether
And of
they
course they're
use
not gonna be
condoms
wearing
or not.
condoms, so-
So Sean's stats trumped his, and he didn't want to admit that. You know? But he kept using it as a gotcha, and that shows the bad faith. Not only does Sean's stat trump his, and he didn't want to give in to the fact that Sean's literally trumps his stat, but he also wanted to be a weasel about it, which is why Destiny had a falling out with him and kept calling him a weasel, because that's what he is, because he goes into debates with this bad intentions, with the
Yeah.
intention to make you look bad and make you show you they're evil. He went to Lawrence Southern, debated Lawrence Southern. What did he say afterwards? After saying that he didn't go on in bad faith, because we kept saying he went on bad faith, and saying that he didn't go on in bad faith, he says, I didn't go on bad faith, I went in there to show everybody that she's a racist and blah, blah. That's you going in bad faith. That's
you
literally
dumbass.
you not going in open-minded to listen to what she had to say.
Yeah.
You know. And he sucked in that debate. He was terrible at it, and was defeated in every corner of that debate because of that. Because he didn't go in good faith to listen to her and actually debate, argue these points.
Yeah.
And all he did was wait for his moment at the end to say, "Oh well, Lawrence Southern's a racist. She did this and blah blah blah."
Hear me out. And I'm sure a lot of people on here that are familiar with my work, you've probably seen other YouTubers making commentary on how poor my arguments are, and you understand this. You'll see a commentator or a content
There's
creator.
nothing wrong with that, because that's what I agree should happen. People always want these live debates. I think this is better. I think making your video, talking, getting to say everything, that's why there's no interruptions.
Yeah.
You get to think about what you want to say instead of having to react on the spot. It just takes longer, and in today's climate, everybody wants everything like this super fast.
Yeah.
But having fast content pumped out at you means less quality. You know what I'm saying? Quantity means less quality. So the more quantity and the faster we're getting videos out of these people, the less quality we're getting. They're putting less thought into it, less work into it, less time into it. This is better. I'd rather have her do a video like this and explain why she won't debate Hunter than her going on a live stream with Hunter to explain to him why she won't debate him. Because all that's going to happen is Hunter's going to keep interrupting her, keep strawmanning, "Oh, you don't want to debate because of this, because of that." What's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
Now he got to make his video and say what he wants to, which is utter bullshit, because you can watch his video and see what she said. And he doesn't even
They'll
realize
play my
he's
video for a
exposing
few
himself in his
seconds,
own video.
pause it, and then
doing exactly
immediately
what she
start
says.
going on a 1 to 2 minute
Totally
rant
proving her
about
point.
whatever it was that I was saying.
Because I thought the topic of discussion was racial injustice, which isn't specific to one political party. So if it
Okay.
and
So
unfortunately,
he laughed about racial injustice not being specific to one party. He says racial injustice, which is not specific to one party, Roseris laughs about.
Yeah.
Like, why is he laughing about that? It's not specific to one party? What are you talking about?
Okay.
and unfortunately, the mean things that people say isn't going to be.
When there was all this anti-Asian stuff going on, who was big on standing up for Asians? Were conservatives. Big time. They were like, "Oh, blah, blah, how come you guys are always talking about Black Lives Matter?" Now, meanwhile, Asians are being oppressed and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
And they were talking about it.
the most difficult thing you encounter in life.
And
Because
so
at that-
there's, I mean, you can see here.
the insidious.
I don't know that she's cutting.
She's cutting it way
too short. I would let
Yeah.
them talk more.
Yeah.
I remember watching this and being like, she cut it way too short.
She's giving an example. She could
What
have
does she say
said
here?
all these names instead of showing
But
it.
she didn't even let her reply to know
Yeah.
if she disagrees or not.
isn't going to be the most difficult thing you encounter in life.
And
Because at
so
that-
there's, I mean, you can see here.
The insidious
that was bad
authoritarian
cut.
pressure in many education systems to make
Insidious authoritarian pressure. Scary adjectives. We're going to get a lot of scary adjectives in this one.
This is what Vosh does all the time. We're going to get a lot of scary adjectives in this one. Vosh, you give out scary adjectives all the time. What are you talking about? You're as much as a fearmonger as most people that fearmonger on the planet.
filled with moderate or right-leaning streamers who were run off the platform or publicly shamed because of their political choice. I even had
What absolute load of nonsense. Name them. Name them then.
American households have both parents at home and study.
Yeah, she's not doing a good job of showing these
I
clips.
mean, Jesus Christ. This is so when you have. I can't. She always makes me do this.
If someone
She
doesn't
always
like
makes
you,
me do this.
why
How
would
often
want
have
to
you
force
interacted? For all I know, they had that one interaction, and that's it.
them to like you? And I know
Or
that-
is she just making the point that all they do is do political
And do
commentary on her, but
commentary
they
on
don't really
her, yes.
reply to what she's saying? Yeah. But none of them
Should've
are really
left the
replying to
point
what she's saying,
they're-
No.
but they're not really strong in it.
another person to feel validated. I certainly wouldn't.
But you would, absolutely.
Yeah, this
and
is
I
a strong
know
one.
you would.
This
Yeah, maybe,
completely
but it's not true.
defeats the purpose of trying to understand my point when you're too busy pausing to get your word in. I could be already midway through making my argument, and you're not going to be able to absorb that because you only care about interrupting me, almost as if we're having an actual live debate.
That is a form of.
No, but you could do that too. It's just when you get to the end of it, you can correct yourself and be like, "Oh, I thought she was going to say." I've done that multiple
Yeah.
times. Be like, "Oh, I thought he was going to say this."
Yeah.
And change my mind. But the thing is, what a lot of people do, I remember the SJW 9000 guy would
Yeah.
do this, is with Sean's video, he did this like 8 times within the same video, where he pauses halfway through a sentence, as Sean says, rants about this whole thing. Conservatives always do this. They say blah, 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 blah. Rants for like 20 minutes and then plays it again
And
But since he
Sean-
ranted for so long, he doesn't even realize Sean didn't say what he said. So when he puts it again, Sean says something else, and then he's like, "Oh, okay," and then he doesn't have anything to say about that. Instead of saying, "Oh, I thought he was going to say the other thing. I got it wrong. Maybe he's not that kind of conservative or something," you know. But no, he just lets it hang there, and it's like, all right.
Nation. Again, another Marxist
How?
tactic.
How is that indoctrination?
Well, let's let her finish. She said it. Let's let her expand.
The whole reason I started making YouTube videos was
But I don't. Well, that interruption I don't even think was bad. He just asked the question. It's when he's strawmanning that's the problem. The interrupting isn't as much of a problem as him strawmanning, because the strawman shows that he's not listening to what she's saying. You know, that he's putting his own intentions to her words. You know, and that's what the problem was.
Dylan's a weasel a bit as well, but he'll at least let her speak when she's being addressed like that. So,
But asking the question isn't the problem. The problem is, why I say the problem is a straw man is because that shouldn't have even come up. Like her saying that was indoctrination should have never even came up, because they should have never even started talking about Mr. Potato. Or even if they did, it should have stopped the first time they said it, because then she said that's not what we consider cancel culture. Connor said that as well, and yet he still brought it up. You know what I'm saying? Again, and then that led her to talk about it and say, well, indoctrination. Maybe she didn't know much about it, and she thought it happened differently. But that's fine, because that wasn't part of the debate. It doesn't matter. So that doesn't mean you won the debate. It just means you knew something that she didn't that wasn't part of the debate. Like, you know, it's like me debating someone on, you know, Biden versus Trump, and then laughing at them for not knowing something about Star Wars. You know, I'd be like, you didn't know Darth Vader was Luke's father? I won the debate. You know, like what? But the debate has nothing to do with Star Wars. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Because I was propelled into this environment by this culture war that we're currently experiencing right now. All of this divisiveness in society and this polarization where we can't even have a conversation with anyone anymore. Instead, my opposition, my detractors would rather look for the gotcha moments. They want to find the clickbait. They want to attempt to hear what I say. At least that's what they'll tell themselves. I want to hear her arguments. No, you don't.
No, you
because
don't,
if you actually wanted to hear, you would shut up and listen. You wouldn't.
No, that's true,
interrupt.
and you wouldn't strawman. It's the whole thing. If you listen to what the person has to say, there's no reason that you would end up strawmanning them. The only reason you would end up strawmanning them is because you're not listening. You have a preconceived notion of what you think their argument is, and no matter what argument they give you, you're going to still argue that preconceived notion. That's what Bosch does. That's what Lance does. So whenever anybody talks about black crime or something, for instance, they're going to be like, oh, there's the same argument everybody does about black crime, but then you give a different argument and they still respond to you as if you gave the other one. It's like,
they have a script that they're reading from. Something.
And if your argument's completely different and destroys their concept, then they don't believe it. And they're like, oh, this is like a dog whistle or something. And they'll disregard it in a different way to lead back to saying that, oh, he's a racist, you know, no matter what.
Me.
Because they don't care.
How
They
you
don't
have
care
a
about
conversation in a day-to-day environment? Like, how are you doing? I don't care. Just interrupt. Like, that's not.
And I'll tell you why. These people are activists. They're not commentators. They're not debaters. They're activists. Their entire purpose is to get people to go to their side. So they can't lose a debate. So that's why they can't really care about the conversation, because to them, they are right no matter what. You know, and that's it. No matter how much you can argue, no matter how much the reason they got to their conclusion is wrong, they're still right. You know? And even if they're not right, they have to appear to be right, because if not, their side loses. You know, they lose people on their side.
You have civil
it's an
discourse. And the reason that I'm making this video, again, I'm
You
not
can't be an
upset that
activist
people
and
make
have
videos calling me
civil
transphobic
discourse.
or
It doesn't
anti-black or
work.
whatever.
Activists
Listen,
don't
I've
have
been
civil
called all
discourse.
kinds of things, and I'm mentally strong to not let that affect me. And I hope someday I can encourage other people as well to grow a spine. But the point that I am making, the reason that I am saying this is because this culture war that we're in, this divisiveness, this polarization is only going to keep continuing if civil discourse fails. If we lose our ability
but it
to
fails more
actually
and more. And it's
communicate
because
and
of
hear
this
each
debating
other
bro
out.
culture, because
Notice,
it's all blood sports. It's not
I get
let's
this
have
a lot from
conversation.
people where they'll ask, why didn't you punch back at that debate? It's because I was raised to be respectful during conversation. And it is a very, very difficult thing for me to switch off, especially in this political realm. But I am trying because I realize that a lot of my detractors use this as a tactic to communicate. If you
They're
are a
not your
hater of
detractors,
mine,
just in general,
I
that's what they
welcome
do.
you to
They do that to
challenge
everyone.
yourself and see if you're able to watch an entire video of mine and actually absorb the information and absorb my point of view, especially if you are someone that claims to say, I'm an anti-racist, I want to fight racism. Well, guess what? I'm black. So
Yeah.
put your money where your mouth is and actually try to hear
Yeah,
me
listen,
out.
you're supposed to
Otherwise,
listen to
I
her.
can't help
Why
but
can't
think
you
you're a
listen to her
hypocrite.
experience?
And side
Does it
note,
match
because
the
a common
experiences the other
argument
ones
that
you
I
listen
get
to?
from my opposition is that I weaponize identity politics when it's convenient for me. No, boo-boo. I don't know if you just realized what sarcasm meant, but let me explain this to you. I am simply showing you how
I think
paper thin your
I think
arguments
this is
are.
another issue that Hunter has is he doesn't understand when people are fucking around joking, like he doesn't get it, and he thinks like sometimes they're legitimate arguments. And it's like no.
When you are using it in the context of
But
identity.
a lot of them do that.
For
Lance does that
example,
too. Like, they don't-
amplify
they don't
black
have that
voices.
social,
Unless, of course,
like,
it's a black
ability to
conservative or
pick
a
up on
black
jokes and stuff like
Republican
that.
or a black libertarian. Now, all of a sudden, black voices don't really matter. That is the reason I say, as a black woman, it's not because I subscribe to this rhetoric, it's because you
It's a
subscribe to
response,
this
yeah.
rhetoric, and I'm trying to show you that you don't even believe it. Because if you did, your
Yeah.
logic would remain consistent, regardless of
Yeah,
what
exactly.
political
But their
party
logic
they
isn't
fall on
consistent.
or
That's
what
not their point,
ideology
to
they
be logically
believe.
consistent. It's not their point.
Anyways, listen,
That's
that's
not
all I
their
have to really
It's
say
low on
about
the
this
priority. Like I was saying,
topic.
it's a priority
I hope
list.
that it was
Being
well
logic
received,
consistent
and I
is low
hope
on.
that you have, you'll take the time to actually hear people's arguments because, like I said, discourse is failing, and it's actually.
But you see, this is why I like to do these kind of streams because it's funny to me to point out how these people don't do civil discourse, how they don't listen to opposition. They just want the gotchas and the wins, and they don't listen to anything. Let's see. Go back to. Let's see, how long was this?
I did research.
60 minutes into it. Let's watch a little bit of this because this is funny
phone
too.
service when you can get it for free?
But it's a lot of the same thing, and it's funny because I totally disagree with Lauren Chen here myself.
Yeah.
But he disagrees in a totally different way, and it's like a really dumb way. Like there's total gotchas that he could get here, and he doesn't because he doesn't understand them, and he basically strawmans her again. You know, like that's kind of what he does. It's weird to see content like this when there is legitimate arguments you can lay out here.
Lauren Chen is clearly not a fan of pornography, generally speaking. In fact, she's even gone as far as to make this tweet that says porn stars aren't conservative. She's talked about how porn is degenerate and disgusting and criticizing this TPUSA for having a girl there who's a porn star and use her porn name and all this
Yeah, who
bullshit.
cares? We get it. She's
yeah,
a hypocrite on some of this.
Lauren Chen-
Well, maybe not, but she's a deeper conservative than some.
when it is convenient for her, despises porn. But Lauren Chen...
What?
What? You see how he's
Despises
strawman's already.
porn?
When did she say she despises porn? She's making a point that you can't. I don't agree with this point completely because I don't think people always live by their ideals. But she's making a point that if you're a porn star, you can't be a conservative because conservative values don't fit into the porn star lifestyle. But I don't believe that's true because, like I said, I don't think people always live by their ideals. I can be anti-drug but still do drugs, stuff like that. People do stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
But what he's saying she despises it. There's at no point has she made the thing to say that she despises it. She's just against the concept of it being conservative. She's not even saying in these tweets that pornography shouldn't be a thing. She's just saying it doesn't have a place in the conservative
when
part.
it's convenient for her, also is okay with porn.
So
You
she
see, it
doesn't
allows her to-
despise it. Doesn't that
Yeah.
mean? Doesn't that? Oh my God, you're so bad at this, Hunter. Like,
This is what I say about Lance. They steel man the other person's argument and get it wrong. And that's a straw man, you know, but he's taking something she said against pornography and making it seem like she has a complete despise for it. She never said that it should be banned there or there should no pornography shouldn't exist. She didn't say that in know.
You know how people talk about things that should be taught in school? Have students like have they stopped teaching what like contradicting yourself means?
Yeah,
Because I remember
maybe.
learning about that
Yeah.
in school. Like,
Yeah, there's no contradiction here. I actually, when we watched this video the first time, I didn't realize he was trying to use this as saying that she's contradicting herself.
no,
Like, there's like
he's
zero
the one
contradiction
doing the contradicting.
in the
like,
later.
You hate on the game.
But I mean, clickbait. Talk about clickbait. He literally says Lauren Chen seethes about white woke.
Yeah.
At no point in this video does Lauren
Like,
Chen look angry.
no,
Is her
she's-
voice like
she's
loud?
fine.
Like she's upset and aggravated? Like at no point is she seething in this video. But that's what they put, you know, because it's total clickbait.
And
Clickbait and smears, really. You're smearing people. I know it's a little smear. They're saying, oh, someone's angry when they're not
Yeah.
angry. It really is not a smear. But that's literally what they're doing. But
she might have a little bit of.
it doesn't matter, but I'm just saying.
vibe.
It's weird how they have to, like, change the situation to make it look
So
better.
let's go ahead and take a look
Or
at.
turn it into sensationalism.
This,
That's basically what it is. They're sensationalizing.
Uh,
Look, she's smiling. Hey, hey, Lauren Chen here. Look at her. Look where he pauses it. With her, the big smile, waving, hey, guys.
Male.
How
playmate.
can
Does she
yeah,
look
but see how she puts it? Playboy's male playmate. She didn't say it like that. She just
no.
said Playboy's male playmate. Brenton
So
Rock.
something
That's
you
it.
already
Yeah.
hate.
Meanwhile, what's Hunter's name? Lauren Chen seethes about woke porn. We could do that with you too, Hunter. Like, are you seething about her seething?
Yeah.
Because the way I read it sounds like you sound angry about
Yeah,
it.
you
Like,
seem mad.
So are you
Mad.
triggered by her
Hunter.
being triggered? Is that what it is? People being triggered triggers me, so I make these videos. Like, is that what's going on, Hunter? You see how this goes both ways and it's inconsistent? Like when you do it both
Something
ways.
else that you also hate, and you're mad about that.
But she's not. There's no hate here. That's the thing. This whole video, there's no hate in it. Like,
Okay.
Hey, Lauren here. Let's talk about
I don't agree with her though. This criticism, but I
No.
think it totally makes sense that
Yeah.
Playboy did this.
Playboy. And in case you were wondering,
And within her arguments, I find the sense for Playboy to do this, even
Yeah.
though she thinks it's something else.
that this would be a sexy type of video. It's not actually the opposite. If I would have to say, the images you're about to see. are
Thank
actually
God,
disturbing for a lot of
dude. Holy shit.
And then he fast forwards her and then bitches about this. This is what I'm talking about, where he got lazy with editing.
Yeah.
Like he bitches about her talking too much, and then bitches about her ad that she puts in there, when he could have just cut that out of this. Like there was no reason.
Seems
to
like
keep
God.
it sounds
Could
like
you
he's
imagine?
obligated to make this. But he didn't have to do this video.
Keep that on your
Is this content? He kept that there to be like, ugh, can you imagine? That was his content.
OnlyFans, okay? Jeez.
So your discretion is advised. Now I'm guessing
I
that
bet
we're all
Hunter's
familiar
gonna
with
make
what
an OnlyFans. Okay, if anybody's making an OnlyFans, it's gonna be Hunter that makes it.
Yeah, and I bet any money if Hunter or her both made OnlyFans, hers would make way more money. It'd be so much more
It's a pornographic
successful.
model that started off, I mean, pretty early in the 60s or 70s, maybe even 50s actually. And they had centerfolds of busty young women, and it was the type of magazine that like teenage boys would hide under their beds and stuff like that. But I think they
But
lost a lot
she's still laughing and like making. She's just talking like a normal person. She's not seething. She's not.
of popularity when the internet came around, because you know, if you want to look at porn, just simple fact of the matter is it's easy.
This
to
is the
get it
part where her argument starts not making sense. So she starts with, you know, magazines are basically going downhill. Playboy's not making any money. Well, I just looked it up, but they've rebranded and they've actually started making a lot of money since last year for their rebranding, and noticed that Zoomers are picking up their products more, as in like their logo,
Merchandise and stuff like
merchandise of their logo more. So it only makes sense that they're gonna market towards this woke, you know, Zoomer culture, you know, like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what's popular right now. That's what they're gonna go for. They're not selling anymore to their old demographics, so they're not chasing. They're like, her argument ends up being that they're getting rid of their fan base for this new fan base, and they're gonna lose
Their
more
old fan
because their
base
bigger fan
wasn't
base.
there.
But their fan base is leaving already. She just said that. Like she
Yeah.
just said their fan base is leaving.
Mhm.
That's how she starts her argument.
online, and also they have video online, which Playboy can't really do. So yeah, things were not.
Playboy
going
can do video. Playboy has a website with video. And even in the 90s, when I was a kid, I used to, well, I wasn't a kid, but when I was an older teen to adult, I would purchase or find sneakily VHS videos of Playboy. That's like Samantha, what's her name? No, Pamela Anderson had one. It was a big one. She first came out. She was huge before Baywatch even. She had a Playboy VHS in like early 90s that I used to watch.
great for Playboy in the
So
digital
they
age.
had video. It's not just that. They've tried to adapt to video. It's just pornography's everywhere. It's not easy to have a pornography company that like in that way.
think to
And
just
you have
make
to
matters worse, they
completely be
also not too
digital.
long ago announced that they would not be doing fully nude pictorials, which they
But Playboy is more than that now. They're a brand, and that's what they market off of. Their brand, the name itself, and the logo.
were kind of best known for, instead choosing to focus on what I guess like lifestyle articles and stuff. Probably not the best move for a company whose whole thing was naked ladies. But anyway, now it seems like they
But if their whole thing is naked ladies and that isn't selling it anymore, then it is the best move to try to adapt and change your content to try to find a demographic that will, purchase it.
Not even true. She knows a lot more about this than I do, so cool, but
So then are you going to argue out of ignorance then, now that you've just admitted that she knows more about
He
the
can't
company
even
than you
do 5 minutes of research
Yeah.
on something before he does the video on it.
And this is common knowledge, really. Like Playboy, we know the history of Playboy. Like, they were a nudie mag. Then it became a thing that they were actually gaining notoriety for their articles because they used to get really high-profile people to do articles for them. And that started drawing in people too. And they've actually won awards for their articles and stuff.
Yeah.
And then now we're in the digital age. Do they even sell Playboy magazine anymore? I don't even know. But I'm sure there's a Playboy.com you can go to that acts as the magazine. But who doesn't know? That's the history. How do you not know that? There's Playboy Mansion, Hugh Hefner. You don't know these things? Like Playboy Playmates. You don't know these terms and what Playboy is? There was a Playgirl. I remember when I was a kid, there was a Playgirl.
on just accelerating that downward spiral because they have recently
And they also had other labels too, like Penthouse was another one that they had other
feature a
labels.
gay man as their newest Playboy Playmate. Yeah, new guru Bretman Rock was featured on their digital cover.
But you see how he makes a reaction for her. She just said they featured a gay man on there. She said it nonchalantly. She didn't say it angry. And then he goes, "Oh no!" But she didn't do that.
Yeah.
She's not acting like she's
Didn't be
shocked
like,
by it.
and
She's not,
brace yourself, guys.
Yeah.
They brought in a gay man.
yeah, she's not doing that. So he's adding this to her. This is why he says she's
Over, and
teased, but
let's
he's
just say the
making that
reaction was
up.
probably not what Playboy was hoping for. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, I want
The
to say
reaction was not what Playboy was hoping for. I think it actually did well. I thought it was.
thank you to today's sponsor.
Depending on who they want, I mean, conservatives might be bitching, but if they're not marketing towards conservatives, then who cares, right? Like the people that they are marketing that towards enjoyed it, let them enjoy it.
Yeah, with Lauren. According to
They can have it. They can have it. The market that originally wanted that was there for Playboy originally is gone. They just go on the internet and look up naked ladies all day. Like they don't need to go through Playboy. And I like someone like me who actually did look at Playboy when I was young. I don't wear shirts with Playboy on it. I don't support their business. I don't care about them. Not a fan of Playboy. You know what I'm saying? I just looked at the magazine for the naked chicks. Now I can look at it online. I'm one of that demographic that won't buy their magazines anymore. For what?
Of Americans are obese, which is shocking. I mean, it's pretty much
So lazy. Like you
it's
said,
a great way to jumpstart.
This is what I'm talking about, where she's doing her promo, and instead of just cutting this out of the video, we've seen in his other videos
Yeah,
that he does
he knows how
cut
to do
sometimes. He cuts things he says himself sometimes, but he doesn't cut shit like this out. But it's so
You also
lazy.
get to support these on its official social media accounts.
Like we want to hear him going over the thing and then turning it blurry, so you don't
videos
see
and
it.
this photo of influencer
Just
Brett
cut it
Moss
out.
in
God
a
damn it,
kind of
that's so
Playboy
gross.
bunny
Okay,
lingerie
I
piece.
think I might get
That's a lot
TOS.
to take in.
I
And
think
in
I
a
might get
photo,
TOS. So cut it out.
also
I
included
couldn't
a
get it
quote
off
from
screen in
Bretman.
time.
He said, "For Playboy to have a male on the cover is a huge deal for the LGBT community, for my brown people community, and it's all so surreal. A total is this even effing happening right
Okay. I'm gonna just say this before she can, so it doesn't look like I'm gonna agree with her here, but this is a little cringy to be like, this is a big step for my brown people community.
Because
this is absolutely
it's
a
Bretman
step.
Rock. That's
Because
oh
it's a
my
brown
god.
person. No, but I think
he might be mixed, but I think he's
Yeah.
not Asian.
But Hunters just means that, like, it's not like they didn't have brown people before. They had women that were brown people on there. Like, are you saying brown people can only be gay men? You know, that doesn't make any sense. He's right about that. That is great. But is even happening right now. But this is the thing, is Playboy wants to market to this community. The straight community isn't part of their
care about
patronage
this. Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're losing that patronage
I think that
fast.
that's
Like it's
fair.
dropping.
And keep in
insanely.
mind that
but they make money off of these people, so why not market towards them?
Playboy doesn't only have to appeal to straight men that want to look at nude women, which you're against, but in this case, you're against more of it being Either way,
she didn't say she's. Well, first off, she hasn't said she's against it yet in her video. She hasn't said she's against this.
Commenting on it so far.
they don't have
saying
to do
that,
that. Like,
the
they
history
also
of
can
it was
appeal.
more typically it was probably more advertised towards men,
Mm-hmm.
straight men, than the community that is interested in it now.
Yeah.
That's it.
The point she's making is they had one demographic and now they're appealing to another. That's the only point she's made so far. The point where she goes wrong later on is when she's saying that this is for subversive tactics and that they're pushing away their fan base for another, which is not true. That fan base is already leaving. She already said that at the beginning. Yeah, exactly. She's
The
already
demographic-
said that they're leaving and that they've been.
Of LGBT individuals also, which, like it or not, amount to.
But Playboy has kind of rebranded as PLBY. It's kind of this thing that they're doing.
I wonder if that's an app or something like that. as well.
And that's kind of become a rebrand of their product, and they sell now products that say PLBY and have the little bunny, you know, like, and they notice that people who are buying those the most are Zoomers and LGBT people and stuff like that. So
Quite a
they're marketing
large
towards those people. That
sum
want,
of the market.
that's where the demand is coming from.
So I
there's
don't
a
know, like,
market.
this is like the brown people part of it is a little dorky sounding, sure, but generally speaking, this is not like anything to be mad about.
Right now type of vibe, and I'm so pretty. So first thing I want to say here is that Andy No pointed this out online, but for decades Playboy has featured non-white models
Andy, no. Well, we know we're getting the most accurate information.
on their covers.
But is that not accurate, Hunter? Is it not accurate that they featured non-white models on their magazine for decades? Is that not accurate? Like, it doesn't make sense to say, oh, Andy, no, we're getting the most accurate information, if the information's accurate. You know, like, don't even bring it up.
inclusive as far as ethnicity?
But this is what I mean about him just saying shit. Like, she mentions Andy No, so he said this bullshit, and then completely glossed over the fact that what he said is true. You know, he doesn't even try to refute it, like, to show that it's inaccurate, so who cares?
Trying to say with the whole my brown people thing, it's like, no, Bretman, you are not the first brown people to be featured by Playboy. And going through the replies to these Playboy posts, I don't think it's
Yeah,
shocking
see,
to
he had
anybody
nothing to say
that
about
a lot of the replies, especially from men, were pretty negative. And in fact, the only real positive reply saying, yes, Bretman, play a queen, that I could see looked like they were coming from, frankly, straight females who probably are fans of Bretman because they follow him on social media or watch his YouTube channel or whatever it may be. And it's like, that's...
What was that page that he...
the only real positive reply saying, yes, Bretman, play a queen,
No,
that
it's
I
like
could
an
see
email.
looked like...
Stream? Lauren Chen. Oh yeah, it's his notes on what she's saying and stuff. These people are such nerds. But not only that, it's ridiculous how nerdy they are, but not only that, he keeps notes on this shit and still gets it wrong. Like, how ridiculous is that? That just makes it so much worse, right?
Gotcha
that he
file.
keeps notes on this shit and he's still wrong about
like they were
it.
coming
Like,
from
oh my
frankly
God.
straight females who probably are fans of Bretman because they follow him on social media or watch his YouTube channel or whatever it may be. And it's like, that's nice and everything that they're supporting.
But look at him. He's not even interested in listening. That's what I'm talking about. Not only did he speed her up, but he's looking at
He's not
other
even
things. He's
listening,
going
yeah.
at his notes. He's looking at the chat. He's not paying attention to what her argument is. That's exactly what Gothix is saying. He proves the
doesn't
point.
care. Yeah.
She has an accurate observation of him.
Also, what did she say about the? I lost it now. He's just getting money off of it. That's all that he's wanting.
That's
to
all
get,
he cares
like, the views and everything
Yeah.
like that. That's all.
That's all he cares about.
one that they like, but the fact of the matter is that these people are not Playboy's consumer base, like, at all. And Playboy should have recognized.
This is what when I grew up in the punk community, this is what we used to call a poser.
Posers.
And it's just a person who pretends to care about something, but for a different reason, like for fame or money or whatever it is. So we call you a sellout if you were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna join this music record label and pretend to be this other thing,
Yeah.
but I'm really this. You know, that's you being a sellout.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's pretending, and I'm not saying he's pretending to be left wing. Maybe he did convert to left wing, but I'm saying he pretends to care about these conversations. He pretends to care to listen to these people, but he doesn't. He doesn't do that.
I get that.
So this is a major contradiction in her argument right off the bat, which is Playboy's falling down the drain, and now they're doing the gay
He's right
thing.
about this.
LOL, downfall, woke, bad. You know the.
But
the
that's
nor-
not what she said. You're just throwing the woke bad part in there.
normal bullshit, right? LGBT customers are among the most loyal. They award companies who have got their back, even if it means spending more on their shopping basket. If you consider that, in
But
the
this
US
is in general. That doesn't necessarily mean Playboy, but it could lead to why why some companies want to be like, oh, it's working for these other companies, they're making more money, when they pander, which is kind of a point that she's making, that they pander to these things in order to make more money. That's kind of her point, that he's proven it here by saying, well, look, it works. And it's like, yeah, she's not saying it doesn't work. In some cases, well, I guess she does say it at some point. She does say that she's pushing away the other audience that they're pushing away. And people like the quartering big argument, like, go woke, go broke, when it doesn't even always apply.
No.
Like, it does in some cases, but it doesn't always apply. And in some cases, it actually helps when they pander to that audience.
US alone, the spending power of the LGBT community is calculated in the region of $800 billion a year. They're sinking, LOL. Now they're trying to appeal to a new consumer base.
That's the argument I would put for that, too. There's no problem there, because they're just switching their demographics. That one demand went away and another demand sprung up. So they're switching the supply. That's what you do. That's what capitalism is, right? You supply to a demand.
Like you just said, it's the type of magazine that boys will hide under their bed. What about gay boys? Maybe they want to see.
There are magazines for gay boys already, though.
Yeah.
She already mentioned that Playgirl, right? That more gay
Playgirl
men
was that one.
Guy in a bunny ear lingerie. I don't know. It's not my thing. I don't like it. I think it's kind of, you know me. I'm accused of being Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, unlike these people, we watched the videos before we enter, so we know.
Used to like the sex and nudity shit, which I'm just not a fan of at all. But like, it just seems like such a weird thing of all like to get mad at. Like,
who's mad though? Who's mad? Is she mad? Where are you showing us that she's mad? Like, even look at her face here. Does she look angry? She doesn't look angry. She just looks normal.
Degenerate in your mind, right? So like, doesn't it only follow that like there would also be more quote unquote degeneracy? Like, I just.
Huh? But she hasn't even brought up degeneracy. That's another thing that what I'm saying. Like,
trendy and
why are you bringing up things that aren't part of her argument?
Inclusive and woke and LGBT friendly and all that stuff. But the thing is, Playboy, like, it's porn. It caters specifically to straight males, and that's not the type of thing that you can just change and say, hey, you know what? Instead of a naked girl, here's a half naked
No, but
man.
the thing is, what she's not understanding is it's just naturally changing. It isn't something that companies are pushing to
Forcing
change.
on it.
It's just naturally changing.
Yeah.
Straight men aren't interested in Playboy anymore. It's a useless product that they can. Why pay for a magazine to look at these still images of women, and or even to read those articles? When you can go online and read those articles. You can go online and look at any kind of naked woman you want, and you can be specific about it. You can type in, I want black women today. I want BBW today. Or, magazines can't do that. It's not going to change in front of you to be what you want. You're eating what they feed you, with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The internet. This is why television's has trouble too, because television feeds you. The internet, you feed yourself. You get to look at what you want. You get to watch what you want. You're not relegated to a schedule. Like right now, you have to watch Seinfeld and then Friends, and that's it. Or change the channel and then you have to watch NASCAR. No, I can watch whatever I want anytime I want. Look it up, click on it and watch it. So television is also losing its thing. This is what the people like Lauren Chen even talk about this, where television news is losing stuff to internet stuff because you can watch it whenever you want, on any topic you want, whatever.
Just as good, right? Like, no.
Right, because that's what they're trying to do. They're saying, hey, boys, now you have to look at the men.
See, this is where she loses that argument, is where she makes it seem like they're trying to push this to, like, encourage people to be gay or something. Like, oh, you like porn, then you should like this too, but it's not. It's literally Playboy just marketing towards people who are demanding that their
only. Like, people watch porn, right? That, like, has men in it also. Like, fucking the girl. Like, if they have to...
No, yeah, but that was not Playboy shtick. Playboy did not have hardcore porn.
Yeah.
There weren't men of naked men. There weren't images of naked men, even though they have had men on there before. They've had a trans woman, I think, in the 90s. I'm not sure. Maybe earlier than that. Because it was somebody who was in James Bond movie too, but I'm not sure if they knew that was a trans woman. It was a post-op trans person. So they might not have known. But either way, it's been featured on there before. I'm pretty sure they've had a gay man on there before too, as like a publicity stunt even before. But in the end, he's talking about pornography as men and intercourse. Playboy did not.
Yeah.
Playboy was just nude models.
Yeah.
It was what we call softcore porn, right? It wasn't hardcore porn. nowadays there's not much distinction. There's not much softcore porn anymore, so it's all porn, you know. But back in those days, there was softcore, and then you had stuff like Hustler, which is considered like the real dirty stuff, you know, and that had hardcore stuff and penetration and stuff like that. There was magazines with penetration, the hardcore magazines and stuff. Playboy was softcore.
Scroll past a guy on the cover to get to the nude woman. What do you mean? They're not replacing the woman with a man. What? This is like just...
Yeah, but even if they did, who cares? Like, because it's failing. Men aren't buying it to look at women anymore. If men are buying it, if gay men want to buy it to look at other gay men, why not?
Why not?
You know, if that's what's going to make them money, they should go to that. Like, the business shouldn't fail because their audience has changed. You know what I'm saying? And they got to stick by their original audience who's dwindling away and leaving. Like why should they have audience loyalty if the audience don't have brand loyalty? You know what I'm saying?
Looking for a reason to get offended.
No, it's not just as good for the people who are interested in looking at the ladies, which, you know what, I'm not even trying to condone or promote on here. I am not a fan of Playboy, like, even traditional. God, what is the world coming to? But, you know, like, regular Playboy. But, I mean, it's just totally lost the plot with this. And there was this really
I'm totally off with that. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I know she's not a fan of Playboy, which is totally fine. But, I mean, not many people are fans of Playboy. Like I said, there's some collectors out there who collect Playboy, but not many people are a fan of Playboy. This is why their demographic is leaving, because there was no brand loyalty, you know, ever. Like, there wasn't a thing. People liked Playboy because it was a niche product. It was something that was there that you could look at. It was like a high class nudie magazine as opposed to the other real dirty ones and stuff like that. But with the age of internet, like, what is the use of it anymore? It doesn't have a use.
really funny.
So again,
if they can find the use elsewhere, why not? You know, like,
they do a move that helps the business, and now they've lost the plot because
this is this is what Nintendo's done. Nintendo's a company's been around for 100 and something years. They've changed their product over and over. They started off as a company that made playing cards, you know what I'm saying? And then they started making board games and little novelty items before, you know, the 80s when they started in the 1800s. 1980s, they finally stumbled upon video games and launched into that thing, and now they're known as a video game company. But before the 80s, they were just a general toy and novelty company. You know, they made like novelty items. They used to sell Disney board games, and they would make board games for Disney. Disney was licensed them to make Disney board games in Japan. You know, like, it's just the kind of stuff they do. And they've tried their hands on multiple different businesses, but they follow where the demand is. They finally made a video game. There was a demand there, and they were like, "Oh, you know, this is what we're going to focus on now." You know? There's no problem with that. Like, that's not an issue.
Just like,
do you think that people should have bitched about them, but like, "Oh, you should stick to board games. You're shying away of your demographic. You know, we always like Nintendo because of the board games. Now you're going to do video games." No, it's kind of simple.
Things can appeal to both. You know, there can be like magazines that like are like, "Hey, here's."
There can be, but this is where I say he disagrees with her in the worst ways. Like, she's not saying that there can't be magazines that do both. She's not saying that. She's talking about Playboy specifically, right?
Dude, that's like ripped and.
She didn't say there couldn't be a porn magazine out there that appeals to both and has naked men and naked women. You know, like a non-binary magazine or something. She's not saying you can't have that. No. She never did.
Crowd.
That's never been part of her argument.
And then here's a woman in a tight little bikini that can appeal to the straight guys. Like, what?
That's why I say he doesn't get people's arguments. Like, maybe you shouldn't have watched this Fast Speed Hunter. Where did she say that?
That's where I think he gets like lost in the like how fast the words are. He's like he doesn't know how to retain it.
Where did she say magazines weren't allowed to appeal to both male and females? Like, she's talking about Playboy specifically and their history.
Again,
of having a
why
demographic
is it
and their
always a
demographic.
zero-sum game to these people? I don't know if they unironically believe.
You made it that. She never said it was a zero-sum game. You made it a zero-sum game.
If it's a zero-sum game, or if they actually have to make it sound as if it's a zero-sum game in order.
You made it sound that way. She didn't. I didn't hear that from her.
To actually like construct their argument.
Oh my god. When did she say
I
that?
saw kind of giving crap to the people who weren't happy about Bretman being featured that I wanted to share with you all because I think it is so naive and frankly tone deaf. This person says homophobes in these comments need to examine their walk with God. The world is evolving.
Yeah, this is another straw man. Right?
Yeah,
and already
God
adding
was
in
never in this magazine.
Already in Tammy Faye, already straw manning everyone as being evangelical, basically in the comments. You know, I mean, some people in the comments might even be an atheist. Why is he even bringing up God? That's a straw man instantly.
Homophobes. Don't be scared. It doesn't affect you. Instead of spewing scary talk, just keep scrolling. Bretman is a kind person, something you all need to be. I don't think anybody is doubting
True. Base tweet from random person here.
But see, you know why he likes that? And he's like, oh, that's true, because he strawmans everyone, right? So he agrees with the strawman.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're super riled up about just them having like a gay person on there, like
That doesn't mean you're a homophobe or that you're religious.
Yeah.
Like, that's two straw men in there, all right?
It seems kind of homophobic. Like, isn't it?
Does it?
Really?
Does it? What if it has nothing to do with homophobia? It has to do with you're a fan of Playboy, maybe.
Yeah.
And you want them to stay the same. That's like, just like I was saying, say I was a pre-80s fan of Nintendo. Now that, so if Nintendo switches from board games to video games, does that mean I'm like a video game-ophobic now?
Right.
Like, oh, there goes that video game phobia again. Like, no, it's just because I was a fan of it and want to say the same. Like these people with, sometimes with these Marvel things, and they do these race swaps, and they're like, oh, you're racist. And it's like, no, they're a fan of that character and want that character to stay the same. They even will say, why don't you create new characters of color instead of race swapping ones that people are already fans of? You know, you can create all new characters instead. And make people fans of those. If you're writing a good character, people are going to become a fan of it regardless. Right? You don't need to bounce off the popularity of another character. Which is what Marvel originally did. They made Miss Marvel, which was a female version of Captain Marvel in the 70s. They made She-Hulk, right? The female version of Hulk, Spider-Woman, you know. They tried to market women by bouncing off other characters, and it didn't work. Now they're known characters, but in the 70s they had their own comic books and they all failed within the decade, you know. And then people bitch like, oh, there's no female lead superheroes, and it's like, well, you didn't buy them when they did have them, but now they do have them, you know. But they're still doing that. They still kind of race swap and gender swap, and it's like, why do that when you could make a new character?
Isn't it even by like the most stringent and?
But this is ridiculous to say that if because you're upset about something in this situation that it means you're homophobic or religious. Like, you could just be, like I said, you could just be a fan of it and not find it. And be like, hey, you know, I was just a fan of Playboy for the naked women. Now there's a naked guy, I'm not a fan. You know?
Reductionist definition, wouldn't that be homophobic? Like, you are literally scared of a gay guy on the cover.
No, but who's scared of it?
Another straw man.
Who's scared of it? That is a straw man, yeah. Who's scared?
Who's scared?
Yes.
Who's
Bretman
scared?
is a kind person, something you all need to be. I don't
You're
think
scared of Playboy not being what it was? The only reason that would be is if you were a fan of Playboy and wanted to stay the same.
doubting that Bretman is or is not like a nice person. I'm sure he's fine. I think the question is, do these straight men want to see Bretman in lingerie? Which the answer seems to be a resounding no. Also,
No, but those straight men are also not wanting to look at Playboy.
Yeah.
That's the real argument you should make here. All these other arguments Hunter are making are complete bullshit and don't need to be there, and just straw manning her.
So now
Her literal argument is debunked by you just saying those straight men aren't looking at Playboy, period. Like, anymore. They stopped. That's it.
Yeah.
So who cares
No,
what they
so
want?
then you
They're not doing
past that part.
Scrolling past it doesn't even matter. They're not even scrolling to Playboy. They're not looking at Playboy. That's it. Period.
What about gay guys that maybe want to like scroll through magazines and they see like the women in bikinis on all the front covers and they want to scroll to like the backwards, the dudes with the abs or whatever.
regarding her
What
comment
I'm
about people not liking this cover, needing to check their walk with God, it's like, all right, well, we're talking about Playboy, so I think God has checked out of this conversation just a long
Oh, yeah,
time ago.
he's
And the
straw
idea
man's
that it
her
makes
too.
straight men-
Comedy's
Oh no,
not for
he
you,
says
but-
that was like a joke, but that was not a joke. She was making a salient
not
point
making
that
comedy.
people bringing religion into this is useless because Playboy and religion have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
It's like if you were a religious person, you probably wouldn't agree with Playboy existing in the first place. So that's not even part of the argument, right? Like, you wouldn't care. She's literally making a point that he would probably agree with, that you wouldn't care if they put a gay person on Playboy if you're religious because you shouldn't agree with Playboy in the first place. You know? So it's like kind of a point that he would probably make and be like, oh, well, he said that before, right? It's all degeneracy anyway. Why do you care? That's exactly the point she's making. Something he already said earlier and doesn't even realize it.
Lauren.
And then thinks it's a joke. He was like, oh, is that comedy? Don't do
why
comedy.
is everything
Why
comedy?
was that a joke?
This
She
isn't
didn't laugh to
comedy.
it.
Like, come
Yeah. She didn't make a giggle or
out of
laugh.
this conversation just a long time ago. And the idea
I
that
think
makes
that's
straight
just the point she's making.
Just, yeah.
Like, yeah, that God and Playboy don't go together.
Yeah.
That's what she said. It's not a joke.
Comedy's not for you, Lauren.
He keeps doing that where he thinks people are joking when they're not making a joke.
I would leave that
What
out.
does he actually think?
And homophobic to not want to look at a man in lingerie. It's just no, that's not what homophobic means. By that definition,
No one says it was homophobic to not want it.
Then why did he?
No
agree
one
with
says
that
it was
tweet?
homophobic, yet he highlighted
He
that tweet
agreed
of the
with that
guy
tweet.
calling people homophobes for stating that they didn't like that this guy.
And
It's
that
that if
person
you're like
said that
enraged
it was homophobic. That tweet.
But you see, now he's saying, look,
and furious and super mad about
it's just if you're enraged or furious, super mad about it, something that he puts on you. She's not upset. He's saying she's upset and that she's seething, right? She said that. Look how triggered she is. She's not triggered. So then, literally, you're admitting that you're calling people homophobes for being triggered that aren't triggered.
That's not triggered.
Because you're a horrible representation of what somebody who triggered is, right? Like, you're horrible at analyzing that. Like, you're calling people triggered who are literally not upset or triggered. They're just making a critique of something.
Then yeah, that would be pretty silly. That would be like, doesn't that sound like you're kind of just afraid of the fact that it's got a gay guy on it? Who cares?
He literally admits that he doesn't care about the argument. He just said that, see? So, if you make a comment about it, if you're making any critique about this gay guy being on Playboy, that means you're a homophobe. You're angry and enraged, and you're scared.
Yeah.
And who cares? That's his argument. Who cares what you think? So, none of that equates to what she's saying. Like, that's the wrong argument for what she's saying.
everyone who is not also a gay male is homophobic.
And it's easy. This is the easiest one to be like, hey, Lauren, those straight males aren't looking at those magazines.
Yeah.
They're just not doing it.
Which is outrageous and not how.
And actually, if you look it up, Playboy makes a ton of money off the LGBT and Zoomers and shit, and that's why they're marketing towards that.
It works. It is totally okay for men, straight men, to have a preference of wanting to see women.
How did she get here from just like, wait, how did she go from, hey, here's a gay guy on the front cover, LOL, maybe we'll appeal to an $800 billion a year industry to try to help our, what Lauren Chen has said herself, a failing brand or whatever, something that hasn't been faring very well. So, what do you... She's gone from this to... I don't think straight men want to be forced against their will.
She never said
to have
that.
their hands nailed to
She never said that.
Why does he do that?
I don't know why he does that. Yeah, it's straight strawman. But that's why I say where they're doing this to steel man the argument, but their steel man is a straw man. Like it's like they painted a straw man and painted it silver to look like a steel man. It's still a straw man, no matter how you phrase it. She never said that.
And their eyelids stapled open.
That's why does he exaggerate it so much?
No one said this.
But that's what Vosh does. Is he copying Vosh? That's what I think it is. I think he's copying Vosh because Vosh does that. He does that all the time where he super exaggerates what people say.
Forced to look against their fucking will, and
That's not what you're saying. What she's saying is they're putting something on there that the people who look at that or the fans of that don't want to see, so they're going to go somewhere else. And it's a bad business move. That's basically what she's saying. He's making it seem like she's saying they're forced against her. Like, what? Why? Why are you doing that?
And in lingerie with a fucking throbbing boner, like you can.
She didn't say that, and nor did she even have that tone. She's actually in a very nonchalant tone. Just
like who is
if
this?
If you're not into that, first of all, if you're into Playboy in general, then like you're probably down with like nudity and risque shit to begin with. So if you open your magazine, you're like, oh, there's a dude in there who's gay. I'm not really into that. Whatever. Next page.
no, they just won't buy the magazine, which is her point. Like, why would they buy the magazine
gonna
when they
look
can
like
go
it's advertised to
online
them.
and not deal with that? You know what I'm saying? Say if I bought a Playboy and I open it up and there's a naked dude there, and I and then I'm gonna. Why would I scroll past like the girl when I could just not buy that, toss it, and then go on the internet and look at all the girls, you know, and not even worry about it.
No.
I know you can go on the internet and look at dudes pounding women, but if I want to, I could just look at women. Yeah. That's the thing.
And I feel like people at Playboy should have known this was coming, and so why they chose to do this anyway, probably full well knowing that it would.
But she didn't know. But see, this is the bad part of the argument, because you know why they did it is to pander to the demographic who is actually giving them money and giving them attention. Like, you know.
would hurt their bottom line in favor of woke points. It just
But they're not hurting their bottom line. That's the thing. They're not hurting their bottom line for woke points. They're actually using woke points to raise their bottom line.
Yeah.
Their bottom line has been sinking slowly throughout the years. And now they're realizing that there's a market that can lift that by going towards the younger market. You know, who's all into SJW stuff and
Great.
non-binary
And actually, as
stuff.
someone else pointed out in the thread, did you
Woke points. No, it's called capitalism, Lauren. The thing you
But you can go for woke points and still do capitalism. Like
pretend to care
that's
about.
literally what's happening here. Is they're using the woke points through capitalism. They're seeing the demand comes from people like the woke stuff.
Yeah.
That's the demand that they're supplying to it. You know? They notice that hey, when we put this man on the car, we get more of the LGBT community
Yeah.
coming in. When the straight community is leaving, you know, so now we want to bring in this community to make money and continue as it is.
forget you made Playgirl? You know, the magazine with men in it that mainly gay men bought. So apparently, a while ago, it's not made anymore. But Playgirl
I don't know if mainly gay men bought it. I don't agree with that.
I feel like
think
they would have bought both if anything.
yeah.
possibly.
Well, it's not even that. I think women bought Playgirl was marketed towards women, and I feel like women bought it more. Like the articles in there were for women, not for
Yeah.
gay men. You know? Were marketed towards women. It wasn't like Playboy. It's not just a magazine with naked women in it, because then you could say lesbians could buy that. The
Yeah.
thing is, the articles in it and the advertising, the marketing through the whole thing was geared towards men. You know,
Yeah.
like the stories in it and articles in it were rugged man survives in the mountains for this many days. You know, it wasn't stuff like how to apply your makeup, and attract men and stuff like
Yeah.
That's probably more of what you would get in Playgirl. Like, oh, do you want to attract men? Yeah, do this.
have a magazine called Playgirl, which they
Or
were originally
romantic
intending to be
articles
directed
about
to women
romance
and
stuff.
it featuring naked men, but apparently women weren't really as interested in that, and it was mainly gay
Saying
men
apparently, I don't know if I believe that. I would love to see the demographic of that. I bet it's not true.
who were buying the magazine.
Maybe it
which,
just
like,
didn't
makes
stay
sense.
around
I'm not
long
saying that
Wait.
no women.
So they saw from this thing.
Maybe it just didn't stay around long enough.
No, it
to
didn't.
get, like,
Because the demographic for looking at naked men is way smaller than it is for naked women. I think even more women would rather look at naked women than naked men, But to say that gay men were the majority, gay men are a minority compared to women. So I think maybe if you did it per capita, that's true, but not in whole numbers. I don't think that would be true.
Saying
It
most
doesn't
likely
seem
that,
to make sense.
hey, there's actually a market here to reach out to gay men. That's what they're reaching out for, Lauren. You figured it out. Congratulations. This defeats your point, Lauren. They've realized right there that they have the profit incentive to try and pursue.
No, but that actually helps her point, because if they have the profit incentive to market towards the woke, that's still considered woke points, doing it for woke points, right? And then they also have the profit, so it's just two things,
BT market
Pandering, I mean, that's what it is. It's basically they're pandering to an audience to make more money. The audience that they were pandering to stopped falling for their pandering, so now they gotta pander to a different. You think Playboy sat there and go, it'd be awesome if we put a man in the cover? No, they're like looking at sheets and going, the LGBT community sure is buying a lot of our products. Maybe we should market towards them.
Yeah.
The other people we're marketing to are leaving. It's just strictly a business. They don't care about the woke stuff. They don't care about that shit. They just want to go where they make money.
But if you think of like the
It's
type
a name
of porn
brand.
women
It's
want,
not a product. It used to be a magazine. Now it's just a name brand. Yeah, and it has
It's the
multiple
clothing
things.
stuff. it's
They've
like
bought
accessories.
stores. They have their own chain of stores where they sell lingerie and stuff. Then they buy other things. We were just reading earlier that they bought all these other retail stores and stuff from all over the world. Hello?
What's that?
Yeah. Gango, we're in the live stream. So I guess let him know he's not listening. He doesn't know we're streaming. I think he didn't realize he's in the live stream.
I mean, there's a reason why 50 Shades of Grey is so popular. Is because, I mean, it's not even visual, but it has a story and characters and like all this romance stuff behind it. It's like, that's what appeals to women.
Thank you for the Prime subscription. Appreciate it.
Not just naked men, by and large. And the reason why I bring that up is because human sexuality and human nature does not care about what your corporate agenda is. You can try to make a magazine for women, objectifying men, just like Playboy, but that doesn't mean it's going to be as successful as Playboy because women don't want that. You can try to put...
No, wait, women as many as men don't, like as much as men don't want that. That's true. But that doesn't mean that magazine wasn't successful for a period. It was successful for a period. I knew about it as a child. So that's how I know it was a successful magazine to a certain extent. Because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be general knowledge that there was a Playgirl. You know what I'm saying? But I knew about it as a child that it even existed.
Yeah.
We're not trying to, again, like, what do you mean?
So it had a level of success. It's just eventually, obviously, when the internet comes around, that's going to be the first thing to go.
Just trying to
before
broaden
Playboy.
their market appeal.
And Playboy is the home trademark. not Playgirl. Playgirl was a side thing. So when you start losing money, the first thing to go are your side projects, right? Like TYT even did that, right? When they started losing money, they got rid of all their little side Nerd Alert and what was the other one? The Brain something with John Adarola.
Oh,
I forgot. But they had all these other side shows that they got rid of because they started losing money. They're not going to get rid of the main thing. They're not going to get rid of the Young Turks. They get rid of all the side stuff when money starts going down. And then they start trying to market the main stuff towards a broader audience. Or towards the people that are demanding their supply.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the common business move.
So I don't think Playgirl sunk just because women weren't interested in looking at naked men. I think it was more because the market in general was closing up.
This is common for all.
And considering less women want to look at naked men than want to look at women, or men that want to look at women, you know, that closes
they're
up.
embracing the LGBT shit. Again, I keep going back to because they have a massive market incentive to do so. That's
right, to go for woke points, which is her purpose. She never said that they're doing it for woke points, despite, well, she is kind of saying that they're getting rid of their demographic, but she's literally not saying that they're going to lose money from this. I think she's kind of dancing about it, manipulating it, but he's jumping on the wrong point.
That's all this is. It's not complicated. Nothing.
Gay man on the cover of Playboy, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, but what he's not understanding is the concept is that they are going. Their profit incentive is to pander to a certain community. Is to pander. That's what it's called, to pander to a community. Right?
That Playboy readers, i.e. straight men,
That's
are going to
literally
want
what
that.
it is.
When I was in college and I took some like super basic level marketing classes, they used to tell us that, you know, your goal as a business should be giving the customer what they want. But it seems like in 2021...
I don't think that's a good goal. I disagree with that.
This is what I teased Jeremy the quartering about when he always asks, "What do you want to see for a video today, guys?"
Like, but
That's
also,
gonna get old.
if you have like a similar product to somebody else, how are you going to win if they want their product to be the other product? You know what I'm saying? So you're just going to copy the other product? Wouldn't you make yours a little different and your a way that maybe people don't realize they want that could be better? This is why I mentioned Nintendo before. I really like Nintendo because Nintendo doesn't do what their audience wants. They give you what you don't know you want. Right?
Yeah.
That people bitched about the Switch before it came out, said it was going to fail because it wasn't what they wanted. Then it came out and people were like, all right, I want this. You know, the same thing happened with Wii. The Wii was a huge hit, but when it was first coming out, when they first announced it before it was dropped, people were crazy bitching about it. Be like, that's it. Nintendo's over after this. They failed. Nobody wants this motion control bullshit. It's going to fail. It's not as powerful as the other systems. Totally going to fail. What happened? It was the biggest selling console. The most selling of all time, I think, up until the Switch now. And then the same thing, they had another console in between that failed. That one actually did fail. They said it would fail, and that one did. But then what happened? They learned from that one and made something next that was again something people didn't want, but still it's now the biggest selling console that beat out the original one that they had of the Wii, and they beat it out with this thing that nobody wanted. You know what I'm saying? So it isn't always give your audience what you want. This is where I talk about where you lack quality, and you lack variety. Like if say Lipton soup, you want to compete with them, but your customers want Lipton soup. You're going to give them, you're just going to make the same exact recipe, or are you going to try to make something better? You're like, this will draw people over here. They just don't know it yet, you know? That's what you want. You don't want to give the audience what you want. You want to give them what they don't know.
By your own volition, by
that's
what
what
you just said, they realized that part of what the customers wanted
But yeah,
was
he's Hunter's right on this too. What that is what it is. What she's not coming towards the conclusion of is that their audience has changed. So she's saying, well, you're supposed to market to what your audience wants, but their audience left. You know what I'm saying? They tried to give the audience what they want. It didn't work, and they left. And there's another audience that wants it. So now they're pandering to that audience.
Yeah.
naked
Which is
dudes,
fine.
gay
They
men.
do that.
They realized they had a market there.
But it
Men
doesn't mean that
primarily
they're
are-
not doing it for woke points either. I mean, it means both. It means going for woke points is profitable, so they're doing that.
their target base. Well, they might as well appeal to gay men as well. Yes.
Yeah, might as well. Go
How
for
is
it.
this so challenging for her to understand?
Well, because she makes content as much as you do.
She
That's
she
kind of the
also
point.
could have done some research about it.
Is that you guys kind of sensationalize and make content on whatever. This is really Playboy doing this is such a non-story because Playboy is like I haven't even thought of Playboy in
neither,
years.
yeah.
Like this is such a non-story. It's obvious doing this is going to get them attention. They're going to make more money. It's fine, whatever. they're not even the same company they were before. They've rebranded and
Yeah.
changed themselves.
shape what the customer
Their
wants or
magazines
fit
don't mean
your
shit
worldview, which is,
anymore.
sounds like a way worse way to make money.
You know
Anyway,
what?
in case
That
you
makes
thought
funny how that's
when I
not at
think
all what's
of Playboy, I think more of their merchandise, like their shirts and stuff like that, their accessories and stuff, and especially in certain clothing stores, you'd see their like a graphic tee that has the Playboy stuff. And so I think that's more what they're familiar from them.
Yeah.
Just the images, like she's talking about.
But people would make fun of them about reading. People are buying it for the articles, but the articles were actually good. Like, and they would have fiction short stories as well. Stephen King released some stories on Playboy back in the day, in like the 70s and 80s, and some of his short stories appeared on Playboy. You know, and still have. And I think there's like one or two of them that you still can't find anywhere unless you can find that original like 1979 Playboy or something.
It's happening.
So it's like it literally was marketing towards certain things, you know, but those things have dried up. People don't buy magazines for short stories anymore.
No.
Magazines used to always have short stories in it. When you look at short story compilation books from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, you'll see each of them say originally published on Cavalier magazine in 1968 and blah blah. You know, like you don't have that anymore. That doesn't happen anymore.
You're
Those
not trying
markets
to
have dried up.
reshape
You
the
have to
straight
understand that.
men.
Understand that
Brett
people are going
Rock
to market
enough
towards
Playboy,
different
you
things.
could be wrong.
Cavalier magazines, Polya magazine doesn't exist anymore. That brand doesn't exist anymore. Probably got bought up by another company. That company erased the brand. And
Turns out they are
it's gone.
simultaneously trying to sell those like little Playboy bunny outfits on their website, and instead of using a female model, which I guess you would assume would be the main demographic, like buying these little outfits, for some reason Playboy instead chose to feature a male model.
No,
for
because they sell them for men too, right? The male model is probably for you to buy them.
And
you're
probably
a man.
because Bretman Rock was wearing it.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh,
Yeah, so that
we also have
outfit.
this for men.
Yeah, they probably have it for women and men. And they probably have a male model and a female model for depending on which one you want. Because obviously the male one and the female one aren't going to be cut the same.
No.
Men and women don't have the same shape, so they're not going to be cut the same. So there's probably a male model for the male bunny outfit and a female model for the female bunny.
Yeah.
for these little lingerie sets. Oh, and actually, according to the Post Millennial, it's not just a male
And
model.
if people are buying those, who cares, right?
Yeah.
So if they put a male model up to sell these Playboy bunny outfits, and even for women, and then women buy those, and they're still working to sell those, and the women are still buying those, then who cares? It worked, right?
Yeah.
Like it worked. There's no complaint there. The entire complaint she has is that they're pushing their original demographic away. But none of that is doing that. And if you're seeing the opposite happen, and maybe they are pushing them away, but if you're seeing the business thrive and work through that, then who cares?
Who cares?
Why is that a problem?
We can put some photos up here. Sorry, I hate to do that to you, but it's important that you see. But it's also a BLM activist because
There's nothing wrong with this photo.
that's what's sexy, I guess. Maybe you guys.
Especially like
Does
when this
does
was posted,
literally
it
a
was coming
single
up to the time of
human-
Halloween. I'm sure there's
Yeah, you
guys
can
that
buy
are
for
dressed
Halloween.
like that.
Men have dressed as probably Playboy bunnies for decades, probably.
My
for Halloween.
uncle dressed as Miss Piggy one time. I know that's a different kind of lady, but like I'm
And then
sure
she
there's
says, "Oh, because that's what's sexy about the guy wearing it." But sexy is subjective. Like it's different. Some people do find that sexy. Lauren. Like, where are you getting the idea that they don't? Like, there's people who find that sexy. Why would they do it if they didn't think anybody would find that sexy? Obviously, there is a market, no matter how small it is.
Yeah.
There's a market out there that find that sexy.
Care outside of someone who's incentivized to get mad about this.
But
Does a-
she's one. She's not mad, Hunter, but she
Yeah.
is incentivized to talk about
He
this.
needs
You are
her to be
correct,
mad.
but it's the same thing as how he's incentivized to do this low-hanging fruit content that we're always talking about. There's
Yeah.
no poly. A lot of these people do that. Lauren Chen's not immune to that. She does that too. She does low-hanging fruit content all the time.
the clickbait.
Yeah, sometimes it's stuff that like makes sense that she does, but sometimes she'll talk about a news item that's a total non-story and make it out to be something and sensationalize it, just like he does.
single human actually give a fuck that the website showed a dude?
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. But
The
there
BLM
there are
activist
people
in-
who do care. Hunter, that don't.
Yes, it turns out that
definitely
there's
is.
a large market incentive to appeal to progressive values, Lauren. Congratulations.
Which is woke points.
The way a BLM activist because that's what's sexy, I guess. Maybe you guys will say that I'm just looking into things too much, but this whole thing to me
Yes,
really does
that's
just
true.
scream subversion. They really are not happy to let straight men just be straight men to the point where they are now.
But this is the part where she really goes off the rail. This is totally not what's going on. She's saying it's subversion. They're not happy to let straight men just have things.
Yeah, I
So
don't
they're
get
putting
this
that-
argument. There's always an argument made like this. That's just
It's totally off the rails.
ridiculous.
Literally, Playboys, straight men aren't looking at Playboy. That's literally what's happening. It's not that they're being like, well, straight men are still watching our stuff, but you know we're gonna try to convert them into homosexuals or something. Like, no, that's not what's happening. Or we're gonna try to take away their space. No, they don't want that space. They're leaving the space.
Spaces and publications specifically dedicated to straight men, and then like
This is okay. This
Yeah, it was dedicated. It was dedicated to straight men in the past, Lauren, but
Now
that
it's
time is
expanded.
gone. In fact, Playboy has rebranded, and we don't know what they're marketing towards now. They can market towards whatever they want since they've rebranded. Right? They're not that branded like they used to be. They're marketed toward men.
The problem is when I hear something that is so fucking stupid like this, it's hard for me not to react with like a bombastic, enraged response emotion.
Really? Why?
Okay.
See, so who's the
Who's
one that's
triggered?
triggered? Yeah, who's triggered?
Calm down,
Hunter? I'm thinking Hunter's a big projection machine. It's like, he's saying when he hears something like this, he can't help but get triggered. Lauren hasn't seemed triggered at all throughout this whole thing, and he's talking about her seething and stuff. It's him who's triggered all the time.
Because it's like,
Total
you
projection.
think this is subversion?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I totally agree with you, but it's not making me angry or wanting me to be angry about it. Like, I'm not triggered by her saying something stupid.
Stopping straight men from being straight men? What a fucking snowflake. Holy
But
shit.
there's no snowflake. Where's the snowflake?
snowflake argument?
Yeah.
That is a weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he totally misinterprets situations, or he just makes them out. It's total sensationalism. Like, he makes out situations to be things they're not. Same thing Lauren's doing, by the way. But you know, does this trying to make himself
So
seem
much
better.
heavier.
No, but he's trying to make himself seem better. Like, oh, they're doing this.
Yeah.
You know, but you do the same thing constantly. Hunter. It's all you did.
Dude,
It's
the
like
most triggered
this type of
generation.
shit. Yeah, you're the one triggered.
He
You
is.
just said it. It's almost impossible for you to not get angry and rage out when people say things like that. You're the one that's triggered. You know, she's not triggered.
Concerned.
Complaining about something doesn't mean you're triggered. Complaining about something doesn't mean you're angry. Critiquing something doesn't mean you're triggered. To be angry or full of rage, you literally have to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
Like, your face gets red.
He
you yell,
does this. Oh my god.
you do crazy motions like he did, where he moved around his chair like, oh. That's being triggered. You know, not
You're
just
through
talking
your
like a normal
teeth
person.
with an angry face on.
Yeah.
Why?
That seems like somebody who doesn't understand social interaction or doesn't
Yeah.
understand gestures. Like, he's so used to the internet and reading text that when he hears people talking plain talk, he doesn't listen to the emotion of their words or the gestures of their face. He only listens to the words.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And if it seems like they're complaining, then that must be they're triggered or this and that.
angry. They're
But
actually
there's when people are triggered or enraged, they make a face. They react in a
Verbalize it. You
certain way.
can't hide that. Yeah.
And Lauren Chen has in no way reacted in any form of anger throughout this whole video, any form of rage or even disgust or anything like that.
She's not doing what the TikTokers say is masking her emotions or
Yeah,
whatever.
is that what it is? She's masking her emotions and calling it out. I don't think so. I don't think she's angry about this at all.
Heinous.
I
And
think
it's kind
she's
of
just
ironic,
making
or
a
should I say hypocritical.
commentary. It may not be the correct commentary, it may not be smart commentary, but it's not enraged commentary.
Because usually the progressive left hates on the idea of male gaze and objectification. But it seems like that's only really the case when the bodies being objectified are those of young, attractive women. Because it seems like, you know, if there's a body positive activist or if there's like
This
some
part I don't really get. I don't think either of them are
cross-dressing,
doing this
non-binary trans person,
conversation
and they are more than
properly.
happy to be like, oh yeah,
But they talk about objectification. He's saying, oh, well, there's non-consensual. It's like, it's obvious if you're going to do Playboy that you know you're being objectified, so that's fine. He's saying it's when it's non-consensual. I think all of it's bullshit. I don't think anyone is objectified because humans aren't objects. And people don't look at humans as objects, you know, unless you're a total sociopath, psychopath, like a serial killer. Those people look at people as objects. But normal humans, the vast majority of normal humans, don't look at people as objects. I've never liked the concept of objectification. Doesn't make sense. I don't want to bang objects. You know what I'm saying? In fact, women bang objects way more than men do.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? For men, most of the times they don't bang objects. You know what I'm saying? So, like, women are the ones who, most sex toys are for women, not for men. They don't make many sex toys for men. They make way more variety. There's way more sex toys market. Totally for women. Vast majority of the time. There are some for men, obviously. There's men who like to put things up there, hoo-hee-hoo-hoos, and all this stuff. And they have those plastic things that are just like a butt with a vagina. that you can mess with, but those do not sell anywhere near as much as vibrators do, dildos, and stuff marketed towards women. Women are the ones who objectify. Men don't. Men do not think about having sex with objects. You know, like I don't. I never sat in my shower and said, dude, I want to bang this water. I'm going to put this water on my penis and, you know, whatever. But women have done that. You know, tons of women use the shower head. Men don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Men don't do that. They just masturbate with their hand and that's it. You know, that's the end of it. So, for men to objectify things, I never understood that concept. It makes no sense to me. And when I look at a woman, I think like, man, I want to have sex with that woman. I don't think of her as an object. I think that's a human being that's attractive to me, and I want to, you know, copulate with that attractive human being. Not that object. It's not like, hey, look at that thing. I want to go bang that thing. No, that never happens. This is what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't. The objectification thing doesn't work. It never did to me.
So, like, most likely if a woman is posing naked in a Playboy magazine, odds are she is aware that she's going to be objectified.
But we get it. It's not a good point. They're both saying stupid points. It just doesn't.
Sex sells, objectification sells, and I'm not
yeah,
a fan
for sure
of
sex sells. You're not a fan of it, but who cares if you're a fan?
But again,
That's not her argument.
That's just the reality of it.
And even though I'm sure there are a
But
lot
she's
of
trying to point out the hypocrisy of how they're against objectification, but this and that, and he's like this. Either way, those are both straw men. So, like, who cares? Like, that, just a dumb argument. It just doesn't make any sense.
of woke activists.
The biggest argument against Lauren Chen here was that she's making a big deal out of nothing.
Yeah.
She herself said that Playboy's falling, so for them to go to a different demographic,
It makes sense.
makes sense, seems totally normal. She is right that they're heading towards the woke points one, because that's because woke stuff is popular right now. That's what's making money. So if you want to market to the young crowd, which we read earlier, Playboy seems to say that they're making the most money from Zoomers and LGBT community, then they're going to go towards that. That going for the woke points is what's going to make the money. Why not go for it, right? That's what they're going to do. Totally makes sense. That's all he needed to say, but instead he strawmanned her a bunch and
Had to
about
make
all
her
this
sound
other
angry as well.
Yeah, and said that and try to put on her that she's angry when she hasn't looked angry this whole time. She spoke with a calm, nonchalant voice the entire time.
Yeah.
To be cheering this on, I just cannot imagine that this would actually be good for Playboy's bottom line. But hey, if you
She's kind of laughing. She's like, I can't imagine this is good for Playboy's bottom line with a smile. Where's the rage? You know?
Well,
She
okay.
too could have
Feel free to let
done
me know,
some
and as always,
research
if you
before
enjoyed this video,
I guess just
But she could be wrong. Just, you know, the best thing he could do is look at look at their bottom line over the next month or so and see if it's gone up or down. You know, if it's gone up, you can literally be like, well, look, their bottom line's gone up. Like, you were wrong.
You heard it, straights. You're no longer allowed to be straight.
She never said that. You see what I'm saying? She never said that.
Because in fact, a Playboy magazine had a guy on it.
Yeah, see, there you go. He
Another
ends the
strange
video with
story.
a summation of what he's saying Lauren's argument is.
Yeah.
That entire thing was a straw man. So basically, he's ending on saying, like, I'm going to end this video on a steel man. Let me steel man my opponent. And then completely straw man.
Yeah.
Like, huh? She never at any point said that you can't be gay because there was you can't be straight because there was a gay guy in Playboy. Never said that. She never brought that up. It was never part of her argument. She didn't even insinuate that. Like, but this is what we say when we say these people are terrible. It's not even just Hunter. They all do that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure we could find Vosh and Lance doing the same kind of content about her and saying the same things about that same one and taking it the wrong way when they could actually bust that the easy way, you know, without the honest way, I should say, not the lying way. You can actually do it honestly and not be a disingenuous weasel and straw man your opponent. We went through that and we were disagreeing with her, right? We agreed with her at some points and disagreed with her in the points that were wrong, that we thought were wrong, but we didn't straw man her. We didn't say that she said something she didn't say. Yeah. But that's all the content we have for today.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll have more stuff to look at soon and bust up and laugh at. And straw man.